Leanne wakes up in a strange hospital with total amnesia. The moment she awakens, she is suddenly hunted by a group of assassins. A mysterious man appears, saves her, and claims to be her husband. From that moment on, Leanne begins a journey to find her true identity. The more she explores, the more she discovers her special past and powers. Follow Lisa Manhwa to watch this captivating story. I have completed this story, so please support it. In the dim night, with flickering lights, Leanne slowly raises her hand, her heart filled with confusion. Where is this? She is almost stunned by the sight before her. A hospital, with medicine bottles piled on the table beside her. At this moment, Leanne cautiously sits up, looking around in confusion. How did I get this wound? After a brief attempt to remember, Leanne's eyes widen. I can't remember anything. Just then, a bullet pierces through the door, grazing past her. The bullet flies past the empty medicine bottles, sending them scattering everywhere. A mysterious man appears instantly. He grips his pistol tightly and pauses for a moment. Where is she? The mysterious man can't help but feel a bit confused. He looks around. How is this possible? Meanwhile, Leanne appears behind him out of nowhere, brandishing a knife with force. In that instant, she is almost frantic, muttering incessantly. Who are you? Why are you trying to kill me? Who am I? Suddenly, the man unexpectedly points the gun at Leanne's head and chuckles. Thank you so much for helping me get rid of that guy. As he speaks, the man snickers. This way, the bounty is all mine. Never thought you'd see this day, did you? On the other hand, Leanne is surprisingly calm, whispering from her throat. Before you kill me, can you tell me who I am? The man replies coldly. I'm just here to take your life. I have no obligation to explain. Goodbye. As soon as the words are spoken, he moves his index finger toward the trigger. On the other side, Leanne's expression gradually changes, with terror showing in her eyes. She turns around abruptly in confusion, and on the floor lies the man's cold corpse. Xingye brazenly points a gun at her, a cold smirk on his face. To think you almost got your head blown off by a small fry. It seems your injuries are quite severe. Hearing this, Leanne becomes even more confused and asks curiously, Who are you? Xingye lets out a light chuckle. Have you completely forgotten me? I'm your husband. Leanne sees Xingye, a man with firm pectoral muscles, a particularly high-bridged nose, sensual lips, and finally, those chillingly captivating eyes that are now shifting back to her. She nearly faints. I have such a handsome husband? Across from her, Xingye looks bewildered. Over here, Leanne doesn't hesitate to hug him tightly, complaining, My dear husband, why did it take you so long to come and save me? She pays it no mind, continuing to nuzzle her face against Xingye's chest, the corners of her mouth unconsciously turning up. Husband. Meanwhile, he can't help but feel a bit scared. Hey, you just believe me like that? Don't you have any suspicions? Leanne looks at Xingye with sparkling eyes. Of course I believe you. You're so handsome. Why would you lie to me? She smiles faintly, thinking to herself, I'd like to be suspicious, but you're holding a gun. Immediately after, Leanne collapses into Xingye's arms, clutching her chest and groaning. It hurts so much. The fight just now tore my wound open again. After speaking, she looks straight at him with teary eyes. Thanks to you. Leanne calculates. I've reached my limit. Regardless of whether this husband is real or fake, I'll take a gamble. She slowly leans back, her lips moving slightly. Save me. Without a second thought, Xingye hurriedly catches Leanne's body. Seeing this, she once again nestles into Xingye's arms, her voice soft and delicate. Husband, I'll be obedient. After a long while, he says in a low voice, Will you really be obedient? A past scene suddenly flashes back, where Leanne points at Xingye and demands, Why should I listen to you? Who do you think you are to me? The corners of her mouth lift, her gaze icy, her chin raised defiantly. Don't get in my way, or I can't guarantee what I'll do. At that moment, Xingye's voice is heard faintly. Leanne, you actually... Instantly, Leanne tightens her grip on the knife in her hand and roars. I said, don't get in my way. From now on, we go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other. His voice chokes up, a bitter smile playing on his lips. Fine. From this day forward, we will never see each other again. Back in the present, Xingye suddenly scolds. You just said you'd be obedient, yet you've caused me so much trouble. Then he slowly moves the gun barrel to Leanne's head, but only the dead are truly obedient. Unexpectedly, she isn't scared at all, but rather exceptionally calm. At the same time, Xingye suddenly moves the gun forward and pulls the trigger. The person opposite is immediately hit by the bullet. He looks straight at his opponent, his voice icy. Trying to sneak attack? Xingye lightly blows away the lingering smoke from the gun barrel. Who do you think I am? The man scoffs coldly, as expected of Ji Yuxingai. Meanwhile, Xingye slowly approaches, his powerful aura beginning to radiate. He smiles slightly. It's true, she's badly injured and couldn't finish you off at once. The man says without flinching, it's no disgrace to die at your hands. Xingye narrows his eyes at him, then says in a low, hoarse, and threatening voice, Die? You don't get to die until you tell me what happened before. Just then, several figures rush in one after another. Boss, I'm here. A bodyguard asks anxiously, what happened? Are you alright? Xingye says in a casual tone, what could happen to me? Take that assassin back and find out who's behind him. Everyone's gaze immediately turns to Lian. Understood. What about her? The man cautiously reaches out a hand. This vicious woman is still breathing. Seeing this, another person steps forward without hesitation. No problem. I can crush her with one hand. Facing the critical situation, Xingye commands loudly, wait, she's still useful. The man roars in anger. But last night, this vicious woman injured our brothers at the branch. He turns, hatred in his eyes. Big brother, she's the one who killed Daisy. Xingye doesn't change his mind, emphasizing in a low voice. I said, she's still useful. Another person interjects. Lizzie, you head back first. I'll have a word with the boss. Back with Lian, she vaguely hears strange sounds. Her consciousness feels like it's sinking to the bottom of the sea, unaware of where the whispers in her ear are coming from. It's as if she is gradually sinking, slowly falling into an abyss. Before she sinks into the endless abyss, a warm presence embraces her. It's a young Xingye, crying uncontrollably. Lian tries to reach out and touch him. Instantly, her blood-stained hand caresses Xingye's cheek. He immediately leans down to support Lian. Following that reassuring warmth, she gradually falls asleep. After a long time, she awakens from her coma. Lian sits up abruptly, her eyes quickly scanning her surroundings. I'm still alive. She blinks slightly as her consciousness gradually returns. A vague thought echoes in her mind. It seems I was right to bet on that man saving me. Just then, a familiar voice suddenly says, You're awake. Xingye is lying by the bed, his gaze gentle, a soft smile playing on his lips. Good morning, my dear. Meanwhile, Lian's face has turned as red as a tomato. She changes her expression in a second, her voice somewhat syrupy. Is that you, husband? Good morning. Lian thinks to herself. That's right. Last night a man with a gun suddenly appeared, claiming to be my husband. He's so handsome. Is such a wonderful man really my husband? Suddenly, Xingye moves closer to her. Immediately after, he looks at Lian gently. My dear, have you remembered anything? She shakes her head slightly. No, I still can't remember anything. Lian smiles awkwardly. It's not just you. I don't even remember my own name. I'm sorry. A warm hand rests on her cheek, his voice firm. Lian. You, Lian, are my wife. I, Ji Yuxingai, am your husband. He smiles, his eyes holding both pride and tenderness. You were so seriously injured, yet you could still fight back against an assassin. Such a formidable woman probably wouldn't look down on an ordinary husband like me, would she? Lian quickly replies, I don't look down on you. Xingye gently helps her sit up, his voice is soft and warm as the morning. Since you're awake, let's get something to eat. Later, I'll take you to a doctor to check on your amnesia. Just then, Lian clutches her chest and lets out a soft groan. Seeing this, he asks urgently, what's wrong? She says weakly, I think I hit my wound during the fight last night. It hurts. Xingye looks anxious. Let me see. Lian is momentarily bewildered. No need. Xingye's fingers touch her shoulder, his voice low and firm. I can handle this wound. The doctor will be late. His warm voice sounds in Lian's ear. Don't be nervous. We're an old married couple. I even tattooed that design on your back myself. Xingye's gaze shifts to her body. I know every part of your body, including the most private places. He lightly touches Lian's strap, saying meaningfully, this isn't our first time. Relax and entrust yourself to me. Xingye gently bites Lian's shoulder, not forgetting to soothe her. I can't promise to be gentle, but you probably won't feel any pain. After a moment, Lian can't help but groan. It hurts, you liar. She unconsciously bites her hand, complaining nonstop. You clearly said it wouldn't, and you said it wasn't the first time. Xingye's tongue lightly licks Lian's ear, neither avoiding nor explaining. Of course it's not the first time. Have you remembered something? That deep gaze seems to want to strip Leanne's thoughts bare, her eyes almost falling into a trance. Leanne quickly explains, I don't remember anything, but that doesn't affect a man with an 8-pack applying medicine for me. Immediately after, she starts to complain. Are you done yet? You said you were applying anti-inflammatory medicine to the wound. How long are you going to take? Xingye replies lazily, a man can't be fast in everything. Hearing this, she struggles. All right, I'm getting dressed. She starts cursing in her mind. Damn it, he saw everything. My whole body is burning up. Leanne narrows her eyes at Xingye. He was just testing my reaction. Applying the medicine was a pretense. The test was real. Xingye has no choice but to compromise. I know. I'll bandage it for you. I'll look at the wound on your head later. He reaches out and gently touches Leanne's head. Let me see the wound on your head. Xingye observes carefully, his gaze focused. The wound on your head has already scabbed over. It will heal faster if we remove the bandage. As he speaks, he soothes her in a low voice. Don't worry, let's eat first. I'll have a doctor come and check on you later. She looks at Xingye, her heart filled with conflict. Although I don't remember anything, I feel that Ji Yuxing means me no harm, but I can't let my guard down. Afterwards, the two sit down at the dining table. He scoops up a spoonful of food and brings it to Leanne's face, his voice unusually gentle. Eat more. Replenishing your nutrients will help you recover faster. Leanne tastes it without hesitation, but she can't help but pause. Feeding me so naturally, acting so gently. Could he really be my husband? Just then, Leanne's fingers accidentally touch the knife, and she is momentarily confused. My knife and fork are plastic. Leanne cautiously touches it again to confirm, her attention gradually shifting forward. It seems it's not just Ji Yuxing who is wary of me. Leanne's gaze sweeps over the subordinate, standing silently behind Xingye. My husband's men have a problem with me too, so I'll test him. She leans forward, her hand gently waving towards him. Faced with this unusual move, Xingye is on high alert. At the same time, his two subordinates react instantly. Leanne slams her hand on the center of the table, and he glares at her. Leanne's fingers slowly trace the knife. She scoffs in her mind. I knew it. How could there be such a good thing as a handsome husband who truly loves you in this world? It's time to test my acting skills. She sits down gently, her lips trembling, her voice as soft as a sigh. I just wanted to cut the bacon. The plastic knife and fork can't cut it. Is it not allowed either? After a moment of silence, Xingye's voice is heard. It's allowed. Suddenly, he stands up abruptly, leaving Leanne stunned and confused. Before she can react, Xingye takes a step closer, and then his calm and warm voice sounds. It was my oversight. I should have helped you cut it earlier. Hearing this, she is almost speechless, her lips moving and then stopping. Leanne's heart pounds wildly. This man and his subordinates are extremely wary of me. I can be sure he is not my husband. On the surface, Leanne is still smiling, but her mind is constantly calculating. Assuming the worst-case scenario, it's most likely that we are enemies. If it were a simple hostile relationship, I wouldn't still be alive. So the most urgent thing, she doesn't forget to remind herself, I must figure out what he wants from me. Just then, the sound of shattering glass is heard. Xingye hurriedly shields Leanne's body with his own. His voice suddenly rings out, sharp as a military command. Junzi, call the brothers outside for support. His reply is heard from outside the door. Protect the boss. The atmosphere immediately tenses. The sound of hurried footsteps and a clash of metal against metal can be faintly heard from outside. Xingye soothes in a low voice. Don't be afraid. He glances forward, his eyes flashing like a blade in the dark. With me here, no one can hurt you. Leanne trembles slightly, but her heart is even more conflicted. Ji Yuxing's men are fighting outside. As long as a clear calculation shows in her eyes, Leanne's hand tightens, the knife trembling in her palm. As long as I stab him with a knife in my hand, I can take the opportunity to escape this place. But at the same time, Xingye suddenly shouts, Danger! He shields her with his body, and glass shards immediately pierce his back. She lets out a small cry, her eyes filled with alarm as she sees his blood-stained shoulder. Ji Yuxing, you're bleeding. He curls his lips, his gaze firm. It's just a small wound. It's nothing. Leanne can't help but feel confused. Why would he protect me regardless of his own safety? At that moment, a doubt arises in her heart. Could it be that he really is my husband? Outside, a roar is heard. Get them, Tang La shouts with a cold laugh. Lian, I know you're in there, you bastard. Get the hell out here. The sound of gunfire rings out sharply, and she screams frantically. Lian, get the hell out here. Over here. Xingye and Lian quickly hide behind the door as bullets continuously pierce through the thick wooden panel. Meanwhile, she narrows her eyes to observe. The sound of the bullets is wrong. Lian cautiously reaches out to touch one, and she becomes even more alarmed. These are rubber bullets. What's going on? Is Ji Yuxing'ai trying to test me again? Instantly, Lian comes to a painful realization. So Ji Yuxing'ai's protection of me was also an act. Luckily, I didn't make a move just now. Otherwise, she slowly loosens her hand, and the knife immediately falls. I would have definitely fallen into his trap. Meanwhile, the man shouts loudly, second in command, time's up, we have to retreat. Tang La roars in anger. Wait a little longer. Ji Yuxing'ai's men have shown up. We can't beat the real guns they're holding. Just then, a bullet suddenly shoots out, and she immediately orders, damn it, retreat. Once outside, the man can't help but be curious. Second in command, why did we take such a big risk? Tang La glares at him. Nonsense, of course it's for the big boss. The more she speaks, the angrier she gets. The big boss is at Ji Yuxing'ai's house. I made a commotion so she could escape with her skills. The man judges, second in command, your drawing is still as bad as ever. Tang La roars, her eyes flashing fiercely. Cut the crap. This is the first step of my grand plan. It was because you guys were too weak just now. Otherwise, the big boss would have escaped long ago. But the other man stammers, his face pale. But we made such a big commotion and the big boss still hasn't appeared. Could she have died in Ji Yuxing'ai's house? That sentence seems to jolt Tang La, and she roars in anger. Shut your jinxing mouth. The big boss's skills are not something you can easily touch. Tang La says, choked up but firm. That woman, she wouldn't just die like that. A few years ago, in a dark room, Lian's cold voice cut through the atmosphere. Tang La, the guys who bullied you are all here, right? A guy cowers in panic. Sister Yin, my godfather is a decision maker in the S Chamber of Commerce. Please spare me. We can cooperate in the future, and you'll get your share benefits. Meanwhile, she confirms. Only him? The man hurriedly explains. Her dad owed me money, and he gave her to me to pay off the debt. My brothers and I were just trying out fresh goods. There's no need for Sister Yin to hurt our harmony over her. Lian narrows her eyes, her cold gaze looking down from above. Have you forgotten that I'm stepping on your head? I'm also a woman, bullying the weak and fawning over the strong. She slowly walks over, her high heel pressing down hard on his head. You're nothing but a bully who preys on the weak and fears the strong. The guy trembles, his voice clearly weak. Sister Yin, that's not what I meant. How can that bitch Tang La compare to you? Please forgive me. I'll do whatever you want. Lian doesn't answer, but turns to Tang La, her gaze as profound as a cold sword. Tang La, look, this is your nightmare. Look at him, acting like a dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy. Is he really that scary? She emphasizes sternly, your nightmare, you end it yourself. Lian hands her the gun, reminding her, Tang La, be strong. Trample all those who look down on you under your feet. Back in the present, Tang La emphasizes word by word. Lian, she is strong. She must still be alive. I will definitely get her out. Over here, Lian carefully bandages the wound, soothing him softly. The glass shards have been removed. It will heal soon. Lian watches quietly, a scrutinizing look she can't hide in her eyes. There's a scar where Ji Yuxing'ai's tattoo should be, and it looks like a deep wound. In that instant, Xingye's gaze inadvertently meets hers, and his firm chest once again crashes into Lian's line of sight. Seeing this, Xingye leans in, saying half-jokingly, what are you looking at? Lian doesn't answer. She glares at him, his expression seeming to test whether she has truly lost her memory. Is there a story behind Ji Yuxing'ai's tattoo? After a long while, Lian praises nonstop. I'm admiring my husband's body. Such a perfect body should be shown off more. It's a feast for the eyes. An idea sprouts in her mind. Ji Yuxing'ai's body is indeed very good. That's undeniable. At the same time, he suddenly suggests, I'm going to change my clothes. You come with me. Lian looks around in confusion. This is the walk-in closet. She becomes even more confused in her heart. If we are really a couple, there must be traces of a shared life in this closet. Lian stops at the entrance of the closet. A school uniform? I'm probably not a student at my age. Does Ji Yuxing'ai like this style? A thought flashes through her mind, sending a chill down her spine. Or, is this my fashion taste too? Could it be Ji Yuxing'ai's fetish that he likes this style? Leanne's gaze continues to move. Let's see over here. She mutters under her breath. What are all these strange clothes? Before Leanne can ask, Xingye speaks first, his voice low and his eyes bright, as if seeing through her thoughts. Do you remember now? She turns around in confusion. What? He speaks slowly, each word striking Leanne's heart. On those clothes, there are precious memories of the two of us. That was our first time. Her heart is shaken. I used to dress like this and had precious memories with Ji Yuxing. What on earth happened? A blurry memory gradually surfaces. Xingye sighs. Girls are so annoying. He puffs up his cheeks, pouting. We're just going shopping. Why do we have to buy so many things? I don't know. Hearing this, Leanne immediately explains, I'm not just buying for myself. There's also a gift for Uncle Chung. Xingye immediately complains. You brown-noser, didn't Uncle Chung give you the money for free? She lowers her voice. All right, the wait is a bit long, but Leanne suddenly stops. She carefully bends down and takes out a shirt. Leanne smiles brightly. Look at this, it's for you. A pure white shirt immediately catches Xingye's eye. He widens his eyes and retorts, For me? Immediately after, Xingye accuses loudly, Are you trying to bribe me? I'm not that easily tempted. Even if you give me this shirt, I won't be friends with you. Leanne moves a little closer. Who wants to be friends with you? If you accept my gift, you're my person. She smiles slightly, her eyes curving with a challenge. In the future, you have to be my husband. Xingye's cheeks flush red, and he retorts hesitantly, In your dreams. A toad wanted to eat swan meat. Xingye mutters nonstop. I will absolutely not accept the shirt you gave me. I won't keep it for a second. I'll throw it away right now. Instantly, he is pulled back to reality. More than 10 years have passed, and this shirt. Xingye looks straight into Leanne's eyes and says in a low voice, It has a deep meaning. She couldn't help but wonder, a deep meaning, how deep? After a moment, Leanne ventured to guess, is it because it saves an extreme amount of fabric that it has a deep meaning for you? He quickly denied it. No, that's not it. Then, Ji Yoxing's voice lowered, tinged with a hint of helplessness. Those clothes were just some nonsense that brat Hua Juanza pulled. Suddenly, he changed the subject. Actually, we don't usually live here. I brought you to this suburban villa because it's safer. That's why I had Juanza go buy some women's clothes on short notice. I didn't expect him to buy these things. She paused for a moment, then couldn't help but chuckle. It's fine. I guess they were just trying to help our relationship along. Ji Yoxing tilted his head and looked at Leanne's hand. Is the injury on your hand any better? He gently touched her hand. Let me see. Ji Yoxing examined it carefully. He reminded her softly. Hasn't it already scabbed over? Keeping it wrapped isn't good for the wound. As he spoke, Ji Yoxing looked up. If you want to wear them, you can. There are many more. Leanne's ears turned red. She stammered, No, thank you. It's much better now. He fell silent for a moment. Then the corner of his mouth suddenly lifted. Of course, there's a way to make the wound heal faster. As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Yoxing leaned over and gently kissed Leanne's hand. Like this. She froze for a second. The intense aggression of hormones, scorching sunlight, clean and fresh. In that moment, Leanne kept denying it to herself. It must be the hormones making me unable to resist. Who is he? Is any of this real? The voice of a subordinate from the side broke the sweet atmosphere. Big brother, sister-in-law, the doctor is waiting outside the living room. Ji Yoxing shot him a glare, I know. Get out. After a long while, he asked with a worried expression, Doctor, how is my wife's condition? He frowned as he looked at the scans. Based on the images, it seems the external trauma has affected the damaged brain, causing amnesia. But fortunately, the damage isn't severe. The patient's memory recovery could take as little as half a year, or as long as 1 to 2 years. Hearing this, Leanne grew worried that my memory recovery will take longer than I thought. If it takes 1 or 2 years, will I be in danger living here? Then she looked at him warily. I must determine Ji Yoxing's true identity and purpose as soon as possible. Outside, Ji Yoxing bowed politely. Thank you, doctor. I'll see you out. He replied humbly, Mr. Ji, you're too kind. Meanwhile, Leanne was observing him intently from upstairs. A flicker of unease, like a sharp thorn piercing her heart, passed through her. Why do I feel like Ji Yoxing isn't very happy? Leanne was startled. A bottle of unlabeled medicine. She saw Ji Yoxing take the medicine from the doctor's hand. After a moment, she curiously approached Ji Yoxing. You're back. What did the doctor say to you? He answered truthfully without hesitation, nothing much. He He just gave me a bottle of medicine. Ji Yoshing gently shook the bottle in his hand. The doctor said this medicine can nourish the cranial nerves and help you recover your memory. Here, try one first. The corners of Ji Yoshing's mouth curved into a forced smile, and his deep voice rang out like a command. Be good. Come and take your medicine. Leanne's gaze wavered, staring at the strange bottle. An uncontrollable fear rose in her heart. This medicine has no label. Who would dare to take it? She tried to calm herself, her voice cautious yet feigning gentleness as she asked, "What is this medicine? If it's a supplement, why is there no label, and why didn't you give it to me in my presence?" Meanwhile, Ji Yoshing seriously observed Leanne's every move as she frowned, staring at him. In that moment, Ji Yoshing's voice echoed in her ear. What else? Suddenly, he moved closer. You finally remembered. It's poison. Hearing this, Lian was startled and subconsciously stepped back. Seeing this, Ji Yoshing chuckled softly. I'm just kidding. Her face showed even more confusion, her eyes almost cursing him. He tilted his head slightly, a meaningful curve playing on his lips. I'm your beloved husband. How could I possibly harm you? Hearing this, Lian pressed her lips together, 1,000 thoughts racing through her mind. If Ji Yoshing wanted to kill me, he would have done it directly long ago. There's no need to wait this long. She quickly made a judgment, unless he wants to turn me into an idiot. After a moment, Lian rubbed her temples. Damn it, my head hurts so much. I can't remember anything from before. She narrowed her eyes slightly, her heart filled with vigilance. And no matter what, there's definitely something wrong with Ji Yoshing. But for now, I can only continue to look for opportunities to test him. After a long while, he asked cautiously, Are you not feeling well? Let me take you to rest. Lian nodded without hesitation. Okay. Following that, she and Ji Yoshing sat on the bed together. He didn't forget to stroke the bottle and remind her, remember to take your medicine before bed. Lian looked at the bottle warily. He's reminding me to take the medicine again. It seems there's a problem with this medicine. Meanwhile, Ji Yoshing couldn't help but become suspicious. What's wrong? You still don't want to take it. As he spoke, he reached for the bottle. Do I have to? Ji Yoshing actually put the medicine in his own mouth under Lian's horrified gaze. At the same time, he moved closer. Let me feed you personally. After speaking, he just stared at her like that. Seeing this, Lian immediately dodged him. She pretended to struggle. I don't want to drink it. Ji Yoshing's expression changed in an instant. In the past, she had once shouted angrily, I don't need your help. Back in the present, Ji Yoshing suddenly pinned Lian onto the bed. She screamed in confusion. Are you crazy? He paid her no mind and continued to kiss Lian forcefully. Taking this opportunity, Ji Yoshing quickly pushed the pill into her mouth. She struggled, her hair disheveled, her eyes wide with alarm. Ji Yoshing, let me go. Instantly, Lian's cheeks flushed and her voice choked. Don't touch there. He immediately regained his senses, his lips moving slightly. Right, this spot is injured. Afraid of hurting her, Ji Yoshing moved closer with concern. Does it still hurt? Meanwhile, Lian shyly turned her face away, avoiding Ji Yoshing's eyes. He hesitated for a moment and said, I'm sorry. I just remembered some unhappy things and lost control of myself. You rest first. I'll call you for dinner. After a while, Lian tossed and turned in bed. She subconsciously reached out and gently touched her own lips. The previous warmth still lingered on her fingertips. Lian couldn't help but think he actually managed to hold back just now, and he was even worried about my wound. She grew more and more confused. What on earth happened between us? At the same time, Ji Yoshing received a call from Juinza. He answered the call immediately. Is there a problem with the medicine's effect? He quickly replied, No problem, boss. Hearing this, Ji Yoshing muttered to himself, Is that so? Lian still has her doubts. At this moment, Juinza hurriedly reported, Boss, XX has an appointment with us. I told them we have Lian, so they... He nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. A low voice, laced with restraint, made the entire room instantly cold. Not only is Lian not dead, but Ji Yoshing also captured the assassin we sent. The man opposite trembled and nodded, his eyes looking at the other person in fear. Immediately after, the stone in that guy's hand flew straight over. The man knelt down. I was wrong, subordinate. I have already planted a mole to infiltrate Ji Yoshing's villa. If I find a chance, I can take that woman's damn life. Please give me one more chance. That cold voice sounded again. Do it cleanly. Frame Ji Yoshing. He continued in a cold tone. That bunch of trash from the Vermilion Bird Gang will definitely seek revenge on Ji Yoshing. Then we can reap the benefits. The scene changes to Ji Yoshing's villa. Meanwhile, Lien swallowed hard. It's been over a week since I came to Ji Yoshing's villa. The external injuries have started to scab and heal slowly. She looked ahead nervously. Today, Ji Yoshing went to the Chamber of Commerce for business, leaving me at home and not letting me go out. I feel a lot of pressure. Behind Lien were 4 burly bodyguards, their eyes all fixed on her. Lien cautiously leaned forward, and the group of men broke out in a cold sweat, all terrified. Standing before a row of gun barrels, Lien explained impatiently, "I'm going to the restroom." "You don't need to be so tense." She shivered slightly, feeling that a murderous intent was hidden in this awkward atmosphere. Am I being too sensitive? In that moment, Lien quickly came up with a plan. I have to find a way to get familiar with them. Her gaze inadvertently caught a glint of steel. It was a knife. The man frowned. Sister-in-law is finally out. Suddenly, he roared, "Now, let sister-in-law see what I'm capable of." Seeing this, Lien cried out, her eyes showing terror. The man showed off excitedly. "How about it, sister-in-law? This is my exclusive apple peeling technique. I can peel 3 apples at once." She instinctively replied, "Thank you." After a moment, Lien chuckled softly. "Excuse me, are there more apples? I like to peel some too." He quickly replied, "Of course." The previously tense atmosphere now seemed to have eased. She placed the peeled apples on a plate and said with a smile, "Come on, everyone, eat them before they turn brown." The man showed an admiring expression. Sister-in-law's knife skills are amazing. Lien breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, it seems to be quite successful. A man brought out a cup of clear tea, the liquid a reddish-pink color. "Sister-in-law, I added some roselle to this black tea. It's very nutritious. Please have a taste." She accepted it politely. "Thank you so much." Lien carefully took a deep breath. In that moment, she suddenly cried out, "There's something wrong with the tea." Lien immediately turned around and slowly explained, "The tea is a bit hot. I'll drink it after it cools down." Her cautious gaze swept over everyone in the room. That I don't know if the problem is with the person who made the tea or if someone else added something, because there are many people here. But it's highly unlikely that Ji Yoshing ordered this. After all, he wouldn't need such a troublesome method. Lien glanced at the fruit knife on the table. Even the fruit knives are plastic. I can be sure. In the stuffy room, she lowered her eyelids slightly, her lips forming a cold arc. Lien thought intently, growing more and more confused. Someone in this room wants to harm me. At the same time, the person who wants to harm me also seems to be very afraid of me. He doesn't dare to confront me directly. So, for now, I'll be patient and play this game of cat and mouse with him. The scene changes to inside a tall building. A man reports nonstop. Hua Juanza serves as the vice president of the Azure Dragon Chamber of Commerce, and also as the general manager of Ji Yoshing's real estate group. He continued, he is extremely loyal to Ji Yoshing, an upright and kind person. Although capable, he lacks strategy. Tang La showed interest. Well, this guy doesn't seem as detestable as Ji Yoshing. After a moment, the man suggested excitedly, Ji Yoshing is cunning and cautious. Why don't we start with Hua Juanza? For example, using a honey trap or something. Tang La gritted her teeth. Then who do you think is suitable to go? The man waved his hands hastily. I can dedicate everything to the boss, but Hua Juanza is not my type. Suddenly, a subordinate rushed in to report, second in command, we've captured the doctor who went to Ji Yoshing's villa for the consultation. He said that when Ji Yoshing introduced the boss, he called her his wife and also said the boss has amnesia. The previous man immediately interjected, I knew it. Ji Yoshing has always been lusting after the boss. The boss must have been completely taken advantage of. The doctor said the boss is as docile as a little white rabbit. Could it be that Ji Yoshing has taught her all sorts of deceptive tricks? Her voice choked, on the verge of breaking down. The boss is so strong. How can she suffer this kind of humiliation? Suddenly, Tang La's eyes lit up as if a flame of determination had been ignited. She announced aggressively, absolutely not. We must rescue the boss from that den of demons as soon as possible, at any cost. Meanwhile, Ji Yoshing gently licked his fingertips, his gaze gradually blurring. On the table sat the cup of dark red tea, its surface reflecting a faint light. Li Yin sat cross-legged, her chin in her hand, her gaze thoughtful, as if waiting for something. She frowned slightly, a sense of vigilance rising in her heart. I've waited so long that the tea has gone cold, and I still haven't seen the person who tampered with it. Do it. One of them mustered his courage and said cautiously, since sister-in-law doesn't like the taste of this tea, then let me. Li Yin raised an eyebrow slightly, a hint of contempt and vigilance in her eyes. It's him again, the one who brought me the tea. The man gave an awkward laugh and raised the teacup as if to hide his embarrassment. This tea is my treasure. Let's not waste it. I'll drink it up. He quickly grabbed the cup and brought it to his lips. Then, she suddenly swung her hand and slapped the man hard across the face. There was a mosquito. Li Yin looked down at the floor and chuckled softly. What a pity. I'll drink it next time. Immediately after, she turned away coldly. Don't worry, the mosquito has been killed. I'm going back to my room now. The man gently touched his face, muttering nonstop, I think I just saw my great-grandmother flash before my eyes. Meanwhile, Li Yin pondered slightly, her thoughts swirling deep inside. It wasn't the person who made the tea for me. He genuinely wanted to drink it. Thinking of this, Li Yin looked at the group of men warily. The person who poisoned me is very careful and won't show himself easily. She calculated to herself, I'll just have to wait for that guy to make a move next time and catch him then. Just then, a gun barrel was suddenly pointed straight at Li Yin, the person's finger slowly moving towards the trigger. Witnessing that, she felt a momentary terror. He's about to pull the trigger. On the other side, Liang Ming asked in a low voice, the business is settled. Does President Ji have time tonight? He grinned. You can come to my bar. A lot of new girls have arrived recently. Ji Yoxing looked up, his expression unchanged, his voice light yet decisive as he refused. I don't have time. I have something on tonight. President Liang's Chamber of Commerce must be very busy as well. Liang Ming teased, a smile playing on his lips. Could it be that President Ji is hiding a beauty in a golden house, eagerly waiting to be the groom every night? The ringing of the phone interrupted him. He answered it immediately. Hello, it's me. After listening, his expression changed slightly. Ji Yoxing shouted, what? He left without hesitation. I'm sorry, President Liang. I have an urgent matter to attend to. Please excuse me. Unexpectedly, he just nodded. It's fine, you go ahead. Immediately after, Liang Ming laughed. Ji Yoxing, the grand feast I prepared for you has only just served the appetizer. As he spoke, he laughed maniacally. By the time you get home, you'll find that the canary in your heart has been poisoned to death. Meanwhile, Ji Yoxing walked in with hurried steps, the door bursting open. He shouted, where is Li Yin? A subordinate quickly answered, upstairs. Without a second thought, he kicked the door open. Ji Yoxing shouted in a panic, Li Yin. His face instantly went blank. Looking inside, Ji Yoxing was even more confused. What are you doing? She answered casually, eating potato chips. Li Yin looked up, saw the worry in his eyes, and smiled. What's wrong? I'm not hurt. Are you a little disappointed? Ji Yoxing was stunned, his gaze softening. He shook his head, slightly no. Suddenly, Li Yin patted the space beside her on the bed. Sit down. I'll tell you everything slowly. Over here, Hui Junza didn't forget to instruct. We need to be on high alert these few days. Li Yin was shot at. There's a mole among you brothers. Huang Mao grinned. That's just because you weren't here, Brother Jun. If you were, who would dare? The atmosphere quieted down. He looked on curiously. Speaking of which, why does the boss want that old witch? Junza's narrative voice slowly sounded, each word carving into his memory like a knife. The boss said that many years ago, when she was at her uncle's house, she stole the decision-maker's seal of the S-City General Chamber of Commerce. Huang Mao couldn't help but exclaim, the seal is in her hands? Instantly, his gaze fixed on one spot. What's going on over there? Someone was harassing a female student. The woman kept pleading, don't touch me, help. In the dark alley, boorish laughter echoed. Come here, little sister. The man said with a laugh, come home and play with me. Tang La struggled non-stop. Get away. Just then, Hui Junza launched a surprise attack from behind. He shouted through angrily gritted teeth, let her go. The thugs quickly fled, shouting non-stop, you'd better not run if you know what's good for you. You little brat, just you wait. We'll get someone to beat you up. He immediately roared majestically. This is the territory of the Azure Dragon Chamber of Commerce, not a place for you to run wild. After a moment, Hui Junza approached with concern. Are you okay? Tang La trembled, fear flickering in her eyes. Her voice choked. Thank you. Can you take me home? Back with Li Yin, she said in a low voice at that time. The dark muzzle of the gun was only a few centimeters away from me, but I wasn't scared at all. Li Yin looked up and observed he was very afraid of me. He didn't pull the trigger immediately, so she quickly realized she had a 0.5-second opportunity. In that instant, not only did she not tremble, but the hot blood in her body began to boil. At that time, not only was she not afraid, but she felt a trace of excitement from the bottom of her heart. Lian was like a bloodthirsty beast. She decisively kicked out. Her roar cut through the tense atmosphere. Don't run. Suddenly, the man threw something down. A white mist engulfed Lian's body. She cursed, "Damn it, it's a smoke bomb." Lian had to stop. Her fists clenched. What a pity. I didn't catch him that time. Back in the present, Ji Yoshing looked at her with a complicated expression. Lian smiled slightly and moved closer. "Why are you looking at me with that expression?" He pursed his lips slightly, his voice surprisingly calm. "So you let him get away, and you didn't see his face?" Hearing this, she nodded blankly. "Of course I didn't." The corners of Ji Yoshing's mouth curved up involuntarily. He said meaningfully, "What a pity." Seeing this, Lian shivered slightly. Lian snorted coldly. "It seems you have a few rats hiding in your house, trying to stir up trouble." As he spoke, he stood up and advised in a low voice, "But it's good that you're okay. Leave the rest to me." Lian looked regretful. "You're leaving?" Hearing this, Ji Yoshing turned around in confusion. What? She looked at him and suddenly said reproachfully, "I was almost shot. Shouldn't you comfort me a little?" Faced with Li Yan's sullen expression, Ji Yoshing remained expressionless. He suddenly moved closer to her. His hand gently touched the side of her cheek, giving it a light squeeze. Ji Yoshing spoke coldly, "Comfort? I don't think you need that." The atmosphere fell silent. Ji Yoshing's voice sounded low, just like you said, the burning instinct of the beast within you. He tilted his head to look at Li Yan and continued, "A craving to be soothed. That's what Li Yan truly needs." She reacted fiercely. "Stop spouting nonsense. I don't need any of that." Suddenly, Ji Yoshing forcefully pushed Li Yan down. He smirked, another familiar scene. "It seems you enjoy this game." The space was stuffy and strangely familiar. Li Yan struggled non-stop. "Let me go." His smile tilted slightly. He replied softly, yet full of challenge, "And if I don't?" An impulse erupted, and Li Yan shouted in anger, "Then I'll cripple your—" She froze, her face flushing red. What did I just say? Meanwhile, Ji Yoshing turned away, his voice tinged with hesitation. "I told you, you don't need comfort." Under the night sky, Li Yan lay alone in the bedroom, her eyes closed, completely unguarded. He had approached her at some point, the knife slowly moving to Li Yan's temple. A soft whisper sounded in the darkness. "Li Yan, are you asleep?" Ji Yoshing interjected coldly. "Li Yan, are you acting, trying to trick me? Or is this the real you?" He stared at her and said, "If only you could stay like this forever, how wonderful that would be." As soon as he finished speaking, Ji Yoshing plunged the knife down, the blade almost grazing her face. Then it stopped at Li Yan's carotid artery. Ji Yoshing lowered his head and gazed quietly at her sleeping face. As expected, she's asleep. He carefully walked outside and called out, "Good night, wife." Meanwhile, Li Yan's hand gripped the blanket tightly. After a moment of silence, she sighed, a sense of loss creeping in her heart. Was Ji Yoshing trying to kill her just now? No, he seems to harbor a kind of stubborn hatred for her. Meanwhile, in a modern apartment, Hua Juanza sat awkwardly inside. He could be seen swallowing nervously. Song Lulu approached from a distance. "Benefactor, thank you for helping me drive away those bad guys just now, and thank you for bringing me back." Hua Juanza turned to look at her, his voice calm. "It's nothing. Were you hurt just now? Are you all right?" As soon as he finished speaking, Song Luo trembled slightly. She hesitated, speaking of being injured. Her voice choked, trembling like a sigh. "Compared to the physical wounds, the wounds in my heart are more severe. I still feel scared just thinking about it now." She couldn't help but shed tears. Hua Juanza hurried forward, comforting her softly. There, it's all right now, miss." Song Luo took the opportunity to lean in closer. Hua Juanza awkwardly stepped back. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch you just now. How should I address you?" "My name is Hua Juanza." A cold glint flashed in her eyes, the corners of her mouth turning up slightly. This guy is really good at pretending. "I like to see how long you can keep it up." While keeping her distance, Song Luo said in a gentle voice, "My name is Song Luo." She sat up straight, her hands clasped tightly, her voice low. "Because I live alone, I'm always harassed by the local thugs." At this moment, Song Luo looked at Hua Juanza with a terrified expression. There was even one time before she could finish, Juinza frowned, anger flashing in his eyes. Bullying a woman, despicable, abominable. Song Luo quickly explained, Brother Hua, don't be angry. Luckily, the police arrived in time, and I was fine. He took a deep breath, his eyes firm, and his voice calmed down. Don't worry, I won't let you encounter this kind of thing again. The atmosphere quieted down. Song Luo turned slightly. The tea has gone cold. I'll go make another cup. Hearing this, Juinza hesitated for a moment. No need to trouble yourself. Song Luo tilted her head, her eyes watery and sincere. How could I not? You're the hero who saved me. As she stood up, she began to sway. He quickly supported her, his voice worried. Be careful. Juinza asked anxiously. Are you all right? Song Luo frowned slightly, her brows knitted together. I twisted my ankle. It hurts so much. She gripped his arm, saying weakly, I don't think I can walk. At the same time, Juinza showed a complicated expression. He suddenly reached out and wrapped his arm around Song Luo's waist. Juinza decisively picked her up. I'll take you back to your bedroom. In that instant, a mysterious smile bloomed on Song Luo's lips. He took the bait. Men are all the same. Immediately after, he carefully carried Song Luo to the bed. She lowered her head shyly. Thank you. A thought flashed through Song Luo's mind. Very good. Just one last step. Boss, I'm sacrificing my charms for you. Unexpectedly, Juinza suddenly suggested. You get some rest. I'll head home first. Call me if you need anything. Here's my business card. As soon as the door closed, Song Luo shot a cold glare at the empty space. Unable to stop herself from cursing, he left? What the hell? The scene switches to the next day in Ji Yuheng's building. Juinza said in a cold tone, the boss isn't here today, but there's something that needs to be clarified. He continued in a stern voice. Someone among us wanted to kill Miss Li Yin. Immediately after, Juinza gave a decisive order. Today, we must find that person in this villa. Next person, come with me to the study. The crowd looked at each other in confusion. Come with me into the study. The group looked at each other in confusion. Half an hour later, Li Yin said wearily, all right, you can go out now. The person bowed slightly. Yes. When only the two of them were left, the space suddenly became terrifyingly quiet. Juinza looked directly at her, his voice calm, but with a hidden meaning. Miss Li Yin, the boss is extremely concerned about you being implicated to the point where he can't be calm and objective. Li Yin's long eyelashes fluttered slightly, her gaze half smiling, half probing. Isn't that how men treat their other half? Or is it that you, Juinza, have never met a woman who makes you feel this way? Hitting a sore spot, his cheeks unconsciously turned red. He turned away at the same time, avoiding her gaze. After a moment of silence, she tilted her head and lowered her voice. By the way, Juinza, I've always been curious about Ji Yuheng's attitude towards me. Did something unpleasant happen between us? He immediately became wary. Li Yin smiled faintly. It's all right, you don't have to tell me. Just pretend I never asked. But just then, Juinza slowly spoke, enunciating each word. You and the boss were once deeply in love, but something happened, and you hurt him very deeply. Hearing this, Li Yin couldn't help but be a little surprised. What happened? He looked at her and replied, you betrayed the boss. Hearing this, Li Yin was stunned, a trace of panic rising in her eyes. Me? I actually betrayed Ji Yuheng? No wonder Ji Yuheng has such a strong desire to control me, and such a subtle hatred. Recalling his gaze that was both gentle and laced with hidden hatred, her heart began to beat irregularly. Wait, Ji Yuheng would never let go of someone who betrayed him. So, doesn't that mean I'm doomed? Li Yin glanced at Juinza, her voice half questioning, half pleading. Juinza, how exactly did I betray him? Did I cheat on him? He didn't answer, simply commanding, next person come in. Meanwhile, she became even more confused. I have a handsome and dashing husband. How could I possibly cheat? Back when Li Yin was the apple of Ji Yuheng's eye, he once smiled gently and said, Wifey, get ready, you won't be getting any sleep tonight. But a flash of panic crossed her eyes. What kind of person was I before I lost my memory? Was it that I got tired of delicacies and wanted a change of pace, to try some street-side corn cakes and pickles? She hesitated to ask Juinza, but the words died on her lips. She really wanted to ask Juinza about her cheating, but not now. He asked coldly, where were you when the gun was fired? The The person frowned slightly and answered calmly. I was in the storage room tidying up when I heard the gunshot. Another voice cut in. I was taking a crap, and when I heard the gunshot, I ran out before I could even pull up my pants. He scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. I didn't even have time to grab any toilet paper. The heavy atmosphere was immediately broken. Li Yin said, before the shooting, the cameras in the other public areas of the villa were all damaged, so a lot of what they're saying can't be verified. Seeing this, Hua Junza turned to comfort her. It's all right, sister-in-law. Leave this to me. You can go rest. She hurriedly called out to him, her eyes tense. By the way, Hua Junza about me cheating. Hua Junza had already run to the other side. Li Yin called out helplessly, don't go, in the silent room. She lowered her head and thought, Ji Yuheng. A crazy idea flashed through Li Yan's mind. With these looks, this body, and even his kissing skills, how could I have cheated? Could it be? At this moment, she made a bold guess. Could it be that he's not good in that department? Is that why I went and cheated? Thinking of this, Li Yin quickly shook her head. No, what kind of nonsense am I thinking? The priority now is to appease him. She immediately came up with a plan to dispel his murderous intent towards her. After a good while, Li Yin was busy cooking in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Ji Yuheng slowly pushed the door open. He looked in curiously. I'm back. What are you busy with? Li Yin was slightly startled, forcing a smile. Hubby, you've worked hard today. I specially made your favorite dish. She brought out a plate of braised pork ribs, her eyes full of expectation. Quick, try these braised pork ribs. Ji Yuheng glanced at it, his eyes somewhat suspicious. Another assassin came to kill you today and fired a shot into the kitchen. As he spoke, he pointed at what was in Li Yan's hands. So, you've perfectly disposed of the assassin, which is this thing in front of me. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. Ji Yuheng frowned. Admittedly, this is a good way to dispose of a body. Are you trying to poison me in broad daylight? Li Yin trembled slightly, but still tried to coax him, passing the chopsticks to him, her voice as soft as water. Come on, just try it. She looked at Ji Yuheng with sparkling eyes, continuing to urge him. I worked hard on this all afternoon. Under Li Yan's sparkling gaze, he had no choice but to compromise. All right, I'll eat. Immediately after, Ji Yuheng quickly put a piece of meat in his mouth. He was seen chewing slowly, the shape of his mouth extremely attractive. On the other side, Li Yan looked at him with expectant eyes. Seeing this, Ji Yuheng nodded slightly. It's delicious. She was slightly stunned, her eyes lighting up. Really? Ji Yuheng nodded, his voice low and husky. MHM. He suddenly leaned close to her ear and whispered. Really? Ji Yuheng continued to whisper. Can you make it for me again, next time? After a moment, he changed his tone. You go rest first. I still have some things to take care of. I'll be right back. In an instant, only Li Yin was left in the kitchen. She sat quietly for a long time, then whispered softly as if talking to herself. Ji Yuheng, thinking of this, Li Yin couldn't help but feel some doubt. What on earth did I do to betray you? At this moment, she unconsciously felt a mixture of shock and remorse. But you still tolerate me like this. Back on Ji Yuheng's side, he walked step by step toward the painting. He was seen reaching out his hand, touching the pattern on it. On the other side, in a dark dungeon, the sound of a whip cracking could be heard. He asked loudly, haven't you broken him yet? Hua Junza immediately lowered his head. He'd rather die than say who ordered him to assassinate Li Yin in the hospital. This assassin is very professional. Opposite him was a man covered in wounds. Ji Yuheng looked at the other party with a cold gaze. An assassin from the Assassin's League, not belonging to any chamber of commerce. You can't be naive enough to think that your client will let you go just because you keep your mouth shut, can you? He continued in a cold voice. You're a major threat to your client now. If I hadn't hidden you here, you would have been silenced by him long ago. Immediately after, Ji Yuheng announced decisively, I'll give you one day to think it over. Hua Junza, let's go. He quickly replied, yes. Just then, the basement door opened, accompanied by a creak from above. Footsteps echoed urgently, and a mysterious figure appeared holding a dagger. The assassin laughed hoarsely, his voice tinged with the smell of blood. So you hid him in the secret room's dungeon. You made me search for so long. Don't blame me. I'm just following the client's orders. Immediately after, he lunged forward with a ferocious laugh, brandishing his knife. Suddenly, The knife stopped in front of the body. In front of him was a dummy. The assassin's eyes widened, looking tremblingly at the figure before him. Dummy? At the same time, Ji Yuheng suddenly pressed the light switch. He stared at the assassin with a cold gaze. You took the bait. Unfortunately, the assassin has already been moved to a safe place by us. No wonder your first reaction upon seeing Li Yan at the hospital was to kill her. Speaking of this, Ji Yuheng glared angrily. So, you tell me who the mastermind is, and I'll spare your miserable life. Hua Juanza immediately guessed. So it was ordered by Liao Dalao, the boss of the Qilin Chamber of Commerce? He added softly, the Qilin Chamber of Commerce and the Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce are equal in power. He has offended the Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce. The loss outweighs the gain. In that instant, Ji Yuheng's brows furrowed tightly. Could it be the decision-maker of the General Chamber of Commerce? The thought flashed through his mind, and he fell silent, as if calculating something. After a while, Hui Juanza carefully probed, Big brother, that guy betrayed you. Is it really okay to let him go back to the wild now? Ji Yuheng replied coldly, a hint of killing intent in his eyes. I will not forgive those who betray me, and neither will Liao Dalao. He quickly replied, understood. He turned his gaze to the assassin, emphasizing, betrayal is the biggest taboo in this line of work. Even if you get the money, you might not live to spend it. Just then, the phone suddenly rang. The screen showed a message from Song Luo. Brother Hua, are you free? Can you accompany me somewhere? Meanwhile, Li Yan's mind was in turmoil. Damn it, when will I ever have a chance to make up with Ji Yuheng? He's always on guard against me. At this moment, she stood seriously in front of the mirror, suddenly worried. The fact that I betrayed Ji Yuheng is like a ticking time bomb. If I don't resolve it, I'll die every time he's in a bad mood. This won't do. A light flashed in her eyes, and Li Yan smiled. The most effective way to close the distance between a man and a woman is to make the distance negative. Take the initiative and turn defeat into victory. A sharp pain shot through her brain, and she began to sway. My head hurts so much. Li Yan's expression changed in an instant. Next to her was a sharp dagger. Ding Ying's figure suddenly approached, looking at her coldly. No wonder you kept stopping me from coming in. So you were hiding a mistress. Li Yan was stunned. Who is she? Why does she look like she's catching me in the act? She muttered to herself, I don't even know you. Survival manual rule number 1. Don't hit a smiling face. Immediately after, Li Yan smiled. Hello, sister. Want some fries? Sorry, Ji Yuheng isn't home. Hearing this, Ding Ying suddenly screamed. You actually call me sister? Immediately, her body struggled, accompanied by a sharp cry. You bitch, do you know how old you are? You actually call me sister. I'm 1 year, 4 months, 21 days, 11 hours, and 40 minutes younger than you. What are your intentions calling me that? Damn it, I'm so pissed off. The man quickly held her down. Calm down, calm down. Seeing this, Li Yan was displeased. What are you so worked up about? She narrowed her eyes at Ding Ying. She replied coldly, Fine, today I'll let you know. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. Women like you just act pitiful to gain Ji Yuheng's sympathy and shamelessly stay by his side, right? Li Yan started to panic, her voice weak. You've misunderstood. It was Ji Yuheng. She cut her off, her eyes burning with contempt. You're still pretending. Listen to me carefully. At this moment, Ding Ying ordered bluntly, I am Ding Ying, Ji Yuheng's official girlfriend. You shameless third party. Get the hell out of here right now. Don't think you can win Ji Yuheng's heart by acting weak. You fake, wild woman. In that instant, a drop of water fell from above. Just then, Ji Yuheng's voice rang out, cold and sharp. Li Yan, you can't be foolish enough to think that you can erase your past betrayal with shallow seduction, can you? Li Yan trembled, her voice choked. Ji Yuheng, I don't remember anything. He said painfully, you right now is nothing but a canary in my cage. Whether I want to torture you or kill you, can you resist? I just want to see you struggle desperately in despair. On the other side, she couldn't help but clutch her head and scream, Stop talking. Just then, a voice came from outside. Miss, you can't come in. Ding Ying roared angrily. You dare to stop me? He tried hard to block and persuade her. The boss is really not home. Please go back. She continued to shout. Get out of my way. Immediately after, Ding Ying brazenly punched the person in the eye. Her gaze suddenly stopped where Li Yan was standing. In the blink of an eye, Ding Ying's expression changed, hatred showing in her eyes. In another place, a quiet tea room. Ding Yuan slowly spoke. It's rare to see Boss Ji of the Azure Dragon Chamber of Commerce come to my place for tea. Ji Yuheng replied coldly, You're too kind. I must visit Uncle Ding's place often. He raised his cup, his eyes crinkling. You must have been very busy lately. Ying is always causing you trouble too. It's such a headache. Ding Yuan, the decision maker of the S City General Chamber of Commerce, took a sip of tea and said leisurely, It's nothing. Actually, I heard you brought Li Yin home. Ding Yuan observed slowly, his voice as sharp as a knife. The reason you did this is because... Meanwhile, Ding Ying roared angrily. Of course it's because Brother Hung wants revenge for her betrayal. A woman as audacious, arrogant, and delusional as her. What man in this world would love her? A burst of mocking laughter was heard. You foolish woman, do you think he really likes you? She glared at her coldly. He's keeping you only to squeeze out your remaining value. He said it himself. He has no feelings for you. Ji Yuheng's eyes suddenly darkened, every word cold to the bone. I have no feelings for Li Yin. I'm only imprisoning her to get revenge for what happened back then. Speaking of this, he suddenly made a vow. After my uncle's death, the four-sided seal will fall into her hands. Such an important seal should return to the hands of the General Chamber of Commerce's decision-maker. After I get it, I will hand it over to Uncle Ding. Meanwhile, Li Yin unconsciously felt a sharp pain in her chest. So it's true, Ji Yuheng is imprisoning me here for a purpose. More and more new information is coming out. Maybe I can get more intel from this silly girl. She quickly calculated, provoking her a little to make her spill the information herself. Li Yin immediately approached. You just said you're his official girlfriend? Then I have something to ask. Li Yin tilted her head to probe, with a hint of a sarcastic smile. Has Ji Yuheng slept with you? Ding Ying's face immediately turned beet red, and she stammered a curse. You foolish woman! What nonsense are you spouting? Hearing this, she sneered. As the official girlfriend, you two haven't even slept together? Ding Ying angrily approached. None of your business. I'm warning you, don't be too arrogant. Suddenly, Li Yin reached out and caressed her chin. She said coldly, You don't know anything, yet you call yourself Ji Yuheng's girlfriend. You don't even know why I'm in this villa. Your self-righteous act is ridiculous. Ding Ying jumped up in anger, her voice changing pitch. Who says I don't know? You and Brother Hung are sworn enemies. He's only keeping you because you took... No, it should be said, that important thing. She was slightly stunned, her heart skipping a beat. Sworn enemies? An important thing? Ding Ying took another step forward, her voice as sharp as a knife. Do you think faking amnesia can erase the hatred from when you stabbed him? You broke his collarbone. That stab almost killed him. In that instant, Li Yin almost fainted. I stabbed him. Fragmented memories flooded back. Images of skin soaked in blood, the scar hidden under the tattoo. She kept questioning herself. Why? What on earth happened? I remember now. The scar under his tattoo is the proof that I stabbed him. Thinking of this, Li Yin couldn't help but feel a little lost. Everyone says I betrayed him, hurt him. Could all be true? She trembled slightly, then muttered as if possessed. Was the past me an evil person? Meanwhile, Ding Ying raised her chin contemptuously. Do you think people call you a hyena because you're strong? We just hate that madly biting, never-ending way of yours. Brother Hung is sparing your miserable life only because of the thing in your hands. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive now. The atmosphere was suffocatingly thick. Li Yin suddenly smiled. I see. Thank you. The space was silent, with only the steam rising from the tea. Ji Yuheng suddenly spoke. Uncle Ding, you're busy, so I won't disturb you any longer. He looked very pleased. It's really pleasant chatting with young people. Just then, Ding Yuan suddenly spoke with a hidden meaning. Hung, do you know what is most praiseworthy about you? Ji Yuheng immediately turned around. He smiled casually. You're just like your uncle, clean and decisive in your work, leaving no loose ends. Hearing this, he emphasized again, Uncle Ding, rest assured, after I hand over the four-sided seal to you, I will personally finish off that woman. Ding Yuan stared intently at his teacup. This tea, it's really not bad. Back on Lian's side, she came to a final conclusion. Regardless if it was right or wrong back then, the most important thing now is to save my life. Continuing to stay here could be very dangerous. Suddenly, Ji Yuheng pushed the door open forcefully. He looked inside suspiciously. What are you packing? Ji Yuheng's voice was low, carrying an irresistible force. Li Yin, where do you think you're going? Faced with the question, she hesitated. Ji Yuheng, your girlfriend told me to get out. He looked confused after hearing that. Girlfriend? I don't have a girlfriend. Li Yin blurted out 3 words. Ding-ing. Ji Yuheng paused for a moment, then explained, Her. She's just the daughter of the General Chamber of Commerce's decision-maker. We just know each other. Seeing this, Li Yin said seriously, Although I have amnesia, I'm not interested in your romantic history. You have other fish in your pond. You won't lose much without me. I hope you could be magnanimous and let me go. Hearing this, Ji Yuheng ordered without a second thought. You can't leave. Li Yin smiled, her voice choked. Ever since I lost my memory, you've kept me locked up here. You say it's for protection, but in reality, you have other motives, right? The atmosphere froze. She suddenly moved closer. Instead of guessing at each other like this, why don't we be open about it? Li Yan's gaze stopped, pointing directly at his chest. This scar, I did this, right? Ji Yuheng narrowed his eyes, his voice hoarse. Who told you that? She didn't explain, but screamed. Ji Yuheng, stop denying it. You hate me, don't you? At this moment, he hesitated for a moment and replied, No, I don't hate you at all. Li Yin continued to press. You're still denying it. She gently blew in Ji Yuxini's ear, tempting him. Ji Yuxini, can you be as honest as your body? After a suffocating silence, Li Yin smiled sarcastically, her voice as if passing judgment. You treat me like a canary in a cage, enjoying the power of controlling my everything. You must be very satisfied, right? Ji Yuxini shook his head violently. No, I didn't. At that moment, Ji Yuxini's gaze met Li Yan's, and he said hesitantly, I just want to protect you. Ji Yuxini carefully touched her hand. Li Yin, you have to believe me. He continued in a choked voice full of pleading. I have no ill intentions towards you. Meanwhile, Li Yin tilted her head, observing Ji Yuxini, and questioned him coldly. You lock me in the house every day, make me drink unknown drugs, and have a group of armed subordinates watch me. If you were me, what would you think? Hearing this, Ji Yuxini asked directly, Then what do you want? In a gloomy room, the atmosphere felt suffocating. Li Yin answered concisely, Let me go. Contrary to her, a trace of disappointment flashed across his face. Ji Yuxini said in a low voice, Although I have temporarily eliminated the biggest threat for you, I don't know if there are others who want to harm you. It's not safe outside right now. Li Yin frowned and thought, But if I stay here, I'll have to drink that unknown drug, and the fact that I stabbed Ji Yuxini is a ticking time bomb between us. Just listening to his side of the story, staying here waiting for my value to be exhausted would be dangerous. Her eyes suddenly lit up with a vague idea. I must find someone else to verify my true identity. Going out might be dangerous, but continuing to be caged like a bird, at the mercy of Ji Yuxini's use, is no help for recovering my memory. Following that, Li Yin became almost impatient and shouted, Hurry up and agree, or else I. Li Yan's hand suddenly touched the gun in Ji Yuxini's pants. Seeing this, his expression changed. She moved the muzzle to her own temple without hesitation. I'll die right in front of you. Li Yin boldly placed her hand on the trigger, threatening. I do what I say. Ji Yuxini immediately panicked and moved closer. No, don't. At that moment, helplessness spread in his eyes. Damn it. After a moment of silence, Ji Yuxini nodded helplessly. Fine, I promise you. Hearing this, Li Yin smiled threateningly, but then Ji Yuxini's voice softened, as if trying to maintain some control. But you must also promise me one thing. She became vigilant, her heart racing. What is it? Fear rose in her heart. As expected, the wolf's tail is showing. The real purpose is about to be revealed. Ji Yuxini looked directly into Li Yan's eyes and said slowly, I hope you'll promise me that after you go out, you must protect yourself well. At this moment, Ji Yuxini moved a little closer to her. I will be at home, waiting for you to come back. At that moment, he smiled brightly, his eyes full of love, and the space suddenly fell silent. Li Yin stood at the threshold. I'm sorry, Ji Yuxini. She turned her head painfully to look behind her. I'm going to break my promise. I will not return to this gorgeous birdcage. A long time later, Li Yin was driving on the highway, concentrating her thoughts. Lately, I've been dreaming of a house with a yard. I have a feeling that if I go there, I might remember something. Li Yin stared ahead with firm conviction. In my dream, that house is in the south of the city. I drove out from the garage behind the villa, and the car has anti-peeping windows. Thinking of this, her eyes lowered, lost in thought. I also took Ji Yuxini's gun. It should be fine, right? In that instant, Ji Yuxini's words echoed in her ears. You promised me, after you go out, you must protect yourself well. I will be at home, waiting for you to come back. Li Yin paused slightly, his words. Are they true? Suddenly, The truck in front of her unexpectedly accelerated. Faced with this sudden scene, she couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Immediately, Li Yin turned the steering wheel and crashed straight into the guardrail. A series of assassins got out of the truck. At the same time, she had already fallen into a daze. In the chaotic scene, the group of people gradually approached as Li Yin watched blurrily. She couldn't help but feel suspicious. The watchers outside the villa couldn't have known I drove out. Gee, Yuxini wouldn't do this unless... Immediately, Li Yin made a guess. There's a mole in the villa. At the same time, gunshots suddenly came from behind. Witnessing the scene, Li Yan's eyes widened. Before her was a figure both strange and familiar. He was seen lifting his foot and stomping hard on an assassin. After finishing, he lowered his head to look at the car window and was seen raising his hand to touch the door lock. Just then, a voice sounded, "Yin Yin." On the other side, subordinates were watching worriedly. "Boss, is it really okay to let Li Yin go like this? She has many enemies. What if she runs into danger?" G.E. Yuxini interrupted. "I've already spread the news that the Sifong seal is in her hands. She is forced to stay alive. Only then is there a chance for the Sifong seal to return." He cast a cold gaze into the distance. The Sifong seal is the seal of the decision-makers of the General Chamber of Commerce through the ages. It represents the leader's authority over all the heads of the chamber. It is said that a treasure is hidden within the Sifong seal. Since the death of the last decision-maker, the Sifong seal has been missing. The current decision-maker, without the Sifong seal, inevitably lacks legitimacy. That person suddenly, Yuxini suddenly changed his tone. "Even if she gets caught, I will definitely rescue her. Except for..." He raised his head, looked in a direction, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. "That madman." The scene changes to an extremely luxurious mansion. Li Yin slowly wakes up from unconsciousness. In front of her is Shang Tianli. He slowly lights a cigarette. Shang Tianli is seen tilting his head back and exhaling a puff of white smoke. Immediately after, he turned his head and smiled casually. "Yin Yin, long time no see. How did you end up in such a sorry state? Like a prostitute." Shang Tianli boasted smugly. "I put extra shots into those corpses. This time I aimed for their heads, making sure not a single one was left." Meanwhile, Li Yin observed him carefully, carrying a gun, smiling after killing so many people without any burden. More perverted than a pervert. How could I know someone like this? Anyway, it's fine to pretend to be familiar for now. As the thought passed, she smiled brightly. "Long time no see." Seeing Li Yan's expression, his gaze changed instantly. Following that, Shang Tianli moved closer. "Yin Yin, very strange." At that moment, he unexpectedly hit a sore spot with Li Yin. Could it be that the accident in the car just now made you lose your memory? Then Shang Tianli began to lament. "If Yin Yin forgot me, I would be very sad. My Yin Yin without her memories is like having no value of existence." She smiled coldly. "You're wrong. I don't have amnesia. I just..." At the same time, Li Yin quietly reached for a piece of broken glass. Immediately, she pressed the sharp shard against Shang Tianli's neck. "I was just a little slow to react." In the blink of an eye, Li Yin ran out, reminding him coldly, "Goodbye, and let's not meet again." On the run, Li Yin gasped for breath, unable to help but feel worried. Too dangerous. I've completely angered that madman this time. I have to get away from him quickly. Suddenly, a gunshot from behind made Li Yin jump. Shang Tianli pointed the gun at her and smiled. "This is the Yin Yin I know. A pity you forgot to stab me. But we haven't played so amusingly like this in a long time." Over here, Li Yin writhed in pain on the ground. Before she lost consciousness, he moved closer. "Why don't you come to my place today? We can catch up properly." On the other side, Huijuanzi couldn't help but exclaim, "The scenery here is so beautiful." He turned to Song Luo and recounted, "I also discovered this place by accident. The view is very open. My dad brought me here when I was little. My dad was a veteran, and my mom was..." Hearing this, her expression changed instantly. "Dad." A scene from the past suddenly replayed. The man roared angrily, "Hey, when are you going to pay back the money you owe me? Today is the deadline." The person below pleaded incessantly, "Please, just give me a few more days. I'll pay you back right away." Seeing this, the man grabbed his hair and cursed, "Damn it, you son of a bitch." His gaze suddenly turned towards the direction of the sound. Immediately after, the man walked towards the wardrobe. Before his figure appeared, Song Luo trembled and returned to reality. Huijuanzi asked anxiously, Song Luo, are you okay?" He reached out to touch her. "Why are you crying?" Song Luo shook her head slightly. It's nothing. I just saw the scenery, and it stirred up some emotions, reminded me of some things. Seeing this, Huijunzi replied softly, It's all my fault. She quickly denied, It's okay anyway. Following that, Song Luo gave him a light kiss on the lips. Having you is enough. At the same time, a familiar car drove by. The person in the car looked at the two of them and muttered, It's him. After a while, Li Yan's body lay alone on the cold ground. In that instant, she slowly woke up. A sudden throb of pain. I'm not dead. It was a rubber bullet. Opposite her, Shang Tianli chuckled. As expected of my scheming Yin Yan. But Yin Yan, you were a bit too heavy-handed. He stared at Li Yan and pinched the wound on her shoulder. It hurts so much. But it's nothing. Hearing this, she said coldly, A perverted monster like you can't die. Li Yan raised an eyebrow slightly, observing Shang Tianli more closely. This person knows me. Maybe he can provide a lot of useful information. I have no choice but to follow him. A long time later, the car was speeding on the highway. At this moment, Shang Tianli put on a pouting expression. Yin Yan, you're making an injured person drive. How heartless. Li Yan replied irritably, Cut the crap. Didn't I treat your wound for you? She frowned and muttered to herself. Thanks to Ding Lying, I have a rough idea of what kind of person I was before my amnesia. I'll play my part well. As long as this pervert doesn't find out, I should be safe. Li Yan's gaze suddenly turned to the front. That's... She looked out the window in confusion. Huijunzi? What's he doing here? Is that his girlfriend? His gaze glanced at the couple kissing in a quiet corner, the corner of his mouth lifting. There's a little couple kissing. This secluded place is really convenient for doing things. Li Yan couldn't help but be curious. Convenient for what? She cursed angrily in her mind. Can't tell this madman's head is also full of garbage. Seeing Li Yan's wary look, Shang Tianli smiled contemptuously. Convenient for disposing of a body after a murder. Li Yan breathed a sigh of relief. This guy's thinking is really not normal. Then he changed the subject. There's someone you know. Want to stop? Li Yan answered quickly. No need, just drive past. She frowned and glanced in the rearview mirror. I didn't expect Huijunzi to be here. He's one of Ji Yunzhai's people. It's better for me to stay far away. The scene changes to an extremely luxurious but equally gloomy mansion. Shang Tianli couldn't help but exclaim, as expected of Yin Yan, your bandaging skills are as good as mine. She smiled, just used to it. Seizing the opportunity, Li Yan turned to look around. I didn't expect there to be such a complete medical room here, along with a pharmacy and a pharmaceutical lab. So this madman is a doctor? Just then, Shang Tianli unexpectedly asked softly, Yin Yan, want to take a shower? Hearing this, suspicion rose in her heart. He speaks so naturally. Are we very close friends? After a moment of silence, Li Yan avoided his gaze and said, showering at your place seems a bit inconvenient. Shang Tianli frowned, his voice tinged with mockery. Are you shy? Good heavens, does Yin Yan think I'm going to peek at you showering? She was flustered for a moment. I wasn't thinking that, but why are you so worked up? Li Yan was secretly pleased in her mind. Judging by his reaction, we're just ordinary friends, no ambiguous relationship. Then he suddenly leaned back and said suggestively, however, a man and a woman alone in a villa with few visitors, doing something doesn't seem like a bad idea. Li Yan's expression changed instantly, panic showing in her eyes. Just then, Shang Tianli shrugged. The most perfect thing inside is dismemberment and rinsing. At the same time, the shower water can wash away bloodstains, wash away all traces of the crime. Very convenient. She shivered involuntarily. So he wants to commit a crime? Is this madman's mind only filled with the desire to kill? Suddenly, his gaze shifted to Li Yan. By the way, there are a few work matters. Yin Yan, come with me. She couldn't help but be surprised. I even have work dealings with this madman. After a while, Shang Tianli explained carefully. The formula for this drug is a bit complicated. The raw materials are hard to find this time. It will take another week to make the regular drug. I can't deliver on time, so I'll give you a 10% discount. She frowned, turned her head to look, and understood unconsciously. So I'm partners in pharmaceuticals with this madman. That's right. Following that, Li Yan quickly handed him the medicine bottle. Help me check the ingredients of this medicine. Suspicion rose in her heart. Yuxini forced me to drink this medicine in his villa. Although I secretly spat it out, his checks were too strict, so I still drank almost all of it. Shang Tianli took the bottle, his eyes lighting up. Yin Yan's medicine will definitely make a fortune. You go wait for me in the study upstairs. Give me half an hour, no? 15 minutes will be enough. Lian was seen walking step by step towards the room. She raised her head to look up, and a sound unconsciously escaped her lips. Fanhua. At the same time, Shang Tianli's voice came. Yin Yan, I've finished checking. Li Yin reacted immediately. How is it? He answered seriously. A mixture of two drugs. One promotes the brain's metabolic processes, and the other nourishes the brain's nerves. After a lengthy explanation, Shang Tianli concluded, in short, it's a drug specifically for treating amnesia. She tilted her head in disbelief. It's a medicine for amnesia? Then Li Yin unconsciously felt regret. Ji Yuxini wasn't trying to harm me. Meanwhile, Shang Tianli continued, his gaze focused on the medicine bottle. This kind of medicine is only suitable for a few people. There's no profit in imitating it anyway. Who is using this medicine? At this point, he looked at her suspiciously. Could it be you? Faced with Shang Tianli's scrutiny, Li Yin shrank back. She quickly denied the accusation. Of course not. It's for a friend of mine. Li Yin tried to hold her breath, her heart filled with worry. If this madman finds out I have amnesia, I might die. I absolutely cannot expose myself in front of him. Shang Tianli changed the subject again, glancing at her. Yin Yin, you gave me this calligraphy. It has our names on it. It's really meaningful. Li Yan's gaze rested on the familiar handwriting. My name is on it? This handwriting feels very familiar. It must be my handwriting, that's right. She replied casually, yes, I wrote it. Unexpectedly, he suddenly burst out laughing. Following that, Shang Tianli approached step by step, asking loudly, then Yin Yan, what is my name? She shivered involuntarily. Damn it, I can't remember. He pressed a sharp shard against Li Yan's neck and then continued to press. So Yin Yan, tell me, what is my name? Seeing this, she looked up at Shang Tianli coldly. I'll count to 3. Put the blade down now. Li Yin started counting without much thought. 1. Her heart raced. Her breathing quickened. He already suspects me. If I don't pass this test, will I die? 2. Finally, Shang Tianli took a step back and shrugged slightly. Don't be so tense. I just wanted you to say my name. Li Yin frowned and shook her head forcefully. I don't want to. It's too disgusting. She frowned and thought. Instinctively, I'm already getting goosebumps. I really don't get along with this guy. Following my intuition, I probably wouldn't have called him by his name even when I didn't have amnesia. Seeing this, he quickly knelt down. Yin Yin, don't be so heartless. Li Yin replied coolly, get lost. I'm going to sleep. Before leaving, she slowly turned around. In Li Yan's mind, she was still as tense as a bowstring, feeling that if she couldn't say his name, she would have to guard against him assassinating her even in her sleep. Her gaze fell on the familiar handwriting again, and her heart tightened. Fanhua. Could his name be these two characters? Li Yin immediately turned around. The moment she saw the familiar handwriting, she seemed to remember something, and then she quickly made a guess. His name is definitely not Fanhua, but finally, Li Yin smiled casually. Good night, Shang Tianli. She thought to herself, surname Shang, given name Tianli. Shang Tianli reacted immediately, his eyes lighting up slightly. Yin Yin. You said my name. She smiled slightly, as if she had seen through the mystery hidden in the characters. The two characters for Fanhua, when separated, are precisely the characters for Tian, Can, and Li. Li Yin analyzed boldly. When I wrote that character back then, I must have deliberately used upon. A long time later, the mansion was shrouded in night. At this time, Li Yin was tossing and turning in bed. She couldn't help but cry. I missed the comfortable bed at Ji Yuxini's house so much. The more Li Yin thought about it, the more she regretted, and he even thoughtfully provided bedtime service. Suddenly, a sound came from the room downstairs. Hearing the sound, Li Yin opened the door without hesitation. She looked around. What was that sound? It seems to be coming from the room downstairs. Li Yin quickly walked over. I can't sleep anyway. Might as well go take a look. She looked warily at a line of light from the room. The door is unlocked. At this moment, Li Yin carefully squinted to look inside. She saw Shang Tianli reaching out and touching a dried corpse. She blurted out unconsciously, her heart pounding like a hammer. A corpse. The scene before her was like a heavy hammer hitting her head. Her head began to hurt, and immediately after, those painful memories she had forgotten. That year, at the age of 8, her father and that woman left the place called home. Her mother worked while raising her, always saying that her father was just temporarily confused, that he loved them, and that he would come back sooner or later. Then, her mother fell ill from overwork, running a high fever. There was no rice in the pot and no money, so she had to find a way to go out and get medicine for her mother. She went to several pharmacies, kneeling and begging, and finally, someone kindly gave her the medicine. When she returned home, her mother was sleeping, but she was sleeping so soundly that she wouldn't wake up no matter how much she called. Her mother's mouth was tightly shut, and it took a lot of effort for her to squeeze the medicine between her teeth. After her mother took the medicine, the fever subsided. The medicine was good, and her mother's body was cold. Maybe she would wake up soon. A scream rang out. "Someone come quick! What are they doing?" Li Yin kept shouting. "Get away! Don't touch my mom!" One of them ordered loudly, "Take the child away." Seeing this, she cried out in pain, "My mom took the medicine. She's getting better. She'll wake up soon. Get away! Get away!" But perhaps because she hadn't bathed in a long time, her mother's smell attracted a group of people who wanted to take her mother away. She desperately tried to stop them. Her father hadn't come back yet. Her mother hadn't waited for him. They couldn't go. Then, she was taken to a place called an orphanage. Then a kind person came to adopt her. The man looked at Li Yin with loving eyes and said softly, "My child, I have helped you bury your mother. From now on, you will follow me. This is my grandson. We will live together in the future." At the same time, Ji Yuxini also appeared, saying coldly, "Hello, nice to meet you." The scene changes, and Ji Yuxini shouts frantically, "Don't sleep, you can't sleep now." He kept shouting, "Open your eyes for me." Li Yin tried to reach out to touch Ji Yuxini, saying weakly, not forgetting to remind him, "Anyway, I'm the person you hate the most, right? Don't mind me. You should run." Hearing this, Ji Yuxini picked up Li Yin. "If we go together. If we die together." He held her cold body tightly and declared, "In this world, I like you the most." In that instant, Ji Yuxini was almost desperate. He said with a choke, "If we can escape this time, you must marry me as my wife." The scene changes to the cherry blossom season. Ji Yuxini reminds her sternly, "No peeking, I haven't covered it yet." Li Yin questioned, "You're gonna give it to me anyway, aren't you?" He smiled, holding the jar in his hands. "Not for you now, but for the future you." Then Ji Yuxini lowered his head to think, hesitating, 10 years. Oh no, you can only see it after 15 years. Finally, Ji Yuxini tilted his head, his voice curious and worried. "Say, can this time capsule be preserved for that long?" She replied coolly, "Maybe. Did you put something very important in it?" In the pit were 2 small jars placed neatly. Ji Yuxin pouted, "I'm not telling you." Hearing this, Li Yin immediately extended her hand. "Then it's a deal. In 15 years, we'll come back here and dig up the time capsule." He couldn't help but feel a little curious. "Li Yin, in 15 years, what kind of people will we become?" Faced with this sudden question, she was slightly taken aback. Ji Yuxin's voice trembled, but was firm as he said, "Will we still be as close as we are now, always together?" Li Yin leaned in slightly, her tone decisive, "We definitely will. Pinky promise. I will protect you and support you. I, Li Yin, will never betray you. Ji Yuxin, you are the most important person in my life." In an instant, the scene changed. Li Yin said coldly, "I told you, don't stand in my way." Immediately after, her eyes widened in anger as she roared, "For those who block my path, there is only death." With that, Li Yin decisively raised her hand. "Ji Yuxin, even if it's you, it's not allowed." Just then, a voice urged her to stop. "Stop, that's Ji Yuxin, the Ji Yuxin you promised to protect forever." Beside her, Shang Tianli looked displeased. "Yin Yin, you're calling another man's name in my bed. That's going too far." Li Yin looked at him, confused. "Why are you here?" Shang Tianli smiled, his voice icy. "Last night, you fainted at the door of the secret room, and I carried you back to my bed. You were surprised to see my collection. If anyone else had seen it, they would have already become a part of my collection." Li Yin asked curiously, "By the way, do you know if there's an island nearby full of pink cherry blossoms?" "Light pink cherry blossoms." Before she could finish asking, Shang Tianli quickly replied, "I don't know, but I can take you to the pier to ask." Seeing this, Li Yin quickly refused. "No need, I'll go by myself. I'll consider last night a favor I owe you, and I'll repay you in the future. I'm leaving now." Shang Tianli immediately sat up, putting on a pouting expression. "Yin Yin, are you just going to leave me all alone? We haven't seen each other in so long. Can't you stay with me for a few more days?" She curtly refused, showing no mercy. "No, The villa with a courtyard that she had dreamed of before turned out to be Shang Tianli's home. Next, she was going to search for the island from her dream. At the same time, Lian earnestly greeted an uncle. "Excuse me, is there an island full of cherry blossoms nearby?" The man tilted his head and looked at her, asking in return, "You must be talking about Red 8 Island, right?" She thought to herself, "My time capsule is buried under the cherry blossom tree on that island. Maybe it will help me remember a lot of memories." Lian nodded slightly. "Probably. 1,000. Take me there. Let's get on the boat quickly." After a while, the man shouted, "One more person." The boatman immediately replied, "The boat is full." The man outside the window suddenly offered, "I'll pay triple the price to catch a ride." At the same time, Lian nodded in agreement. "All right, come on up quickly. We're leaving right away." Following that, she sat upright in her seat. In that instant, a familiar figure flashed before Lian's eyes. She immediately looked over warily. This person's figure, could it be? At the same time, another person came forward to find fault. "Hey, did you get on the wrong boat? This isn't the route to Red 8 Island." The boatman replied irritably, "Cut the crap. I took your money, so I'll naturally take you where you need to go." Hearing this, Lian spoke up, "Take him where he wants to go. Then what about me?" The man turned his gaze to her. "As for this beautiful lady, someone wants to see her. There's no danger. I hope she can cooperate." After a moment, he continued in a low voice, "Be good and don't move. We're just taking you for a trip." Lian paused. She looked over with a frown. "Take me away? With just you guys?" Lian was seen bending down, rummaging for something in her bag. Immediately after, she pulled out a large handgun. Lian coldly pointed the gun at the group of men, then decisively pulled the trigger. "How about I give you a send-off instead?" In an instant, dozens of bullets rained down, landing beside the cold corpses of the men. Witnessing that scene, another person pointed a gun directly at Lian's head. "Damn it!" The man smiled sarcastically. "You're out of bullets, aren't you?" Just as he was gloating, another voice cut in. "Not yet," the person suggested coldly. "Drop your weapons and tell your men to stop." Hearing this, the man was dismissive. "There are more than 10 of us. Can you kill us all? On the vast sea, you have nowhere to run." Ji Yusin didn't back down, retorting bluntly, "You're the ones that want to die. I'll give you 1 minute. Either jump into the sea to save your lives or die." In that instant, Lian's gaze rested on him. Ji Yusin. It was actually him. "Over here." Ji Yusin looked at the man with cold eyes. "The bullets I brought today are enough to kill everyone on your boat. If you don't want to die, then scram." She looked at him in surprise, with mixed feelings in her heart. "Ji Yusin, even though we've only been apart for a day, I've been looking forward to seeing his face again." On the other side, the man threatened, "Not to be outdone, Ji Yusin, I'll settle today's score with you sooner or later." After a good while, the boat quickly docked. Lian glanced at the group of men. She was very displeased. "Just letting them go like that? That's not your style." Then his voice rang out, cold and decisive. "Then kill them, including you. You're a celebrity now. Everyone is tracking your whereabouts." Immediately after, Ji Yusin casually teased, "They must be dreaming, a piece of fat meat delivering itself to their door." Lian admitted frankly, "I was originally trying to go to a place, and I heard this was the only pier to get there, but I didn't expect to get on a pirate ship." Her gaze shifted to the scenery ahead as she continued, "It's a very beautiful place with pink cherry blossoms everywhere. And also," after speaking, Lian subconsciously turned to look at Ji Yusin. He also subconsciously turned his head to look at her. In that instant, Lian asked curiously, "Ji Yusin, you don't care that I hurt you and stole your things? Why did you bring me home and treat me with hospitality?" Then, she showed an expression of unease and confusion. "Wouldn't direct coercion be more effective than trying to influence me with gentle emotions?" Faced with a series of questions, Ji Yusin was slightly taken aback. Then he turned around, his head lowered, without answering. But the next question strangely tormented Lian. "In your world, is profit the most important thing?" She casually nodded. "That's right." Hearing this, Ji Yusin turned to look at her. "Then what would you do?" Lian bluntly expressed her views without hesitation. "If someone took something very important from me and also hurt me, I would definitely retaliate against that person cruelly. Even if that person fled to the ends of the earth, I would find them and make that person pay back all the harm I suffered. If that person was once close, then the betrayal is even more unforgivable." He smiled casually. "If you were the one who betrayed and hurt someone, would you also want the other person to retaliate against you in that way?" Lian replied indifferently, "What goes around comes around. If you do evil, you must bear all the evil consequences. Even if killed by someone close, it's a deserved punishment. Ji Yusin's heart twitched involuntarily. That's right, this is the Li Yin I know. He suddenly spoke. Let's go back to the cabin. I'll take you. Seeing this, she asked curiously, you know where I want to go? Ji Yusin feigned ignorance. Let me guess. Then you look ahead, an island full of cherry blossoms. That place has your memories. And also, Lian's face immediately froze. Ji Yusin emphasized word by word, the time capsule. In a dark corner, the man from before revealed a smug smile. Immediately after, the boat cabin exploded, filling with smoke and debris. Another person couldn't help but feel a little confused. The boss's thing hasn't been found yet, and you're just letting them die like this? The man's voice was annoyed, but a hint of smugness flashed in his eyes. Anyway, I've now heard and confirmed that Li Yin is going to Red 8 Island to find a treasure. That woman is useless now. On the other side, Lian's body was floating in the sea. Her body was seen almost sinking into the deep sea. In that instant, Ji Yusin appeared and held Li Yin tightly. Immediately after, he planted a sweet kiss on her lips. Just as their lips parted, Li Yin murmured vaguely, Ji Yusin. The next morning, on a very bright island, Li Yin suddenly woke up. She looked around in confusion. I'm still alive? Li Yan's gaze quickly swept over everything. This is an island. Then she looked worriedly at the water. Where's Ji Yusin? Is he dead? Over here, the coconut trees almost pierced the sky. Li Yin curled up in a corner, choking back sobs. Ji Yusin must have died saving me. But then, a sense of self-blame welled up. He clearly cared about me so much and genuinely wanted to help me recover my memories. But I always suspected him. He wouldn't have gotten involved otherwise. Li Yin lowered her head in pain. He clearly had no ill intentions towards me. It was me who kept doubting him. Finally, she couldn't help but curse herself. Damn it, I still can't remember anything. I'm so useless. Li Yan's eyes were teary, almost about to cry. Her muscles and bones, she slowly stretched her body. Her gaze followed a shadow ahead. There seems to be something up ahead. Li Yan's heart raced, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. She was almost stunned by the sight before her. Red 8 Island, the place full of petals from my dreams. At the same time, a boat slowly approached the shore. The man's voice rang out, cold and teeth-gritting. You all say that hyena-like woman is terrifying. Today you will see Li Yin dealt with by my own hands. Another person nodded. That's right. The remaining people sycophantically flattered. She's just an ignorant woman. How can she compare to the boss? After a moment, he stared at his phone screen. You guys be quiet. I'm calling the boss. The man raised his phone in confusion. Why won't it connect? Then he froze. What's going on? My body can't move. Shang Tianli had already appeared before him, his voice low and cold. Don't be nervous. I just gave you an injection of a drug when you weren't looking. Immediately after, Shang Tianli took a step closer and said, where was Li Yin planning to go? He quickly understood the meaning, and the corners of his mouth lifted. With just you trash, you're worthy of killing Li Yin? As soon as the words fell, Shang Tianli smiled coldly. You owe me another one, Yin Yan. The scene switched to a house nestled in a flower forest. Li Yin slowly walked in. She carefully spoke. Excuse me, is anyone here? Then her gaze quickly swept over. It seems someone used to live here. The surrounding space was almost covered in flowers. A trace of doubt rose in Li Yan's heart. There's no one, but this place feels a bit familiar. She subconsciously glanced at every corner, every object. Then, Li Yin thought softly, it seems there are traces of my existence everywhere. Seeing the dust-covered television, she was momentarily stunned. There's a TV here. Li Yin looked suspiciously in another direction, and a videotape with my name on it. She didn't hesitate to put the videotape into the disc case. The TV screen immediately buzzed as if it were broken. After a good while, an image appeared. It was Li Yin and Ji Yusin. At that time, she was smiling brightly. Come and see. Ji Yusin is wearing a dress. He reacted strongly. What are you doing? Back to Li Yin. She couldn't help but be a little surprised. Is this me as a child? Li Yin suddenly moved closer to him. Which one do I hug? If you don't give it to me, I'll take off your dress. Ji Yusin begged in a panic. Don't, he said wearily. Li Yin is really naughty. Ji Yusin turned his head to complain. Uncle is biased. He clearly likes Li Yin more. She immediately retorted, don't talk nonsense. He's your uncle. The scene flashed by quickly, and Li Yin shed tears unconsciously. Uncle Ji Shimmy unexpectedly leaned close to the screen. Li Yin, don't forget, we have a secret under the tree in the backyard. She was almost jolted awake by that sentence. our secret. Li Yin quickly realized. That's right, it must be that place, the memories that belong to us. Immediately after, she quickly walked to the cherry blossom tree. Then, Li Yin dug with her hands under the rough soil. Her face was slightly sweaty. After a good while, 2 iron boxes came into Li Yan's view. She was stunned for a moment. There really is a time capsule. Immediately after, Li Yan quickly twisted open the lid of the box. She was seen smiling happily, her gaze locked on the piece of paper. Li Yan stared at the photo of the 3 of them. It's really them. A letter was attached inside. Li Yan, this is a letter to the future you. In the future, I want to be taller than you, and I want to marry you as my wife. If you don't agree, I'll keep following you. If you have a husband, She shed tears helplessly. I miss you so much. After a while, Li Yan couldn't help but cover her face and cry. On the ground was still the family photo and the letter written by Ji Yusin in the past. Li Yan secretly glanced at the corner of the box. Let me see what else is in the time capsule. Just then, a look of clear surprise appeared on her face. This is... Li Yan couldn't help but be a little surprised. The square seal? Why is it here? The square seal is the seal that represents the person in power of the General Chamber of Commerce, representing the leader's authority over all the heads of the chamber. There are rumors that a secret treasure is hidden within the square seal. After the previous head of the General Chamber of Commerce passed away, the square seal also disappeared. The current person in power does not have the square seal and is inevitably considered illegitimate. The more Li Yan thought about it, the more confused she became. It's actually my time capsule. Who put it here? At the same time, a familiar voice rang out. Yin Yin, as expected, you're not dead. Shang Tianli smiled casually. You had me worried for so long. I thought you and Ji Yusin had been eaten by fish. Upon seeing him, Li Yan quickly hid the object and then shouted in alarm. Shang Tianli. Before he appeared, Li Yan had muttered to herself, Shang Tianli. Seeing this, he slowly approached and bent down. Yin Yin, what are you doing? Her heart raced. I can't let Shang Tianli find out the square seal is in my hands. Before Li Yan could respond, Shang Tianli suddenly guessed. Could it be that you're looking at the time capsule, reminiscing about the past? He smiled coldly, his gaze following her. The Li Yan I know isn't this fragile. You've been a bit different lately. Faced with Shang Tianli's questioning gaze, Li Yan didn't retort. After a moment, she stood up abruptly and asked coldly, Why are you here? Are you following me? In that instant, Li Yan quickly hid the square seal in her hair. Shang Tianli immediately lay on the ground. He looked on coquettishly. I was worried about you. Your body must be embalmed by me to be preserved perfectly intact. If there's any damage, it won't be beautiful. A hint of mischief flashed in Shang Tianli's eyes, and a teasing yet meaningful voice rang out. Just like Ji Yusin, being eaten by fish is very unsightly. Let's just use this hole you dug to bury him. Hearing this, Li Yan's expression immediately changed, and she asked seriously, You've seen Ji Yusin? He smirked and nodded. Yes. Worry appeared in Li Yan's eyes. She hesitated. Before Li Yan could finish, Shang Tianli suddenly moved closer. He's dead. His body is over there. After speaking, he casually pointed to the bloodstains. It looks really unsightly. Let's hurry up and bury it. On the lawn above was Ji Yusin, a person of flesh and blood. The scene switched to the familiar cottage. Inside the house, Li Yan carefully wiped the dirt from his face. She looked down at Ji Yusin's bare body in pain, the corners of her mouth twitching slightly. Ji Yusin, after a good while, he suddenly woke up, then said dryly, Who? Ji Yusin immediately grabbed Li Yan's hand. It's you. Joy flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth lifted noticeably. Li Yan, you saved me. Faced with Ji Yusin's sudden action, Li Yan was stunned, somewhat at a loss. Immediately after, he climbed up and hugged her tightly. That's great. I was so worried. Then Ji Yusin looked down curiously. What? You didn't want me to die? Li Yan reminded him. Be careful of your wound. Just then, Shang Tianli walked in furiously. He commanded loudly, Let go of your dishonest hands, or I'll chop you up and feed you to the fish. Hearing this, Ji Yusin looked at Shang Tianli coldly. You can try. As soon as the words fell, he pulled her tightly against him. Li Yan's face immediately turned as red as a tomato. Finally, Ji Yusin shamelessly provoked. Come and get her if you have the guts. Shang Tianli roared. Yin Yin, get out of the way. Realizing the situation was critical, she quickly shouted, "Enough! Both of you shut up!" Lian's voice lowered, stern, as if to extinguish his anger. "Stop fooling around, Shang Tianli." Hearing this, he showed a pained expression. "Yin Yin, you're scolding me for him? In your heart, am I less important than him?" She hesitated for a moment. "That's not it." Seeing this, Shang Tianli smiled smugly. "Did you hear that? In Yin Yan's heart, I'm more important." Li Yin quickly retorted, "That's not what I meant." He paid no mind, shamelessly provoking. "You have to know I'm right. That year Yin Yin and I were together, I was the partner." Ji Yusin replied wearily. "The most important thing?" He smiled faintly, half joking, half serious. "Anyone could be a partner. They all have a high chance of being replaced. You two have only known each other for a year. But we..." Shang Tianli immediately flew into a rage. "You two have known each other for a long time, but you still..." Ji Yusin retorted bluntly. "But she was willing to save me." Hearing this, he became even more furious. "I saved you. I used my coat to bandage the wound on your leg." Ji Yusin's expression immediately changed. Shang Tianli smiled slightly, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "How about it? Are you disgusted? Take it off if you have the guts." Standing in front of the two tall men, Li Yin couldn't help but feel a little confused. How did these two suddenly become so childish? She turned her gaze to him, feeling a little touched in her heart. But this side of Ji Yusin is very much like him as a child. Ji Yusin shamelessly retorted, "That's also because she called me to save me." Seeing this, Shang Tianli turned around. He suddenly said pointedly, "You think everything is fine just because you saved him? Are you feeling very hot? Your wound is inflamed, but there's no fever-reducing medicine here. If the fever doesn't break tonight, you'll be burned into a fool. By then, Yin Yin and I will bury you together." Faced with that statement, Ji Yusin could hardly respond. After a good while, the group moved to the lakeside. At the same time, the injured man was leaning against a wall. Another person guessed in a low voice, "Maybe Li Yin and Ji Yusin have a connection, but they can't have run far, only near the seaside." Immediately after, he commanded coldly, "Bring more weapons. Don't give them a chance to come back." Back at the cherry blossom-covered cottage, Shang Tianli was seen letting out a big yawn. His face immediately became grumpy, as if he had seen an enemy. Shang Tianli put on an angry expression. "I stayed up all night taking care of you, and you're all refreshed." Ji Yusin nitpicked nonchalantly, "You took the initiative to save me. I didn't ask you to." Hearing this, he roared in anger, "Don't think I don't know. You want to be alone with Yin Yin. I advise you to be more polite. Not only am I your savior, but you'll also have to take my boat to leave this place later." Just then, Li Yin shouted, "Shang Tianli." She suddenly pointed in a direction, her tone somewhat serious. "There's a fire over there." Li Yin stared ahead. "Is that your boat?" Immediately after, she quickly ran towards the boat. Li Yin showed a difficult expression. "There are a lot of them, and we don't have weapons. We can't fight them head on." Seeing this, Ji Yusin quickly came up with a plan. "There's a tunnel under the house. Let's retreat inside first." In another corner, the group of men turned their guns towards the house. At the same time, Shang Tianli looked around. He couldn't help but feel uneasy. This isn't just a cellar. It's too small. If we get blocked, we'll all die. He turned to Li Yin, his tone decisive. "Yin Yin, let that cripple hide here. Without him in the mix, the two of us can totally take them out." Ji Yusin frowned, observing quietly. "If I don't want to live, don't drag Yin Yin down." He pulled her hand, his steps light but swift. "Let's go." Li Yin reminded him, "Slow down." Suddenly, Ji Yusin turned to look back. Immediately after, he quickly pressed hard on a stone wall. Realizing the situation was critical, Ji Yusin quickly shielded her. Yin Yin. Shang Tianli was almost stunned. After a good while, the two were safe, and the cellar was no longer shaking. Then Lian raised her head and asked in confusion, "You triggered the mechanism earlier?" Faced with this sudden question, Ji Yuxingye nodded without hiding anything. Shang Tianli is too annoying. Speaking of which, he suddenly moved closer to her. "He doesn't seem to know you have amnesia." Ji Yuxingye leaned in even closer. "He whispered, right?" Lian shushed him, signaling him to be quiet. "I don't want others to know. It's a weakness after all." Ji Yuxingye tilted his head in confusion and repeated, "Others?" Suddenly, Ji Yuxingye leaned down and took her hand in his mouth, gently biting Lian's hand, the corners of his mouth turning up. "I will definitely not tell anyone else." Just then, a voice rang out, "Don't run." Lian was startled. Those people have chased us here. At the same time, the sound of violent wall smashing came from outside. Seeing this, Ji Xingye once again shielded Lian with his body. "Be careful." The men outside aimed their guns inside, and the wall collapsed with a bang. "It's a secret passage. There must be someone in there." One of them shouted excitedly, "It's Ji Xingye." The man in the lead chuckled lightly. What a coincidence. Hearing this, he slowly turned around and sneered. Yes, what a coincidence. Lian seized the opportunity and quickly pressed a stone with force. The entire basement immediately began to shake, and the group of people looked at each other in panic. What's going on? In an instant, hundreds of huge rocks fell, burying the group. Lian rushed over anxiously. "Ji Xingye, are you okay?" He shook his head slightly. "Luckily, you were fast enough to trigger the mechanism." She frowned and analyzed. "There aren't many of them. They must have split up to chase Sheng Tianli." Lian looked down and saw blood seeping from his wound. She almost cried out, "The wound is bleeding." Xingye suddenly urged, "There's no time. Let's go first." She looked reluctant. "But your leg." Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. Someone's coming. Amidst the smoke, a figure suddenly appeared. Xingye watched the newcomer warily. "There's more of them." Sheng Tianli smiled faintly, looking at her thoughtfully. "Yin Yin, seeing you so full of spirit, I can rest assured, saves me the trouble of collecting your corpse." Then he turned to Xingye inside. "You look quite pathetic." Xingye coldly exposed him. "Better than you deserting in the face of battle." Hearing this, Sheng Tianli retorted unhappily, "I want to lure those assassins away." Over here, Lian cautiously investigated. "Are they all dead? Let's quickly take their boat and leave this island." She gritted her teeth in anger. "I must go back and find out who is trying to kill me." Once outside, Xingye cautiously suggested, "It's not safe outside. Want to come back to my place?" Without a second thought, Lian nodded in agreement. "Okay." Meanwhile, Sheng Tianli shamelessly blocked their path and questioned coldly, "Don't be ridiculous. What's your relationship with her that you're inviting her to your place?" Facing the question, he answered simply and directly, "Husband and wife." Just then, Xingye suddenly spoke. "Yin Yin, will you marry me?" Seeing this, Sheng Tianli said suspiciously, "You're not really going to agree to him, are you? He definitely has ulterior motives." On the other side, Lian hesitated. "Ji Xingye?" He looked directly into her eyes, his voice soft but firm. "Don't be so quick to refuse." Xingye shot him a cold glance, while reminding her, "You can think about it carefully. There are many benefits to marrying me." That afternoon, the sky gradually darkened. The boat began to head out to sea. Junzi hurried forward. "Boss, you're back." He looked at his leg with concern. "Your leg." Xingye quickly reassured him. "It's just a minor injury." Before leaving, he reminded her again, "I'm going back to treat my wound. You think about it carefully. You can come find me anytime." Sheng Tianli immediately came closer. "How about coming back to my place?" Lian lowered her head, a trace of determination flashing her eyes. "No, I still have things to do." She stared ahead, guessing to herself, maybe my amnesia is related to the Sifong seal. Immediately, Lian made up her mind. It's not safe to keep it on me. I must find a place to hide it. In the moonlit mansion, meanwhile, Lian looked up and out. After a while, she slowly walked out of the portico, Lian moving cautiously step by step. She stared at the Sifong seal. The shadow under the light is not easy to spot. Hiding it near Ji Xingye might be safer. Suddenly, Lian turned around, her gaze still following the sound of movement. Is Ji Xingye back? Seeing this, she walked towards the door without hesitation. At the same time, Xingye and Junzi opened the door and came in. He immediately became highly alert. Someone has been here. Hearing this, Junzi quickly turned on the lights and looked around carefully. Junzi's gaze stopped in front of the cabinet, and he immediately pointed his gun straight ahead. "Come out." After a moment of silence, the door slowly opened. Junzi frowned, his face clearly tense, and in an instant, his face turned red. Lian walked out calmly. "I wanted to borrow the bathroom." Seeing this, Xingye immediately ordered, "Get out." Junzi hesitated for a moment, took a step back. "Yes." Then, he slammed the wooden door opposite shut. Xingye took a deep breath. Watching her, his voice serious. "Lian, what on earth are you trying to do?" Below, her legs were tightly intertwined. At that moment, Xingye moved closer and questioned coldly, "Tell me the truth." Finally, Xingye showed a pleading expression. "Promise me. Come again next week." Suddenly, Xingye said sternly but without threat, "Tell me the truth." Just then, Lian suddenly moved her hand to the back of his neck. She wrapped her arms around Xingye's neck, tilting her head to look at him. What does my being here mean? Do you really not understand? Then Lian whispered in his ear, what I said during the day, I agree. Hearing this, Xingye asked in confusion, you agree to marry me? Lian nodded again, as if confirming his wild thought. She rested her head on Xingye's shoulder, the corners of her mouth turning up. Although I know from my recovered memories that Jiyu Xingye is trustworthy, I trust myself more than him. Lian didn't forget to remind herself, before I figure out why I hid the Sifang seal in the past, I can't reveal it to Jiyu Xingye. Meanwhile, Xingye was full of suspicion. What is she deliberately hiding from me? But he then smiled faintly. But it's okay. I'll figure it out later. As long as you're willing to marry me is enough. At this moment, Xingye picked Lian up and placed her on the washstand. He moved closer to her, their breaths mingling. Lian's cheeks were already flushed. She hesitated. Wait. Under Xingye's confused gaze, she continued, I have one condition. His expression immediately tensed. Say it. After a moment's hesitation, Lian said, I want to have a grand engagement ceremony. She looked at Xingye thoughtfully, calculating to herself, I need an occasion where I can meet many people I know and remember more things. Xingye nodded without hesitation. Of course, you deserve the most perfect ceremony. Lian urged, then why aren't you going to prepare? He looked embarrassed. Now? She emphasized sternly, right now. Meanwhile, Juanze almost shouted, what? You gonna marry that Yiksha-like woman? Xingye reminded him sternly. Juanze, watch your words. Juanze's voice was both confused and angry. Boss, even if you don't mind that she stabbed you, what about the past? Have you forgotten how your uncle died? He thought for a moment and replied softly, my uncle's death, perhaps there's more to it. He continued to reveal, the Sifang seal is on her, and there's an eyewitness who identified her. Who else could it be? Xingye urged nonchalantly. In any case, I need an engagement ceremony. Get it done as soon as possible. Faced with his determined look, Juanze reluctantly agreed. Understood. The scene changes to night. The entire building is brightly lit. In Song Luo's house, the sound of the TV could be heard continuously. Such a cute bunny. How can you eat a bunny? She struck a satisfied pose. Not bad. This line is good. I could try using it to trick that idiot Juanze next time. At the same time, that idiot Juanze called. Song Luo leisurely picked up the phone. Hello? It's so late? Why is Brotherhood calling little me? She asked in confusion. What? How to organize an engagement party. For whom? Juanze answered simply, my boss. Song Luo repeated softly, my boss. Snack crumbs immediately fell to the floor. Song Luo frowned and asked again, your boss? Juanze asked in surprise. Yeah, my boss and his amnesiac girlfriend. What's wrong? She explained hesitantly, it's nothing, just a little surprised, so it's not you. Seeing this, he became a little embarrassed. The two of us, if you want. Song Luo turned to Juanze, her eyes shining with a determined light. I'll do it. Leave my boss's engagement party to me, from the outfits to the venue. I guarantee it will be perfect. Without a thought, Juanze nodded. Okay, then the two of us, faced with the suddenly disconnected call. He felt a little dejected. In the darkness, Song Luo roared in anger. That bastard, taking advantage of my boss's amnesia to trick her into marriage. You just wait. The scene changes to the next morning. Lian was wearing a bright red dress. Just then, a female employee said cautiously, I brought another dress. You could try it on. The two strangers suddenly glared at each other. Lian quickly grabbed her. You're not an employee here. Speak. What's your purpose in approaching me? Song Luo smiled, her eyes sharp, worthy of being the boss. Your guard is still high even with amnesia. I'm here to take you away. You absolutely cannot marry Jiyu Xingye. You have a blood feud with him. Just then, the door suddenly opened. Xingye walked in from outside, his voice gentle. Yin, are you done trying on the dress? However, her figure was not in the room. Song Luo added seriously, our people are waiting outside. Boss, let's fight our way out. Hearing this, Lian was filled with worry. Should I believe her words, or hand her over to Jiyu Xingye? Hearing a sound, Xingye called out, Yin. He looked warily at the dressing room. Then, Xingye's hand moved down to his gun. He took a step closer. What happened? Xingye reached out, seeming to want to pull open the curtain. His expression changed in an instant, his arms stopping in midair. Immediately after, Lian suddenly appeared. She was smiling brightly. I'm fine. It's just that the dress isn't tied yet. Seeing this, Xingye was stunned for a moment. After a moment of silence, he broke the tense atmosphere. Come out. I'll help you tie it. Lian immediately agreed. Okay. Suddenly, she leaned into Xingye's arms. What's their tie? This dress is too revealing. He quickly wanted to touch Lian's back. At this moment, Xingye casually suggested, it's normal, no need to try it on anymore, just take it off. He took a step closer, wanting to help you take it off. Meanwhile, Song Luo was going crazy. That lecherous scum only knows how to think with his lower body. How dare he defile my boss? She roared in her heart, no, I can't stand it. I'm going out to deal with him. Immediately after, Song Luo came right out. Witnessing that scene, Li Yan's expression changed. She reacted quickly, rushing forward. At that moment, Li Yan's lips lightly touched Xingye's lips. Over here, Song Luo jumped up, a look of disgust on her face. Li Yan waved her hand, as if signaling. She shyly retreated back into the room. At this moment, Xingye looked up ahead. What was that sound? Li Yan grabbed his tie and pulled. What other sound could it be? Of course it's the sound of you kissing me. Then she started to complain. Look at you. You've wrinkled my dress. What should I do? Xingye comforted her. Buy it. Wear it at home in the future, only for me to see. A knock came from outside. Boss, Misting is here, clamoring to see you. Seeing this, he ordered bluntly. Not seeing her, send her away. Li Yan suddenly spoke up beside him. Let's see her. I really want to know what she's here for. She calculated to herself. Get Jiyu Xingye out of the way, giving Song Luo a chance to escape. Li Yan looked very anxious. Hurry, help me tie my dress. Let's go see. He suddenly moved close, whispering in Li Yan's ear, no, let her wait. Meanwhile, Lu Ying shouted angrily, have you delivered the message? Why isn't Brother Xingye here yet? After a good while, he walked in with a cold face. As soon as she saw Xingye, Lu Ying beamed. Brother Xingye. Her voice trembled with nervousness. Looking at the approaching figure, you're finally out. I heard you go to marry Li, and immediately after, Lu Ying questioned loudly, have you forgotten that she killed your uncle? Suddenly, the sound of high heels clicking on the floor rang out. Lu Ying's voice echoed in Li Yan's ear. How can you marry your enemy? A voice suddenly rang out. I heard you're going to marry Li Yan. Have you forgotten that she killed your uncle? All these words fell into Li Yan's ears. Her expression horrified. A thought flashed through her mind. I killed Jiyu, Xingye's uncle? The person who adopted me. Did I really do such a thing? She looked at her own hands, as if they were stained with blood, her gaze gradually dimming. Everything Song Luo said is true. We have an irreconcilable blood feud. While she was still lost in thought, a voice suddenly rang in her head. Yin Yin, Yin Yin. Back in reality, she was now running away in a hurry. Xingye's voice coming from behind her. Li Yan, stop running. She stopped in her tracks. Turning her head to glare at him, she said in a deep voice, someone identified me as your uncle's killer, and the Sifong seal is in my hands. If I don't run, should I wait to be cut into 1,000 pieces? Get out of my way. At this time, her pursuers were also getting closer, their voices echoing around. Is she over there? No, we must kill Li Yan and take back the Sifong seal. Seeing this, she immediately bent down, grabbed a nearby iron rod, and said, did you hear that? What will happen to me if I go back? He gently grabbed her guarded arm and said softly, Yin Yin, please believe me. Come with me. I will protect you. I will definitely find out the truth and clear your name. She stared at him, a hint of coldness in her eyes. Don't come any closer. I don't need your help. Looking at her cold gaze, his expression gradually dimmed, and he said sadly, if you leave now, it's tantamount to admitting to the crime of killing my uncle. If you didn't do it, you should stay and face it with me. Seeing that she couldn't be reasoned with, she said sternly, I've already said it. Get out of my way. Whoever blocks my path will die. As she spoke, she raised the iron rod in her hand and continued, Jiyu Xingye. You're no exception. A bloody scene appeared, and she suddenly woke up, shouting anxiously, Xingye. At this moment, he was sitting right beside her. Seeing her so flustered, he quickly held her tightly and said softly, I'm here. It's okay. It was just a nightmare. Here, drink some calming medicine. Looking at his concerned expression, she thought to herself, I remember Jiyu Xingye used to be full of vigilance and suspicion towards me. If I am the enemy who killed his uncle, then his previous complicated attitude would be understandable. But what about now? Is the tenderness he's showing now from the heart, or does he have ulterior motives? Lost in thought, at this moment, she couldn't understand his every move. Seeing her staring at him, he couldn't help but ask, why are you looking at me like that? Hearing this, she quickly snapped back to reality and said, I see you're not feeding me like you did last time. At the same time, she was still thinking, I can't let my guard down until I figure out Jiyu Xingye's motives. Noticing something was off with her, he immediately moved closer, wrapping his arms around her, and asked warmly, are you complaining that I was too rough last time? Or are you hoping I'll be gentler this time? Something's not right. After hearing what Ding Luing said, don't you have anything you want to ask me? Faced with his suspicion, she gently hugged him tighter and said softly, I know Ding Luing wants to drive a wedge between us. Why would I believe her words? He gently stroked her hair and said, don't believe anyone. She replied, I know. As she spoke, she turned her face to an angle only she could see and smiled to herself. I only trust myself. I will slowly find out about the past. Clearly, the scene changes. In a certain building, a voice is heard. The four major chambers of commerce are the Vermilion Bird, the Azure Dragon, the Qilin, and the Black Tortoise. The leader through the generations is the Black Tortoise Chairman, who commands the chambers. So the Black Tortoise is also known as the main chamber of commerce. Song Luo pointed at a whiteboard and said, Jiyu Xingye's uncle, who was the leader at the time, was suddenly killed 2 years ago. The Sifong seal went missing, and the vice chairman of the Black Tortoise Chamber of Commerce, Ding Yuan, took over as the leader. During the investigation into the leader's death, someone claimed to be an eyewitness and identified you, the new head of the Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce, as the one who did it for power. Lian listened and asked, so the Sifong seal just happened to be in my possession, and I was convicted just like that? She replied, yes. The Sifong seal cannot be leaked. You were secretly hunted by the high-level members of the chamber for a period of time, after which you recruited a group of brothers and sisters, fought your way back, and took over the Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce again. Hearing this, she rested her chin on one hand and said thoughtfully, I must have proposed some conditions or persuaded them to maintain a superficial peace. As she spoke, she looked at Song Luo and ordered, Song Luo, help me investigate the eyewitness who identified me and the details about the leader's death. She was startled, Bo. Boss has given instructions about this before. Hearing this, she thought to herself, it seems the leader's death really is related to me. Thinking about her connection to the matter, her face darkened and she asked then, who could the murderer be? The scene changes. In a certain room, Xingye and Ding Yuan are sitting opposite each other. He asked, a few days ago on the island, I ran into a group of pursuers. They were Uncle's men, right? Did Uncle want to get rid of me to take over the Azure Dragon gang? He smiled calmly and replied, of course not. Why would you think that? Your uncle and I were brothers who went through life and death together. You and little Luing are both my family. How could I harm my family? But Lian is the murderer of the former leader. Harboring her is equivalent to opposing the Chamber of Commerce. Even if you were my family, I will never give in. At this moment, a gun was suddenly pressed against the back of his head, and a voice rang out. Boss G knows what to do, right? Lian showed a cruel smile. Don't make things difficult for Mr. Ding. Ding Yuan then said, do you want to be my family, or do you want to betray me and make an enemy of the entire Chamber of Commerce? The scene changes. Time returns to tonight. Lian slowly pushed open the door and walked into the room. Suddenly something pulled her back. She was now standing in front of Xingye. She asked, Xingye, why aren't the lights on? He asked curiously, I came back and found you weren't home. Where did you go? She replied with an innocent look on her face, I didn't finish trying on the engagement dress last time, so I want to try on a few more sets. I've already chosen one. Hearing this, he didn't ask any more questions, just instructed with concern, don't go out for the next few days. Hearing this, she frowned slightly, crossed her arms and asked, you want to imprison me again? He didn't know how to explain and could only answer vaguely. No, he just doesn't want any accidents to happen before the engagement day. Realizing he was hiding something, she asked with a serious expression, did something happen? As she asked this question, a figure suddenly appeared outside the door. He stared at the person, lost in thought, then said softly, it's nothing. I'm just afraid my fiancé will suddenly have a change of heart and not want to marry me. Rather than that, he grabbed her waist and pulled her closer, causing her hat to fall to the ground. He said in a seductive tone, how about I tire you out so you can't leave the house? She hugged him tightly, stuttering shyly. Don't bite, be gentle. At this moment, the figure also quietly left, as if having learned the information he needed. She glanced behind her and said softly, he's gone. Let me go. What on earth happened? Can you tell me? He gently stroked her hair and asked, you've recovered some memories recently, right? Can you remember the Sifong seal? Hearing the question from his lips, she couldn't help but be stunned. The scene changes in a certain villa. In a room, a box is opened, and Lian carefully places the Sifong seal inside the box. Then she quietly and slowly walked out of the room. Suddenly, a knife flashed from above her head and stabbed straight into the door behind her, startling her. A sudden round of applause broke out. Shang Tianli sat leisurely in his chair and said mockingly, "Your reaction is the same as always. It seems Ji Yuheng hasn't raised you to be useless after all." She watched him with a wary gaze and asked, "Shang Tianli, what are you doing here?" He stood up, walked slowly towards her, and said, "To give you a heads up, tomorrow is your engagement party. Don't you want to know where your fiancé went and what he did today?" As he spoke, he pressed the recording pen in his hand. Ding Yuan's voice came from the recording. "But Li Yin is the murderer of the former leader. Taking her in is equivalent to opposing the Chamber of Commerce. Even if you're my family, I will never compromise. Are you going to be my family, or are you going to betray me for her and oppose the entire Chamber of Commerce?" After he finished speaking, Ji Yuheng chuckled and said, "Uncle Ding, you're overthinking it. Of course, I wouldn't betray the Chamber of Commerce for a woman. My engagement to Li Yin is just to find the whereabouts of the square seal. You've worried too much." Looking at his expression, he fell into thought, then said with a still cold face, "In that case, change the engagement partner to my daughter, Ding Luiying. I believe you can find the whereabouts of the square seal just the same. Before you get engaged to Li Yin, get rid of her first." He didn't seem to object to his decision. "I took in Li Yin only to gain her trust and get the square seal. I have no objection to Uncle Ding's arrangement, but I have one condition." As he spoke, he snatched the gun from Liao Ming's hand. Seeing the gun in his hand, he was stunned, but he paid it no mind and continued, "I can get engaged to Ding Luiying, but you must give me the Liao family's Qilin Chamber of Commerce." He pointed the gun at him and said calmly, "In any case, compared to this dog, your son-in-law is more reassuring. Isn't he, father-in-law?" Hearing this, he readily agreed, "Fine. As long as you marry Luiying, the Qilin Chamber of Commerce is yours." After the recording ended, he asked her, "Did you hear that? Guess where Ji Yuheng is right now? He's at the restaurant you chose, preparing the party you were looking forward to, getting engaged to Ding Luiying. Perhaps Ding Luiying is even wearing the same gown you once wore." Hearing this, she slowly walked out. Seeing this, he couldn't help but be curious. Where are you going? Are you planning to kill that wretched couple?" "Yin Yin, I'll help you." Just then, the door to the room was suddenly thrown open. A loaded gun was aimed at the two of them. Juanza looked at them and said sternly, "The boss has given an order. You are not to take a single step out of here." Hearing him say this, she froze for a moment. Ignoring her expression, he continued, "Miss Li, please go back." Li Yin couldn't help but ask curiously, "Who are you? How did you get in?" Shang Tianli, witnessing their conversation, was curious. "Yin Yin, you have a bodyguard?" She replied coldly, "Yes." "So it's all true. I'm in prison again." "Ji Yuheng, you lied to me." Scene change. In a wedding hall, a pastor is reading blessings and declarations. "Today, we are gathered here to witness the wedding of Mr. Ji Yuheng and Miss Ding Luiying. May the new couple exchange rings. Ji Yuheng, are you willing to take Miss Ding as your wife, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to be faithful to her, forsaking all others? Do you?" In the wedding hall, his expression showed no trace of hesitation as he answered, "I do." Before the words had even faded, a bullet flew from nowhere, piercing the pastor officiating the ceremony. Liao Ming suddenly appeared in the wedding hall, pointing his gun at the crowd and threatening, "Nobody move. I have this place surrounded." Ji Yuheng turned to look at him and said in surprise, "Boss Liao." He aimed the gun at him, his expression sinister. "Ji Yuheng, if you want to snatch my Qilin Chamber of Commerce, you'll have to live to take it." Scene change. A gunshot shattered a potted plant. Juanza continued to point his gun at the two of them, threatening, "The gunshot will attract people soon. I advise you two not to make any rash moves." Facing his threat, Li Yin smiled calmly. "Juanza, it seems the people you brought with you aren't your subordinates." After she spoke, another voice rang out, "Put the gun down." Hearing this voice, he froze. He slowly turned around to look at the person behind him, unable to hide the surprise in his eyes. Looking at the girl before him, he was stunned. "Song Ro, why is it you?" Shang Tianli, taking advantage of his distraction, suddenly appeared behind him and knocked him unconscious with a chop to the back of his neck. He fell to the ground, unconscious. Song Ro, reacting at that moment, looked at the fallen Juanza and couldn't help but call his name worriedly, "Juanza." Seeing her worried expression, Shang Tianli said, "Don't be nervous, little sister. I just knocked him out. What, does your heart ache for him?" Hearing him say this, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Li Yin observed her every expression and looked seriously in her eyes, saying, Song-ro, are you and Hui Junzi really together? Shang Tianli asked, what's next? Li Yin frowned slightly and said, I need to go somewhere. Seeing her expression, both of them asked curiously at the same time, where? Her expression gradually turned fierce as she said, to congratulate Ji Yuheng on his engagement party, of course. It's time for this good show to come to an end. Getting her answer, Song-ro, now holding Hui Junzi, said softly, understood. Boss, you go first. I'll be right behind you. Scene change. Wedding hall. A voice was heard. I heard an antique exploded and injured quite a few people. How scary. Shang Tianli, with his arms crossed, looked at the cordoned-off wedding hall and continued. Quite a few people were injured. It seems someone crashed the engagement party before you did. At this moment, a flash of worry crossed her eyes, and she said, let's go in and see. Inside the wedding hall, Ding Yuan said awkwardly to Ji Yuheng, that Liao Ming has gone crazy. This must have been difficult for you. He replied softly, Just then, a voice rang out, Ji Yuheng. Watching her approach him with a sharp expression, he was somewhat surprised. Li Yin, just as she got close to him, she slapped him hard across the face. Seeing this, Ding Luing quickly stepped in front of him, glaring at her and shouting, Hey, what are you doing? Ignoring her, she frowned at him and said angrily, Ji Yuheng, you dare to hide behind a woman and not say a single word to me? Faced with her questioning, he was silent for a moment, then looked at her with a playful gaze. You've already seen everything, haven't you? What else is there for me to say? Luing also stepped forward to chime in. Ji Yuheng is my fiancé now. He has nothing to do with you. You have no right to accuse him. I'm asking you to leave my engagement party. She looked into her eyes and chuckled lightly. You, your fiancé, and your engagement party all belonged to me just a few hours ago. As your senior, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't trust this man too much. He'll do anything to achieve his goals. He will never truly love you. Hearing this, Ding Luing was so angry she stepped forward and raised her hand to strike her. How dare you curse me? But her arm was easily caught by Li Yin. She looked in her eyes and said contemptuously, What? You want to hit me? At this moment, Ding Yuan also approached the two. He looked at Li Yin and said, What are you being so arrogant for? Seeing the situation escalating, Ji Yuheng also stepped forward to speak. Uncle Ding, today is not a good day for a fight. Let them go. Seeing him step forward, she looked at him with an icy gaze and said, I never let anyone who dares to deceive me get away, but not today. Today is just a warning. Faced with her anger, he just stood there silently, not saying a word. Just then, a subordinate walked up to Ding Yuan and said softly, The men we sent after Liao Ming are back. They didn't catch him. Hearing this, he wasn't angry and said, He's the boss of the Qilin Chamber of Commerce. After all, he's not that easy to catch. But he's also too stupid, getting provoked by Ji Yuheng just like that. Then, he looked in the direction Ji Yuheng had left and said, Another useful pawn lost. Ji Yuheng has really impressed me these past few years, demanding the Qilin Chamber of Commerce, inciting Liao Ming to attack, causing the engagement party to be suspended. Every step has been in defiance of my arrangements. When did that indecisive good-for-nothing turn into a wolf? It's a pity that even if you're more unruly than Li Yin, you can't escape the hunter's gun. Then, he and his guards also left. He had just stepped out the door when a voice stopped him, Uncle Ding. He turned to look at the person who called him and asked, Li Yin, you haven't left yet? Li Yin was standing in a corner, smiling at him. She said, I was waiting for you. Uncle Ding, you've been chasing me for so long. Isn't it because you want the square seal? How about we cooperate? He looked at her and asked, Cooperate. She continued, I want to crush Ji Yuheng under my heel. After that, I will present the square seal to you with both hands. He stood there silently listening to her words. After a moment of thought, he decided to ask directly, How do you want me to help you? He watched her silently, then suddenly burst out laughing. His expression immediately turned cold as he said, Perhaps I wanted the square seal badly before, but now my position as leader is quite stable. It doesn't matter whether I have the square seal or not. To me, it's more important to eliminate a dangerous person like you. Facing his threat, she just stood there observing silently, then said mysteriously, Since Uncle Ding took over as leader, your relationship with the political world has become increasingly tense. Have you ever wondered where the problem lies? He asked, What are you trying to say? She smiled confidently and said, The square seal is very important to the Chamber of Commerce, and not just as a symbol of the leader's status, of course. He stood there quietly, waiting silently for her to continue. She approached him and said softly, "Its holder also controls a secret line to manipulate political secrets." Scene change a few days ago, in a room. Ji Yuheng asked her, "You've recovered some of your memories recently, right? Can you remember anything about the square seal? Whether you can remember or not, I need you to remember what I'm about to say. I need you to say this to him, to Ding Yuan, the leader of the Four Direction Chamber of Commerce. When he took over the Chamber of Commerce before, he needed the square seal to prove his status. The square seal was his lifeline. But now he's always trying to deal with you, which means he no longer cares about having it. You must make him continue to need you." Recalling this, she became more confident and asked, "So, do you want to cooperate now?" Being a leader, after all, he didn't believe her immediately. He said, "Words are cheap. How do I know you're not lying to me? However, I happen to have a troublesome problem that requires a high-level connection to solve. Prove what you said." Scene change. Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce. Song Ro walked into the room holding a piece of paper and said, "This is what the boss asked me to investigate." She walked over and placed the paper on the table. Looking at the paper on the table, Li Yin thought to herself, "So this is what's giving Ding Yuan a headache." Just then, a guard's voice suddenly rang out, startling them both. "You can't go in. Hey, stop, stop." Looking at the person striding in, she was taken aback. "Ji Yuheng, you still dare to come here?" The guard looked at her apologetically and said, "Sorry, boss. I really couldn't stop him." She didn't blame them, saying, "You may leave." Under everyone's gaze, Ji Yuheng looked directly in her eyes and asked, "Can we talk?" At the same time, Hu Juanza also looked in Song Ro's direction and asked earnestly, "Can you talk with me?" At this point, only Ji Yuheng and Li Yin were left in the room. He said in a serious tone, "Yin Yin, the only person I love is you. Can you forgive me?" Faced with this confession, she frowned in anger and said, "Ji Yuheng, you only make me despise you more. We're over." Just then, someone outside the door was eavesdropping on their conversation. Ji Yuheng was seen replying sadly, "Fine, I understand." Then that person also left quietly. She looked towards the door and was silent for a moment. Then she looked at him and said, "This way, we can truly make Ding Yuan believe that we've completely broken up." Ji Yuheng, looking in the direction the person had left, smiled happily. "Ding Yuan is very suspicious. If we had avoided each other after last time, he would have thought we were putting on an act. But me coming to bother you will instead confirm that we've broken up. Most importantly, we can find out just how many of his spies are hidden in your Vermilion Bird Chamber of Commerce and my Azure Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Now that he's received news of my presence here, he'll definitely be worried. To prevent us from cooperating again, he will spare no effort to drive a wedge between us." She looked him straight in the eye without hesitation and said with a brilliant smile, "What, are you scared?" He looked at her with a gentle gaze and said, "Of course I'm scared. I'm scared of losing my wife." She looked at him, her thoughts unreadable. Then she moved closer, her expression serious. "Ji Yuheng, Ding Luiying said I was the one who killed your uncle. Do you really not hate me at all?" He gazed in her eyes, then slowly replied, "I used to hate you, but now I know you're not the killer." She was very surprised and quickly asked, "Then who could it be?" No sooner had she spoken than a sudden knock on the door made them both freeze and look towards the entrance. She quickly warned him, "It must be another one of Ding Yuan's spies. He wants to rush you out of here. Go quickly. Staying here will cause trouble." He didn't say much more. "Then I'm leaving. Be careful cooperating with Ding Yuan." She replied, "I know." Then the two continued their act. She pushed him angrily, shouting, "Get out!" He fell to the ground, propping himself up with his hands, lost in thought, then slowly raised his head to look at the newcomer. Shang Tianli met his gaze, but paid him no mind. Greeting Li Yin, "Hi, Yin Yin." Li Yin asked in surprise, "Why is it you?" Shang Tianli approached mockingly and replied, "Why can't it be me?" A tall figure suddenly stood beside him, and Shang Tianli couldn't help but turn his head uncomfortably to look at him. "Why is he here too?" Ji Yuheng replied coldly, "What's it to you?" She was lost in thought, a flicker of doubt crossing her mind. Shang Tianli. It's too much of a coincidence that he always shows up. Her eyes were fixed on Shang Tianli's face. Thinking hard, the fact that Shang Tianli could get a recording of Ji Yuheng and Ding Yuan is also very suspicious. He turned and shouted at Ji Yuheng, Hey, you have a fiancé, yet you're still clinging to Yin Yin. Don't you think that's despicable? He returned the sentiment with the same cold expression. What's it to you? Are you even qualified to say that to me? Li Yin stepped forward to interrupt, quickly covering both their mouths. Enough. She turned and said coldly to Ji Yuheng. Ji Yuheng, we've already made things clear. Please leave. He had no choice but to go along with her words and left silently, but his gaze still lingered. The room returned to its original dimness. Li Yin leaned back in her chair and questioned Shang Tianli. You heard Ji Yuheng was here, so you came on purpose? Your information is too good. He seized the opportunity, leaning close to her face, and threatened with a sly look. That's right. Someone here reports to me, Yin Yin. So don't you dare curse me in secret. Hey, I can hear everything. He sneered. Maybe one day when I'm not happy, I'll come here and kill you. Her eyes sharpened, and she cut him off decisively. Shang Tianli, it's not yet certain who will kill whom. If there's nothing else, leave. Suddenly, he did a complete 180 and changed the subject. The medicine you asked me to make before is finished. It can be sent to Place H. She paused for a moment, then replied lazily, I'll deal with it when I have time. Then, Li Yin turned to ask Shang Tianli, isn't there a time limit? Aren't you afraid of being punished for late delivery? He raised an eyebrow, looking at her in surprise. Li Yin, this is very unlike you. Shang Tianli's expression darkened, his eyes turning a deep red, filled with killing intent. You know that, and you still dare to rush me? Who's the one dragging their feet? She didn't show any weakness, returning his gaze with a sharp look of her own. Li Yin instantly managed to get right in front of Shang Tianli and said coldly, the matter with Ji Yuheng is already annoying me enough, so you'd better shut up. After speaking, she showed him the door, slamming it shut with a decisive bang. On the other side of the door, Shang Tianli broke out in a cold sweat. That scared me to death. I thought I was going to go deaf. A woman suffering from a broken heart is truly terrifying. As for Li Yin, she immediately planned her next move. I'll just brush him off for now, but he said there's a penalty for late delivery. I must investigate this matter as soon as possible. The tap, tap sound of shoes hitting the floor created a loud noise in the room. The door was opened again, and unexpectedly, the person who appeared this time was Hua Juanze. His expression was slightly surprised when their eyes met. The next second, he ignored Li Yan's presence and walked straight out. Her gaze immediately met the person in the room. Song Ro was quietly crying by herself when she suddenly heard Li Yan's voice. Crying? She was instantly startled by instinct. She turned her head in the direction of the voice. Opposite her, Li Yin was looking at her with sharp eyes. She said in a panic, Boss. Boss. Li Yin walked in without any hesitation and pressed on. I said Hua Juanze was crying. Did you two have a fight, or are you thinking of breaking up? Song Ro shouted, both embarrassed and angry. Who's breaking up with him? We were never in love in the first place. I only got close to him to save you, boss. Now that the goal is achieved, there's no need to keep him around. She still replied calmly, Song Ro, no matter what your relationship is, you should seriously ask yourself and understand your own feelings. I hope there will be no regrets. A flicker of hesitation suddenly crossed her face, but we're not from the same world. When you saved me before, boss, you said not to believe a man will change his stance. For her, hearing these words made Li Yin stop at her tracks. She couldn't help but recall that shrewd figure from that day. Don't believe a man will change his stance for you. Don't count on men. Only you yourself are the most reliable. The former Li Yin had said coolly and decisively, you and Ji Yuheng planned to deceive Ding Yuan, but not only did he move up the wedding date before the plan, he also had Hua Juanze stop you and restrict your freedom. She gradually stepped forward, crowding Li Yan's thoughts. He has deceived you again and again. Why do you still believe him? Li Yan, you like him, don't you? A call luckily woke her from her trance, boss. Song Ro hurried forward to ask, what's wrong with you? Li Yan shook her head, stopping herself from thinking about that image any further. She suddenly remembered something she needed to say, and her expression immediately turned serious. It's nothing. By the way, I need to talk to you about something. Do you know about Place H? Li Yan turned to ask Song Ro. She was slightly taken aback, but still honestly reported what she knew. That underground auction house you asked me to investigate, boss. I just brought you the file today, but I happened to drop some things and forgot to give them to you. Li Yan's gaze fell in a deep thought, a thought flashing through her mind. Oh, what a coincidence. My pharmaceutical partner is related to the problem Ding Yuan asked me to help solve. Song Ro quickly took out a letter. This is their admission invitation. Li Yin took the letter, read it carefully, then turned to ask Song Ro, do you know about my pharmaceutical cooperation? She answered honestly, not very clearly. The boss usually contacts that side alone. After reading the entire letter, a thought quickly emerged. It seems that no matter what, I have to go to place H and take a look. Unexpectedly, when she opened the note, there was only a string of numbers on it, just a phone number. Scene change, a public phone booth. A beep, beep sound kept ringing. Lian looked on in disappointment. No one's picking up. Looking out through the glass door, a black luxury car had parked outside at some point. Lian's gaze carefully examined the mysterious car. From the car, two young men in black quietly got out. They handed her a luxurious black box and then said coldly, "Please." Her eyes were sharp, carefully scrutinizing them, not missing any unusual expression. In the box was a cute but dangerous black rabbit eye mask. Lian vaguely realized something. The phone call was just a doorbell, and the person had arrived so quickly. The night sky was still so beautiful, with twinkling lights illuminating the entire city. The car stopped in front of a luxurious hotel. She was led blindfolded, followed by two bodyguards in black. "You can take off the blindfold now. Welcome home." Lian just asked coldly. "Home?" She slowly pulled down the blindfold, and a huge banquet hall gradually appeared before her eyes. It was said to be an auction house, but why did it look like a hotel? The three of them went up to the second floor, where the magnificent chandelier was not lit. After walking for a while, they stopped in front of a large door. One of the two guards reminded her, "The boss is inside. Come in." As soon as the voice fell, the large door was immediately opened. Li Yan's eyes widened in surprise, her pupils constricting, seemingly unable to imagine the scene unfolding before her. A decadent atmosphere filled the entire room. Everywhere she looked, she saw the naked bodies of people freely intertwined. In the middle stood the conspicuous figure of a girl. She was the mastermind behind H, Jiang Huang. She calmly smoked the cigar in her hand. "After I've received my guests, I'll continue to teach you a lesson." As soon as she finished speaking, a male companion was immediately dragged out. He begged in agony, "Lian, save me. Get me out of here." His eyes were like a pitiful little white rabbit, constantly pleading with her, "Please, save me." Lian's gaze couldn't help but notice his body. Jiang Huang slowly spoke. "Too noisy. How can my pet talk to another woman? Idiot, drag him down and feed him to the dogs." As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room immediately dropped below freezing. He cried and begged for mercy incessantly. "I was wrong. Please let me stay. I was wrong." Lian couldn't bear to see this scene and subconsciously spoke up to stop it. "Wait." Before she could finish, Jiang Huang said in a mocking tone, "Oh, your heart aches for him? You didn't actually believe it, did you? I was just scaring him. In this harmonious society, what dogs are there to feed? But he used to be a guest here too. Breaking his two legs should teach him a lesson." Lian suddenly fell silent. He was a guest? The response she received was still that same nonchalant expression. "Yes, a businessman like you. I gave him the money, but he couldn't deliver the goods. Like you, Lian, you certainly wouldn't make this kind of mistake. Swear allegiance and become my pet, right?" As soon as she finished speaking, Lian's brow furrowed uncomfortably. A male technician who wasn't afraid of death immediately brought her a glass of red wine. He said respectfully, "Try this wine. See if it's still the taste you used to like." She warily took the wine glass. "Thank you. The medicine you asked me to prepare is ready. When would you like to pick it up?" Jiang Huang thought for a moment. The next second, she moved closer to Lian and said flirtatiously, "No rush, have a glass of wine. We can sit down and talk slowly." She raised the wine glass in her hand, brought it to her nose to smell it, and a thought flashed through her mind. "This wine has a strange smell. It seems to have been drugged." Jiang Huang became more and more outrageous. She provoked Lian. "What? You don't dare to drink my wine?" The two looked at each other, testingly. The next second, Jiang Huang spoke first. She unreservedly blew the smoke from her cigarette directly into Lian's face. "Are you afraid I'll poison you?" As soon as she finished speaking, she collapsed, feeling weak all over. Suddenly, Jingyi appeared from nowhere, caught her, and asked with concern, "Lian?" She was a little dazed at this point, calling his name, Jingyi. Seeing her pass out, Jingyi turned to Jiang Huang, his expression cold as he questioned, "Jiang Huang, what did you do?" She looked at him uncomfortably and replied, "It's just a little aphrodisiac. What are you making a fuss about? There's no antidote. You deal with it yourself." Lian's consciousness was becoming increasingly blurred at this point, and she stammered, "Jingyi, it's so hot." Her body seemed a little strange. Scene change. In the bathroom of a certain hotel, the water in the bathtub gently sloshed. Leanne's eyes were closed, her face covered in beads of sweat. After a while, she slowly opened her eyes, her gaze still a bit hazy. Suddenly, her gaze sharpened, looking forward. Jingyi was standing in front of her, asking with concern, "Lian, are you okay?" She replied uncomfortably, "It's hot. My body is so hot." He looked at her with concern. "Still hot, even when soaking in cold water?" At this moment, she leaned back, sinking deeper into the bathtub, and said, "My body feels very uncomfortable." Looking at her current state, he frowned. "Not now. You're not clear-headed right now." She looked at him with an infatuated gaze and said, "But haven't you always wanted to have me? Don't you feel anything? Why are you running away? What are you afraid of? Afraid that I'll play with you, or afraid that I'll use you?" Seeing her like this, his gaze gradually softened. He grabbed her hand and pushed her down. His hands gripped the sides of the bathtub, pinning her. He brought his face close to hers and said softly, "But if you really want it, any time except this once. I just want to be sure, do you really want to do it with me, or is it just because of the drug's effect?" Before he could finish, she interrupted him irritably. "Coward." He was stunned. "What?" She looked him straight in the eye and said without reservation, "I said you're a coward." Still not daring to at a time like this. "What are you if not a coward?" He stammered, not knowing how to answer her. She continued to interrupt him. "Just what?" "Stop with the useless words. Are you a man or not?" After saying that, she did something that made him blush. Water splashed everywhere. At this moment, she was already facing away from him, and his body was pressing against hers. He fell silent, lowered his head, and whispered in her ear, "Lian, have I been too tolerant, too patient with you?" As he spoke, he gently caressed her chin with his hand, rested his head on her shoulder, and continued, "Is that why you've become so arrogant, challenging me again and again?" Seeing him like this, she mocked. "You were the one who said you wouldn't restrict my freedom, and you were also the one who had Huijunza watch me. Look at you, saying one thing and doing another. You were the one who said no, and you were the one who kissed me. You were the one who locked me up, and you're still the one who said you'd let me go but kept me here. What right do you have to make me bare myself, completely exposed before you, while you act high and mighty, deceiving me at every turn? You always use these small favors to bait me, then hide behind the truth and constantly test me. Do you hate me? What is that if not a coward? No wonder your uncle doesn't value you." Hearing this, he seemed to be provoked and pushed her down with his hands. Then he forcefully tore her clothes. At this moment, cracks had already begun to appear on her clothes. At this time, he also began to take off his own clothes, thinking, "Lian, you don't understand. You don't understand at all. You can't understand me now, but sooner or later, you will understand everything I've done." Scene change. The next morning, she was lying naked in bed, sleeping. Suddenly, she woke up. She turned to see him lying beside her. Looking at his current state, she began to talk to herself. "Jingyi, you're so guarded against me everywhere, yet now you sleep so defenselessly beside me. Why can't I see through you?" Suddenly, he spoke, "You keep staring at me like that. Do you want to go again?" The sudden voice startled her, and she sat up. "You're awake." He also sat up and looked at her, asking with a gentle gaze, "Was the experience not good?" She gently pulled the blanket up to cover her body and said playfully, "For someone like you, one night's experience is enough." Hearing this, he glared at her. "What?" Then she was suddenly pushed down onto the bed. He sat in front of her, looked at her, and said, "It seems I wasn't working hard enough last night to let you wake up so early." Seeing him so passionate, she couldn't help but blush and said, "There's no need to show off your stamina. The effects of my medicine have worn off." He grabbed her chin with his hand and said, feigning anger, "Use me and run. Lian, you're so pragmatic." Watching his face gradually get closer, she asked, "Who drugged me?" H's subordinate. He didn't answer her, instead asking, "What do you want to do?" She smiled smugly and replied, "She gave me a big gift. Of course I can't accept it for nothing." Knowing what she was about to do, he couldn't help but worry and care. "Do you know how dangerous this place is? You don't remember anything, yet you dare to provoke her. Unless you beg me, only then will I tell you how to deal with her." She sat up and looked at him, smiling confidently. "How do you want me to beg you? Beg you like this, or beg you like this?" Seeing her suddenly so proactive, he also blushed shyly and said, "Yin Yin." She leaned close to his ear and said slowly, word by word, "My love, will you tell me or not?" Scene change. In a certain room, a woman stood by the window, arranging the flower pots in front of her. She was the boss of the underground auction house, Madam H. At this moment, her mood seemed not very good, and she said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't I tell you not to provoke Li Yin?" At this time, Jiang Huang stood aside, respectfully holding something on a tray with both hands. She asked curiously, "I don't understand. Why are you so polite to Li Yin, a traitor who killed her adoptive father? I think, if you hadn't supported her pharmaceutical business, she might have been dealt with by Ding Liang's people long ago." Seeing that she wouldn't listen to advice, Madam H turned her face to look at her and reminded her sternly, "She is not as simple as you say. You made a move on her yesterday. With her temper, she will definitely not let it go easily." At this moment, a guard's voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. "Madam, there's trouble in the dungeon. Someone broke in." Looking at the guard who had just entered, Jiang Huang asked with a cold expression, "Who?" Faced with her coldness, the guard stammered, Li Yin." Scene change. In the dungeon, Jing Yi and Li Yin were walking leisurely. He asked her curiously, "You've already achieved your goal. What else are you looking for?" She replied, "To save one more person." At this time, the two had already walked to his cell. Looking at the person inside, she said, "It seems Jiang Huang cares about him a lot. Then I have all the more reason to save him." In that cell, a handsome-looking man was unconscious, his hands tied to his sides. Jiang Huang had also chased them here, her voice filled with dissatisfaction. "Taking without asking is stealing. You, Li Yin, aren't you going too far?" The two looked at the newcomer, his expression gradually turning serious. Madam H arrived at this time with Jiang Huang and two guards, saying coldly, "Even if Jiang Huang offended you yesterday, you can't take away what she likes." Facing her sharp gaze, she still replied calmly, "As for stealing, it's truly the pot calling the kettle black. He is here because of your schemes, isn't he?" Hearing this, Jiang Huang shouted angrily, "What nonsense are you spouting?" Li Yin ignored her, looked at Madam H, and continued, "Just like Ding Yuan's shipment of weapons at customs, you called your inside man to help deceive Ding Yuan at customs, trying to get the goods without any effort and claim them for yourself." Hearing her say this, Madam H suddenly laughed. She looked at her calmly and said, "What you've said is all just speculation." Facing her doubt, she still said very confidently, "If the goods were really seized by customs, it would have been all over the city by now. The fact that everything is calm now is because the information was fundamentally false. Moreover, I have already confirmed that the goods are in this dungeon. Ding Yuan is not as easy to deal with as I am. When he finds out tomorrow and spreads the news that your auction house has embezzled the goods, I'm afraid no one will dare to cooperate with you then. I have a way for you to get out of this matter reasonably and safely." Hearing her say this, Madam H's expression gradually became serious, and she hurriedly said to her, "Speak." Without making her wait too long, she continued, "First, you need to return that shipment of weapons to Ding Yuan." Suddenly, Jiang Huang interrupted her, looking at her with angry eyes, and said softly to Madam H, "Madam, you can't believe her. She is very likely Ding Yuan's accomplice, here to deceive us." She ignored Jiang Huang and continued confidently, "Coincidentally, when I just found that shipment of weapons, I discovered there was a pre-planted time bomb inside. You can choose not to believe it, but you won't get the goods either." Madam H looked at her, thought for a moment, and then asked, "What are your conditions?" Having achieved her goal, she smiled with satisfaction. "Very simple. I want him." As soon as he heard her state her condition, Jing Yi, who was standing aside, showed a jealous expression. He fell into deep thought. "Li Yin, are you really doing this for revenge on Jiang Huang? Or are you interested in him?" To her request, Madam H readily agreed. "Fine, take them and Jiang Huang out." Knowing that she had no say in this situation, she gritted her teeth in anger, thinking, "Li Yin, you just wait." Scene change. Behind a truck, two guards were loading things onto the vehicle. Next to them were Jing Yi and Li Yin, and opposite them was the young man she had just rescued. At this moment, the young man said, "Thank you for saving me." She replied softly, "It was just a small effort." Looking at her cold expression, he shyly introduced himself. "My name is Lin Bing. Can I follow you from now on? I used to sell a lot of raw stones to H. My judgment is quite good." Jing Yi, standing next to Li Yin, turned his face to the side and snorted coldly. He said with dissatisfaction, "To say what you want to say, why are you blushing?" After speaking, he proactively went behind him and helped push his wheelchair. Let's talk after we get out. I'll take you to the car. Watching the two leave, she stood there silently watching, without saying a word. Suddenly, a fragrance wafted by, causing her expression to change immediately, and she staggered a bit. She hurriedly knelt down, covering her nose with one hand to prevent herself from inhaling the fragrance. Even so, after a while, she still passed out. Helplessly, scene change in a certain room. She was sitting unconscious with her hands tied behind her back. Suddenly, she woke up and looked around warily. Jiang Huang was sitting on the sofa watching her. Li Yin was not surprised at all. It's you, as expected. Jiang Huang, you're too impatient. Her face darkened, her voice grim. Of course, my game can finally begin. How can I not be impatient? I'm looking forward to seeing you skinned and begging for mercy on your knees. Hearing this, Li Yin was also somewhat stunned by her cruelty. At this moment, she took out a whip from somewhere and looked at her angrily. She tightened her grip on the whip in her hand, then lashed out forcefully at Li Yin. However, just as the whip was about to hit her, she suddenly tilted her body slightly. Then she concentrated her strength in her feet and shot off to the side, causing the whip to hit the ground. Seeing her dodge her attack, she was a little annoyed. A miscalculation. I should have tied both of her legs. However, the more the little cat struggles to escape, the more it excites my desire to teach her a lesson. Li Yin ignored her and asked, "Where is Jingyi?" Seeing her still asking about him at a time like this, Jiang Huang found it somewhat amusing. You should worry about yourself. You dared to steal my toy, so you will take his place. Although she raised her whip before she could attack, Li Yin had already run behind a box. She continued to go around to the back to hit her, but she was dodged again. Watching her hide behind the box, Jiang Huang looked somewhat impressed. You're good at dodging. At this point, Li Yin could no longer remain calm, her face showing some nervousness as she asked, "This time it's because I wanted to take Lin Bing, but why did you drub me last time? You can't just bite people randomly like a mad dog, can you?" Hearing her question, she only replied with a cruel smile. "I just don't like you." "Who told you to cooperate with someone I hate?" she asked curiously. "Someone you hate? Who are you talking about?" She had no more patience, shouting as she whipped at her. Of course it's Shang Tianli. At this moment, Li Yin had her back to Jiang Huang, using her blind spot to gradually untie the ropes. She continued to whip towards her face. At this point, seeing that she had nowhere else to run, she laughed heartily. "Let's see where you can run now." But at this moment, the ropes binding Li Yin had already been untied by her. Jiang Huang was looking at her with a mocking gaze, continuing to swing the whip. But at this moment, as the whip was about to hit her, she still looked very calm. Then she easily caught the whip. Seeing Jiang Huang both surprised and somewhat flustered, while also holding the whip tightly, she smiled confidently. "Now, I'm the one leading the game." Li Yin wrapped a rope around Jiang Huang's neck. She stammered, "I underestimated you. You can actually attack me. But do you dare to kill me? Killing me means going against H." To her threat, Li Yin showed no fear and replied, "You're the one who privately disobeyed the boss's orders and kidnapped me. This is self-defense. What's wrong with that? But compared to killing you, I'm more interested in knowing your relationship with Shang Tianli." After speaking, she tightened the rope forcefully, then let go of her. She fell to the ground, her body trembling, coughing in pain. At this moment, a person with a flashlight appeared at the door, shouting. Li Yin, looking at the person who had just appeared, she smiled and said, "You're a step too late." When Jingyi saw her, he hurried over and asked, "Are you hurt?" She replied casually, "Compared to losing my life here, these minor injuries are nothing." He quickly moved closer, gently stroking her hair to inspect her, and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Yin Yin. I promise it won't happen again." Seeing his concern for her, she smiled happily and held the hand that was stroking her hair. At this moment, Jiang Huang, who was on the side, witnessed the entire intimate process between the two and said with dissatisfaction, "Hey, there's still someone here. Can you two not be so lovey-dovey?" At this point, the two of them also noticed her at the same time. Jingyi looked at her with a sinister expression and asked, "What do you want to do with this woman?" She smiled contemptuously and replied, "Her? She can be exchanged for a good price." Scene change. In a warehouse, a truck was currently transporting some crates. One of the crates was opened, revealing it was full of guns. A guard took a gun from inside to inspect it. After checking, he announced loudly, "No problem." At this moment, Ding Yuan asked Li Yin curiously, "I'm very curious. Did you really solve this matter with the Sifong seal?" To his question, she replied as if it were a matter of course. "What else? Besides the Sifong seal, which holds government secrets, what else could I use to threaten customs? I have already proven the value of the Sifong seal. Next, it's up to Uncle Ding to take care of Jingyi for me. How does Uncle Ding plan to deal with him? He laughed after getting the answer he wanted and also agreed to the deal with her without hesitation. You don't need to worry about this small matter. I guarantee that when I finally hand him over to you, you will have the right to take your revenge. Seeing through his intentions, she cursed inwardly. Old fox. Scene change in a villa late at night. She walked in drowsily. The events of the day seemed to have exhausted her considerably. Just as she was about to press the light switch, a hand suddenly stopped her. Jingye's voice sounded. Don't turn on the light, it's me. As he spoke, he pressed his hand against the door, trapping her by the doorway. She looked at him blankly and said, Didn't we agree that to prevent Ding Yuan from discovering anything amiss, we don't need to meet for the next period of time? He answered a bit uncomfortably. We don't meet in public, but that doesn't mean we can't meet in private. What are you planning to do by bringing Lin Bing back? Sensing his jealousy, her confusion vanished, and she teased with a smile. Did you come all this way just for this? Didn't Ding Yuan tell you how he's going to deal with me? He's very vigilant. I'm preparing to feign a new romance to make our breakup more convincing. He asked, Is that target Lin Bing? She replied, That's right. He immediately frowned and replied with displeasure, No. As he spoke, he reached out and took her hand. He gently pulled her closer, wrapped his arms around her waist, and repeated, I said no. Looking at his expression, she smiled with amusement, wrapped her arms around his neck, and teased, Isn't this what you taught me? You can change your fiancé, but I can't change my fiancé. Just then, a knock came from the door. Lin Bing asked, Miss Lee, are you in there? I've brewed a pot of tea. Would you like to have some together? She took the opportunity to continue teasing him. My future new fiancé is inviting me for tea. Old fiancé, why aren't you leaving yet? Hearing her say it was Lin Bing, he smiled. Perfect. Let your new fiancé have a listen. Let Lin Bing outside hear the sounds you make under your old fiancé. He had already lifted her up and placed her on the bed, their lips meeting. After they parted, she looked at him, puzzled. Are you trying to let outsiders see your improper side? I don't like being controlled, he asked while nibbling on the strap of her dress. Then what do you like? As he spoke, he released the dress strap from his mouth, and it fell against her body. Then he asked, Serving you like this, do you like it? Faced with his advances, she blushed deeply and stammered, That's enough. Accidentally, her hand knocked a cup on the table, causing it to fall. The cup hit the floor with a crisp sound. Hearing it, Lin Bing hurried over and knocked on the door, asking, What was that sound? Miss Lee, are you all right? Miss Lee? Lien. She peeked her head out the door and said with a friendly smile, I'm fine. I just knocked something over by accident. Did you need something from me? Seeing she was okay, his expression relaxed a little. I just brewed a pot of calming tea that's good for the body. Can I come in and chat? Because of me, you were given a hard time by Huang Jiang again, and I'm worried. Inside the room, Lien was using her foot to block Xingye's body, preventing him from coming out. She replied, Some other day, it's too late today. Just then, he suddenly remembered something, took out a piece of paper, and handed it to her. Wait, there's one more thing. This is an invitation Ding Yuan just had someone deliver, inviting you to his birthday party at his villa. Suddenly, she let out a soft moan, her face turning red. She forcefully suppressed her emotions and stammered, You should go back to your room first. I still have something to do. He didn't suspect anything and replied, Rest well, Miss Lee. I'll be going. Seeing him leave, she turned back to him and said with some annoyance, He's gone. Now let me go. He seemed unfazed by her annoyance, licked his fingers, and asked, Don't want to continue? Your body is much more honest than your mouth. Before he could do anything else, she picked up the paper and slapped it on his face. Shut up and talk business. Picking up the paper, his expression turned serious. Today, Ding Yuan just said he was going to make a move on me, and as soon as I get back, he's holding a birthday banquet. The timing is too coincidental. I'm afraid it's a trap. Knowing the danger, she asked, Are you going? He smiled confidently and replied, Of course, I'm going. If I don't go, how can our plan continue? Scene change, a villa. At this moment, Lien, dressed gorgeously, walked in pushing Lin Bing. The people around looked at her and exclaimed, Wow, who is that? So dazzling. Why is she pushing a disabled person? She ignored the crowd's chatter, bent down, and whispered in his ear, Move your eyes around and help me look at every place here, every little detail. Suddenly, a woman's voice sounded from behind her, Brother Jingye, what are you looking at? She turned to look and saw Jingye, who seemed so annoyed that smoke was about to come out of his head. He was frowning, looking in her and Lin Bing's direction. Scene change. The restroom. Xingye and Lien were in a standoff. He asked her, at such a crucial moment, "Why did you have to bring Lin Bing?" She replied, "It's the perfect opportunity to introduce my new man to everyone. That way, the act of our breakup will be more convincing." Seemingly unsatisfied with this answer, he moved closer to her and continued to ask, "Is it necessary to be so close to him? I think you're really trying to make me angry. Don't you dare smile at him again." Seeing him like this, she said with some annoyance, "Enough. It's a life or death situation, and you're still thinking about these things." He ignored her annoyance, moved even closer to hug her. "Won't you even let me have a last meal before execution?" Her expression turned serious. "Gu Xingye, be careful. You could really die." Just then, someone was slowly walking towards the restroom from outside. Hearing the sound, she was startled. She thought to herself, "There's a sound." After listening intently for a moment, she realized the sound was coming from within the wall in front of her. She quietly approached, pressed her ear to the wall, and thought, "It's coming from here. Could it be?" After fumbling for a moment, she suddenly found a spot on the wall that could be pushed open. The room slowly opened, revealing a man being dunked in a basin of water. Looking at the man, she was shocked. Li Yaming. Hearing someone, he also slowly woke up, letting out some groans. She looked at him and asked, "Why are you still here?" "I didn't expect him to be found by Ding Yuan so easily. What do you want to say?" While asking, she untied the cloth, gagging his mouth. As soon as he was free, he immediately said anxiously and repeatedly, "Save me. Get me out of here. I have evidence that you were framed for the murder of the dignitary." She narrowed her eyes at him and asked suspiciously, "How do I know if you're telling the truth or trying to trick me?" Lien moved closer, looking more carefully at Li Yaming's face. He continued to explain, "I helped Ding Yuan find the witness who identified you as the murderer of the dignitary back then. After that, he wanted to silence me, so I hid that person." His eyes pleaded earnestly, "The only reason I'm still alive is because I have that bargaining chip. If you save me, I'll take you to him." Lien thought for a long time. Saving him could bring trouble, but if I can find evidence that Ding Yuan conspired to murder the dignitary and frame me. The longer Li Yaming waited, the more anxious he became. He hurriedly revealed his final secret. "I also know that Ding Yuan has a spy by your side, someone you would never expect. I can give you a name." A name immediately surfaced in her mind. Lien slowly replied, "You're talking about Sheng Tianli?" His eyes looked as if they had fallen into an abyss. Lien had seen through his trump card. Li Yaming stammered, "You knew?" Hearing this, she immediately confirmed her earlier statement, her face instantly darkening. "So it really is Sheng Tianli. But did he join forces with Ding Yuan after we started cooperating? Or was he Ding Yuan's man from the beginning, deliberately getting close to me?" As for Li Yaming, his expression was no better. "I'm finished. She knows. Can I still get out of here?" The next second, he saw Lien walking closer and closer, and he grew more anxious. "What are you trying to do?" Lien replied coldly, "Saving you." She had her own considerations. Anything that could make Ding Yuan lose is worth a try. Suddenly, a loud noise immediately caught Lien's attention. The sound of a bullet was very close. She panicked. Gunshots? Ding Yuan has made his move. I have to get back to the banquet quickly. Then she turned to look at Li Yaming, then looked at him again. If I miss this chance, it will be hard to get in next time. Outside the magnificent banquet hall, they began to discuss heatedly, "My God, I never thought the son-in-law would turn into an enemy." A girl suddenly sat down and burst into tears. "How could this happen? He couldn't have done that. It's impossible." Nan emerged from the darkness and said calmly, "Explain the situation clearly." Lin Bing then recounted everything truthfully. Gu Xingye toasted Ding Yuan, and suddenly Ding Yuan collapsed, naming Gu Xingye as the one who poisoned him. Then Gu Xingye was surrounded and hunted before he escaped, but I saw that the wine was actually prepared by Ding Yuan himself in the kitchen. She seemed to see through their scheme and couldn't help but show a disdainful expression. Humph. Using this trick again, as expected. Frame Gu Xingye. Make him the criminal who murdered the dignitary, and then, on moral grounds, he can eliminate him justifiably. On a cliff near the sea, voices echoed in the sky, "But I'll go take a look." "You wait here for a moment. I'll have someone send you back." The remaining person replied, "Can we catch up to them? Do you know where they went?" Song Luo is following them. On the edge of the cliff, two mysterious riders were single-handedly pointing their guns at a dozen approaching people. On the other side, Lien leisurely witnessed this scene and couldn't help but say, how is it going? Next to her was Song Luo, who quickly replied, they're at a stalemate. It seems Ding Yuan wants to capture Gu Xingye alive. She fell into thought again. It seems Ding Yuan still remembers his promise to me, wanting to capture Gu Xingye alive and hand him over. But if this drags on for too long, I'm afraid Ding Yuan will lose all patience with Gu Xingye. On Gu Xingye's side, he raised his gun, ready to fire at any moment. Uncle Ding, to be poisoned and still have the energy to chase me all the way here, that's truly an eye-opener. Such a clumsy setup. Do you take everyone for a fool? Ding Yuan was no ordinary man. He immediately drew his gun in response. I have to capture you with my own hands to be at ease. But I'd be more at ease if you were dead. In less than a second, a loud bang. Seeing the danger, Junzai rushed forward to block the shot for him, disregarding his own life. Watch out. He took all the bullets himself. Then his body went limp and fell straight off the nearby cliff. A heart-wrenching cry rang out, Junzai. In the distance, Song Luo's face had turned completely pale. She hurriedly shouted no. Without a second thought, she jumped into the sea after Junzai, leaving only Lien standing on the shore in astonishment. She watched their backs with regret and worry. Song Luo, it's okay. Although it deviates a bit from the plan, they are both safe and sound. As she thought this, her gaze suddenly became vacant and her whole body froze. Ding Yuan slowly approached and asked leisurely, Lien, your old lover and your subordinate both died here, yet you seem far too calm. Lien immediately gave him a sharp look. He continued to explain, I have already avenged you. Now you should hand over the coastal defense seal to me. Lien also kept reassuring herself, hurriedly collecting her thoughts. Calm down, Lien. Don't get emotional and ruin everything. Besides, with Song Luo jumping down, no matter where they fell, they might not necessarily die. With this thought, she quickly adjusted her mood, crossed her arms, and smiled leisurely at him. Why is Uncle Ding in such a hurry? I never said I wouldn't hand it over. How could I carry something as important as the coastal defense seal with me? Hearing this, he also smiled with understanding. You're right, I was too hasty. Why don't you come to my place, Miss Lee, to freshen up and change? Then we can slowly hand over the coastal defense seal. Suddenly receiving that invitation made her frown unconsciously, her voice tired. Why would I go to your house? The coastal defense seal isn't at your place. Seeing that she was not following his arrangement, he immediately changed his attitude and said sternly, Lien, don't tell me you're thinking of backing out. Just then, a car suddenly rushed over and 2 bodyguards got out. They reported to him, Mr. Ding, we found the 3 people who fell off the cliff. Li Lien, who was standing aside, turned pale upon hearing the report. They dragged 3 people out of the car, who were Xingye, Song Luo, and Junzai, and said, they're all still breathing. Should we kill them now? Seeing the condition of the 3, she was utterly horrified. Didn't I send people to rescue them? How did it come to this? At that moment, a bodyguard proceeded to open the car's trunk, which held a man who was tied up with a cloth stuffed in his mouth, unable to speak. He continued to report, by the way, we also found a group of people on the road who tried to snatch our man, so I tied them all up as well. Watching those people being gradually brought out of the car, her heart sank completely. They've been caught. Noticing her unusual mood, he approached and said slyly, surprised, aren't you? Miss Lee didn't think I was a villain who kills without a knife, did you? On the contrary, didn't you hate him so much? Why did you send people to save him? Could it be that your break with Gu Xingye was a conspiracy all along? She didn't let his words shake her and quickly adjusted her composure. She turned to face him confidently. Uncle Ding, if I remember correctly, you have no right to ask such questions. How I choose to hate and deal with Gu Xingye doesn't require anyone's interference, much less for Uncle Ding to help me handle him. Our deal was that you hand Gu Xingye over to me, and I give you the coastal defense seal. But now you've taken it upon yourself to harm Gu Xingye. Can I interpret this as Uncle Ding wanting to cancel our agreement? Seeing her confident demeanor, his suspicion began to waver. Could it be that it really wasn't her conspiracy? Just then, she continued, let the others go, hand Gu Xingye over to me, and our deal continues. Otherwise, I will consider it as Uncle Ding unilaterally canceling the agreement. At this point, he didn't dare to speak loudly anymore and said sincerely, of course, I genuinely want to make the deal. It's just that I prefer to exchange the person for the coastal defense seal at the same time. Besides, I'm very curious. How does Miss Lee plan to deal with Gu Xingye? She looked down at Xingye, and said leisurely, "Lock him up. I'll play with him however I want. But this is a game for young people, something Uncle Ding probably wouldn't understand. Uncle Ding just needs to hand the person over to me." Just then, Tianli appeared out of nowhere with a cigarette in his mouth, asking with great interest, "Playing a confinement game, are we? I love playing this. Lien, come play my place. My house has a 3-story basement with many different ways to play for you to choose from." Seeing him suddenly appear here, she was a bit stunned. "Tianli?" Ding Yuan also turned to look at him abruptly. She continued to ask, "Why are you here?" Hearing her question, he walked leisurely towards her and said calmly, "Following you, of course, Lien. You are the test subject I've set my sights on. In case you die, then I could be the first to come and collect your body." She glared at him with some displeasure. "Tone it down. Your perverted aura is about to hit me in the face." He ignored her discomfort and continued in a mocking tone, "Lien's words are so hurtful. So, which secret room does Lien want to lock Gu Xingye in? No matter which cell, I guarantee you'll have a lot of fun." After listening to their entire conversation, Ding Yuan mused, "He's right. Letting Gu Xingye and Lien fall into Sheng Tianli's hands is no different from them falling into my hands. I was being narrow-minded." Having figured it out, he no longer hesitated and ordered, "Hand the person over to them." A bodyguard quickly replied, "Yes." Then he turned back to look at Lien and said seriously, "Then I will wait for Miss Li to fulfill her promise and hand the coastal defense seal over to me." Scene change, a certain room. On the bed were many medical electronic devices and scalpels. Xingye gradually woke up and saw her, asking, "Gu Xingye, open your eyes slowly." A voice sounded unconsciously, "You're finally awake?" Lien sat languidly beside him. "Now that you're awake, be a good boy and raise your hands. You know I like people who take the initiative." He slowly sat up, looking at her with a puzzled expression. "What new trick is this? Now that I've accidentally fallen off a cliff, how did you make a deal with Ding Yuan?" Without letting him continue, she pushed him back onto the bed and silenced him with her finger. "Don't talk." Just then, outside the door, Tianli stepped forward and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong, Lien? Since when are you so polite to your enemies? I didn't go through all this trouble to save him just to watch you go soft on him. Besides, we should torture him a bit first." She looked back at him and replied without any panic, "No need. I have my own plan." He didn't press her, just silently leaned back against the wall and said, "Fine, I'll see what game Lien wants to play." She gently caressed his stomach with her hand. "The man is already in my hands. How I want to play with him is my business." Suddenly, he let out a strange gasp. She looked at him, puzzled. "The wound isn't on your stomach. Why are you sucking in your breath?" He blushed. "There's no wound, but there's a sensitive spot." Lien said calmly, "A sensitive spot, is it? In that case." As she spoke, she took a strange object from the drawer beside her. It was a whip pointed directly at Gu Xingye. As she said seductively, "It must hurt a lot if I strike, right?" She continued to explore further down, her voice husky. "This was the sensitive spot just now, wasn't it?" The next second, Lien moved close to his lips and whispered, "Play along with me." Gu Xingye looked up at her and pleaded softly, "What do I have to do for you to let me go?" Before he could finish, a rope had already been quickly wrapped around Gu Xingye's neck. She responded domineeringly, "Let you go? You must be joking. I went to so much trouble to catch you. I can't possibly let you go so easily. Who should I settle the score with for the wedding? You didn't think you could get away with teasing me, did you?" As she spoke, she revealed a sinister smile. His face flushed with anger. "What's wrong with teasing you? Humiliating me like this, and you're planning to use this to punish me?" At this point, Tianli, who was standing outside, couldn't take it anymore and urged, "Are you two arguing or flirting? Can't you play something more exciting?" She ignored him and continued to stare at Xingye, replying, "Of course, I have to torture you slowly." Hearing this, he slammed the door and left, shouting angrily, "I can't stand it. You two can slowly torture each other." As soon as he was gone, his 2 hands gently lifted up. He held her tightly, pulling her close to his body, and pressed a firm kiss on her lips. At this moment, she was blushing furiously. He asked with satisfaction, "What's all this about? You were going to use toys on me? Explain yourself, fiancé." After regaining her senses, she feigned anger. "Gu Xingye, let go." He smiled, ignoring her anger. "All right, then unlock the handcuffs first. She said, stop messing around. Right now, Ding Yuan hasn't gotten the coastal defense seal, and we are under Sheng Tianli surveillance. Ding Yuan won't have much patience. At most, in 2 days, he will make a move on me. As she spoke, she took his hand and gently released it. Both of them lowered their heads at the same time, lost in thought. Gu Xingye was a little displeased at this moment. Your man just went through a life-and-death experience, and all you can think about is that old man Ding Yuan. As he spoke, he looked up with a self-deprecating smile. Am I not even worth a second glance from you? Lian placed her hands on Xingye's face and warned with concern, Gu Xingye, now is not the time for jokes. Sheng Tianli could come back at any moment. Her 2 hands pressed against his face. Xingye. Her gaze was gentle and sincere. Then when is the time? When we're dead. He looked at Lian's frown and thought to himself, it's always like this. It seems she only understands matters of life and death. What is love? It can't soften her heart, whether it's gang matters or her subordinates. Anyone can be more important than me. Xingye's face darkened with his thoughts. What do I have to do to make her realize that I've been waiting for her to look at me? If I wait forever and get nothing. Xingye's muscular body with 6-pack abs stood before Lian as he thought. Acting cute, my wound hurts so much. Can't you just change my dressing while we talk? Then I have to take the initiative. Xingye grabbed both of Lian's wrists and moved his face closer to hers, thinking, looking at his expression, it doesn't seem like he wants his dressing changed, but more like. Lian frowned at Xingye, thinking, does he want to eat me? His hands gripped her wrists, his face moving closer to Lian's. But the wound hurt a lot. At least the medicine could prevent the wound from getting infected. When Shang Tianli operated on Ji Xingye before, he seemed very rough and didn't even use anesthesia. Tianli, wearing gloves and a mask, stood beside Lian, watching seriously. Why waste anesthetic on him? I wanted to torture him anyway. This is perfect. In the dimly lit room. All right, you sit still. I'll apply medicine to your leg first. Xingye took off his shirt and sat up, looking at Lian. It might hurt a little, bear with it. Lian silently looked at Xingye, who was sitting with his head down, his muscular body wrapped in bandages and covered in scars. The white cloth strips were removed, and Xingye lowered his head, saying in a deep voice, Lian looked at him with a red face, thinking, this shy doggo man, why is your breathing so sexy? I feel like he's doing it on purpose. And so, she held the medical instruments to apply medicine to Xingye's thigh and spoke. This position is a bit ambiguous. Lian's face turned red. She put down her hands and turned her face away in embarrassment. All right, you could do the rest yourself. Lian looked at Xingye, who had a wound on his shoulder, and said shyly, there's one on the shoulder too. She held the medical supplies and applied medicine to his shoulder. Lian applied the medicine with a red face, sweating a lot, and thought in embarrassment. This distance is too close, too ambiguous. I even have a strong sense of danger, feeling like I'm about to be devoured. Lian put down the medical instrument next to the medicine bottle. I just remembered I have something to do. You can do it yourself? Lian raised her head high, and Xingye unexpectedly moved closer to her neck, saying awkwardly, Yin Yin, can you lower your head a little? He looked up at her with his handsome face. A little lower, please kiss me. Lian's face turned red, and she dodged him in embarrassment. Ji Xingye, don't joke around. Xingye grabbed Lian's wrist, then moved his face even closer. She said in embarrassment, Ji Xingye, let go of me. Lian's hand touched Xingye's wound, causing it to bleed. She lowered her head with a red face and shouted, let go, or I'll keep pressing. Lian gently touched and wiped the blood on Xingye's chest. All right. Xingye lowered his head and kissed Lian's lips, saying awkwardly, you said to continue. She widened her eyes in surprise as their lips met. She felt something, thinking, I don't know why, but I can feel despair from this kiss. Lian looked at Xingye's flushed cheeks and thought in embarrassment. What is he trembling for? She slowly closed her eyes, feeling the kiss. Tianli stood outside, turned his face away, and thought with his arms crossed seriously. How come I can't hear any sound from inside? What are they doing? He opened the door and shouted, hey, you two. The scene before Tianli's eyes. Lian was looking up, and Xingye was pressing down on her. Tianli was stunned, his eyes wide with anger. So your method of revenge is to corner him here and force a kiss on him? His eyes were bright and red. Yin Yin, don't tell me you become the kind of person who breaks their promises, the kind I hate the most. Xingye's face fell. Lian placed her hand on his chest and turned her head to say, Shang Tianli. Xingye took a step back, his face grim, his muscular body taunting. Huh, is it because you've been single for too long? Xingye's handsome face read. I don't know. Is it not normal for a young couple to be a little ambiguous before getting back together? What's wrong? Your eyes are red with anger? Tianli was disappointed to hear this, his eyes glowing with anger. What are you talking about? My eyes are red with anger. Xingye sat, his six-pack body and handsome face taunting him. Why do you always appear around us? Or were you just born to be a third wheel? He looked at him seriously and asked, Dog? Tianli lowered his head, his face grim with anger. How interesting. You're the second person who dares to say that in front of me. His eyes were red as he said contemptuously. The first person who said that. Tianli held a gun in his hand, pointing it at him seriously and angrily. Has already been completely soaked in formalin. Lian rushed up and kicked Tianli in the face angrily, the shiny gun spinning in the air. Lian retracted her leg and looked at him seriously. That's enough. Is it glorious to bully a patient? Tianli turned around, lowered his head, his face grim, and said silently, Lian is being too protective of him. Has she forgotten her deal with Ding Yuan and made up with this guy? He turned his face, holding a sharp, shiny knife in his hand, his eyes dangerously red. If Lian is too soft-hearted to do it, I can help you kill him. Tianli, holding the sharp, shiny knife, rushed straight at Xingye. His face was grim as he swung at Xingye, who dodged and shouted, You also think she's soft on me? Xingye was quite calm and provoked him. If I die, maybe I'll have to thank you. Maybe I'll have a special place in her heart. Xingye glanced at Tianli, his face falling as he said the words, She will never forget me. Xingye turned to leave, and Tianli spoke. Lian, do you like him? He turned his face and glanced over. Both Jiyu Xingye's and Shang Tianli's faces fell, waiting for Lian's answer. Tell him you love me, don't you? Lian stood with her arms crossed and said seriously, Are you too threatening me? Or do you think? Lian's face fell, and she walked coldly toward Xingye. You have the right to control who I like? Tianli, hearing her say this, turned his face happily and laughed out loud. This is the Lian I know. She won't be seduced by men. Her eyes always look at people as if they are trash. Lian looked at him seriously. She reached out to touch his face, bringing her face very close. Did I ask you to be nosy? The two of you, it doesn't matter which one. I wouldn't fall for either. The next time you mention it. Before she could finish, Tianli was pulled into an embrace by Lian. She looked at him and said, I will cut off your ears to make you hear clearly. Understand? He looked at her, smiled smugly, and asked, Lian doesn't like it? Then what kind of person does Lian like? Lian frowned at him and answered seriously, I don't like people who show off their sexy side at every turn, nor do I like being teased often. Xingye turned his face to look at her and smiled faintly to himself. So what she likes, she calls dislike. Tianli lowered his head. Lian grabbed his clothes, turned her face to look back, and said, The husband I like, he must be as pretty as a girl, have long hair, be willing to be pinned down by me, and not resist. Tianli's eyes widened. He looked up at Xingye, turned his face, and asked, Pretty? Long hair? No resistance? He automatically associated it with the story of Xingye being tied to the bed with bandages, his hot body full of suggestion. He put his hands on her shoulders. Lian, what you just said? Lian turned her face away seriously. The wound is bleeding. You need a rest. I'll find a chance to get you out. Xingye looked at her gently, frowning and calling her name softly. Lian. Lian turned away. I will definitely be yours. In a rather luxurious washroom, Tianli came out and stood washing his hands, his eyes widening as he looked in the mirror. Suddenly he sighed, his face fell, and he thought, It's obvious, I don't want Lian to have a relationship with any man. Tianli thought to himself, then blushed in embarrassment. But if the person Lian likes is me? He covered half of his face with his hand and looked at himself in the mirror in shame, thinking, Then I'm very much looking forward to it. Liang Ming was naked, wrapped in chains, and begged, Miss Liang, please don't go, save me. A woman's hand grabbed Liang Ming's hair. Lian grabbed the hair on top of his head angrily and seriously. There's a battle going on outside right now. Ding Yuan has pushed Jiyu Xingye to a dead end. Do you think I would give up saving Jiyu Xingye for you? No. Liang Ming closed his eyes and shouted pleadingly, Don't leave me with Ding Yuan. Liang Ming's eyes suddenly shot open, waking up stunned. He looked down at Liang Ming's body on the bed, wrapped in medical bandages, stunned. He looked over with a trembling hand, and a person saw it and spoke fearfully. I didn't expect. What happened to my hands and feet? He's awake. Lin Bing sat in a wheelchair next to him, holding a piece of paper, and spoke to him. But Liang Ming couldn't calm down and asked, He's awake? Then charge him. Miss Liang went through a lot of trouble to save you from there and get you treated. My hands. What happened to them? Lin Bing raised his hand, holding a black card, and looked at him seriously. Oh, right, I almost forgot. It's okay. I can help you swipe the card. Just say your bank card password. Liang Ming looked down at his own hands and feet in disbelief and shouted, My hands and my feet. What on earth happened to them? Lin Bing lowered his head sadly. Have you forgotten? Your hands and feet have been crippled by Ding Yuan. He couldn't believe it, listening to him in disbelief and disappointment. By the time we arrived, only stumps of your hands and feet were left. No. Liang Ming angrily tried to sit up, shouting, Ding Yuan, I'm going to kill you. And Shang Tianli. His eyes were wide, his brows furrowed, sweat dripping, and he shouted full of hatred. Shang Tianli is Ding Yuan's spy. Not a single one can be spared. Suddenly a voice came from outside, and Lin Bing and Liang Ming looked at each other, stunned. What's going on? Are you being lazy already? I want the chiffon seal. For the chiffon seal, I even agreed to keep Jiyu Xingya locked up at your place, so that the name Liang Ming has a chance to escape. He holds many of our secrets. Ding Yuan's voice suddenly sounded. The footsteps of a man in elegant shoes approached, speaking, and hung up the phone. Got it. Am I not on my way to deal with that escaped rat now? That's the point. The chiffon seal is the point. Beep, beep, beep. Liang Ming saw the scene in front of him, lost his composure, and shouted in terror and disbelief. Quick! Shang Tianli is here. Get me out of here. Tianli opened the door and walked in, holding a weapon. Liang Ming lay on the bed, and Lin Bing sat in a wheelchair looking at him. Didn't I say that the thing I hate most when I'm working is noise? Tianli held the weapon, slung it over his shoulder, his eyes red, and walked over seriously. Why are you shouting so loudly? Liang Ming's reflection was in his eyes, cold and dangerous. I advise you to be good and not to struggle. Lin Bing glanced at him uncomfortably. What if this rat doesn't listen? At night, street lights illuminated the street lined with tall buildings. Shang Tianli stood in front of Lin Bing, who was sitting in a wheelchair. He held a knife to his neck and threatened him dangerously. You must know that I have no patience. If you can't answer my question, then you can go die. Lian pushed the door open forcefully and walked in angrily. What question is it that made you specifically capture him and bring him back for interrogation? Tianli seriously turned his head and glanced back. Lian was surprised to see the scene in front of her. Tianli's back and the bloodstains on the floor. Liang Ming, he's dead. He turned his head, his eyes shining, with a lot of blood on his hair, face, and clothes. Lian, why are you here? Lian asked him worriedly and confusedly. Why did you kill him? Xiaomi reached out a hand towards her. The tied-up Lin Bing sat in the wheelchair. This guy's Lian's new boyfriend. Is that a good enough reason to kill him? Lian raised her face, grabbed his collar, and looked at Tianli angrily, shouting, What about Liang Ming? What do I have to do with him? Why did you kill him? What on earth are you trying to do? Did you want to kill him yourself? Or did Ding Yuan tell you to kill him? Lian frowned, glaring at Tianli. Tell me a reason I can accept. Otherwise, I won't say another word to someone who betrayed me. Shang Tianli silently looked down at her, his face stained with blood. Lian looked at him seriously and angrily. Does Lian care so much because I'm a very important person in Lian's heart? Even a dog won't bite someone who is good to them. The master is very important, right? Tianli lowered his head, his face grim, with a few drops of blood on his cheeks, and said in disappointment, Ah, so Lian only sees me as a dog. Tianli, covered in blood, his eyes wide and bright, stared at her. Does Lian prefer me to play the puppy or the wolf? Either way, Lian will like me. Neither Jiyu Xingya nor that useless cripple is better than me, right? Lian looked at Tianli, who was standing with his head down, and shouted his name, Shang Tianli. Suddenly, Tianli's hands were on Lian's shoulders. Unexpectedly, he brought his face close to hers. Lian stepped back angrily. Are you deliberately trying to disgust me? Or do you think I don't dare to make a move? Tianli's eyes lit up, bringing his face closer to hers. Lian, do you remember the scene of our first meeting? Mentioning the first meeting, it was the scene of Lian lying on the bare-chested Tianli. The first time we met, Lian also pinned me down with this expression. He lay naked on the bed, his hands awkwardly covering himself, including Lian slapped him and pinched, like a dead man. No fun at all. How is this piece of goods worth 30 million? Her hand pinched his cheek. No choice, old boss. That woman owed gambling debts and disappeared. The Shang family is completely finished. Today is exactly 1 week since he jumped off a building to commit suicide. Now the Shang family only has this little punk left. Leanne unexpectedly put her hand into Tianli's mouth. In that case, drag him down and teach him a lesson until he learns some sense. She pushed her hand deep into his mouth, her eyes unexpectedly turning red, and said awkwardly, "Then take him to the overseas club." Jiang Huang stood, looking at the bare-chested Tianli lying on the bed, surrounded by the noisy voices of people. "Wait, don't touch him." A man in a suit with his hands in his pockets walked over elegantly. "I am his uncle. Please release him first. I will find a way to get the 30 million. The man handed a briefcase to someone to take away. "Don't worry. I know the rules from now on. I will consider this nephew of mine dead." The man opened the briefcase, which was full of stacks of money. "The money is here. Now I'll go to the airport to meet you." "I didn't expect that kid to be worth so much." The bare-chested Tianli lying on the bed spoke hesitantly. "Uncle." The man turned his head grimly and said seriously, "Pay his debt? Don't be ridiculous. Since he's going to die, rather than letting someone else benefit, it's better for me, his uncle, to benefit." There are many things I don't remember clearly. The woman's black high heels were about to walk over. The naked Tianli on the bed curled up. "Don't kill me. I'll do anything for you." Tianli was lost in thought, tears streaming down his cheeks and dripping onto the bed, crying sadly. Jiang Huang lowered her head, her face grim. "Anything?" Her eyes lit up. She stood with her arms crossed, looking at him dangerously. "Do you know what your uncle sold you here for? On the surface, it's a club, but in reality, we sell organs." Jiang Huang put 2 fingers to her mouth. "Welcome to..." Tianli, lying on the bed, curled up on his side and looked at her angrily. "I can do anything for you. I can earn more money than selling organs." Jiang Huang stood seriously with her arms crossed and said contemptuously, "Just with you? Everyone who comes here says the same thing as you. Why should I believe you?" An old woman walked in and looked at Jiang Huang's back, saying, "Jiang Huang, let him try." The woman in elegant clothes said to her seriously and confidently, "I believe he can do it." The man knelt on the ground, looking at the person holding a knife in front of him, begging in fear, "Take out both of his kidneys. I beg you, don't. My luck has turned for the better. I can definitely pay you back the money I owe." Tianli watched silently, coldly, and anxiously. He watched the man coldly and silently. Unexpectedly, the man wailed and begged, "Huff, huff, huff. I beg you." Someone walked over, touched his hand coldly, and replied, "Too noisy, so much trouble." Jiang Huang unexpectedly pulled Tianli's hand towards the man. Smack. As expected, only when they become a corpse do they listen. Tianli's eyes turned red and bright, his whole body covered in blood. That's right, only when they become a corpse do they listen. He walked proudly in an elegant white long coat. There are many things I don't remember, including how I left Country H. But I remember 2 things clearly. Tianli's back walked forward, standing in front of the scene door. One is to capture you from Country M and turn you into the most obedient experimental subject. He walked, looking down at the man, lying quietly on the operating table. Leanne, with her hands tied, next to a rough skeleton that had already disappeared, looked at him seriously. The second is to find her. Tianli brought his face close to Leanne. You're really something, locked up for 10 days and you still haven't gone crazy or starved to death." Leanne opened her mouth slightly, wanting to say something. Tianli brought his hand to her mouth. "What are you saying?" Leanne looked straight into Tianli's eyes and shouted angrily, "I said, go to hell." He looked at her with a thoughtful expression. Leanne retracted her leg and kicked Tianli in the face. He glanced at her angrily, completely unaffected. Leanne sat up, grabbed a knife, and slashed, but Tianli dodged. Her hand was on his shoulder, the other hand tightly gripping the knife held high. However, Leanne lost her balance and fell, pinning Tianli to the ground with her hands. Tianli looked seriously at Leanne, who had a knife to his neck. "Although I'm surprised you can still move, how could I, like an idiot, advance without any preparation? I've changed my mind. Cooperate with me. What do you think?" Leanne sat on top, looking down at Tianli. He gripped her wrist tightly. "It's nothing at all." Back then, Leanne also pinned me down with this expression. Shang Tianli, holding a knife, pinned Leanne down, his clothes stained with blood. Not long after, we became the closest partners. His eyes turned red. He moved his face closer, staring silently, threateningly, and dangerously. Looking at me with this expression now, does Leanne want to get closer to me? Leanne sighed and looked at Tianli seriously. "You've got it wrong. The point I'm concerned about now is not whether I see you as a dog, but your relationship with Ding Yuan. She pulled back her hand and grabbed the knife. Lian pointed the knife at Tianli, who looked on with shining eyes. I don't like being deceived. Tell me the truth. She pressed the knife against his abdomen, a pool of blood on the blade. This is the last chance I'm giving you. Tianli propped himself up with his hands and brought his face close to Lian. You want to know the truth that badly? If Lian promises to only be good to me from now on, I'll tell you the truth, okay? Lian frowned and called his name angrily. I'm serious. Sheng Tianli. Tianli raised his hand, licked the blood stain with his tongue, and replied with a grim face. I'm serious too. Tianli, his clothes tattered and stained with blood, smiled smugly. Ji Yuxingye has already become your enemy. Your little boyfriend is a useless cripple. I should be the most important person in your heart, right? Tianli grabbed Lian's hand and pressed it against himself. What are you still hesitating for? As long as you're only good to me, I will tell you all the truth. A person sat in the distance, watching them through a small screen. What do you think, Lian? Ji Yuxingye frowned, watching the scene on the tablet silently and angrily. Tianli's blood mixed with human blood, those wounds lightly touching Lian. As long as you are only good to me, I will tell you all the truth. He caressed her waist. Become my closest and most trusted person. I will tell you all the secrets. Anything is possible. Before he could finish, Lian's hand suddenly grabbed Tianli's wrist. Lian looked straight into his eyes and asked with a wicked smile, Become your closest person? Tianli looked at her with shining eyes and replied with a faint smile. Lian has agreed, right? Suddenly, Lian's hand unexpectedly touched Tianli's shoulder. Then she abruptly stood up, pushing him to the ground. Lian's eyes were sharp as she said seriously, hatefully, and contemptuously, when did I fall so low as to have to sell my soul for information? Tianli looked into her eyes silently and coldly. She pulled a phone out of his pants pocket. To get what I want. Lian held the phone screen in front of Tianli. No one has ever been able to stop me. Then, the phone screen lit up, displaying an unlocked notification. Ding ding, facial recognition successful. Lian picked up the phone and looked at it seriously. Let me see how much Ding Wang has given you that's worth you dying for him. Sheng Tianli grabbed Lian's wrist. He held her wrist, sat up silently, and said seriously, Lian, are you sure you want to see this? This is like Pandora's box for you. Knowing isn't necessarily a good thing. Lian coldly shook off Sheng Tianli's hand. It's not your place to say whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. She looked at the phone screen, which was full of calls from the spokesperson, one from 10 minutes ago, one from 2 hours ago, and another from yesterday. Click. Lian looked at the phone seriously and said in confusion, the spokesperson, Ji Yuxing? She saw the problem through the screen and understood, her face turning cold. Didn't he die half a year ago? Why is he still contacting Sheng Tianli? Is Sheng Tianli really working for Uncle Ding? In the room, the man sat seriously in the chair in front of the desk with his arms crossed. The phone displayed a notification. Sheng Tianli, there's a deal at the port in half an hour, worth about 5 people in total. Ding Yuan looked at the phone and laughed happily. Another new order. He elegantly picked up his black hat. In front of him was a row of guards standing solemnly in well-dressed attire. He signaled, everyone get ready now, move out with me. A guard in a well-dressed vest walked over worriedly and said, Uncle Ding, it's better if we go this time. You should stay here, just in case. No need. For the past half a month, Sheng Tianli's intelligence has never been wrong. Besides, now that the Vermilion Bird and the Azure Dragon have split, even a small gang can climb over their heads and act mighty. What's there to be afraid of? The guard was still worried and hesitant. He put on his hat coldly, but all right. Ding Yuan left, and the guard stood behind him, watching him elegantly. This is a historic moment, witnessing the downfall of Li Yin and Ji Yuxing and the unification of the underground factions. I will be the new one in power. He turned half his face to look at them, a dangerous glint in his eyes. How could I be absent? The port at night. In a small corner between the crates, a deal was taking place. Suddenly, the two men froze. They were now surrounded, with gun barrels pointed directly at them. Ding Yuan pulled his hat down slightly and said in a low voice, hand over the money and the goods. I'm in a good mood today. As long as you obediently join my gang, I can spare your lives this time. Hearing this, the two immediately said in unison, You want me to betray Sister Yin? The boss, seeing their stunned expressions, he explained without the slightest hesitation, the two bosses are about to die, and the small gang is about to be finished. You're just finding another way out. How can you call it betrayal? Before he could finish his conceited words, a familiar voice suddenly rang out, causing Ding Yuan to freeze. Is that so? Li Yin asked coldly. How come I didn't know the two of us were about to die? Next to her was Ji Yuxing, who was pointing a gun at him. Ding Yuan was still shocked to see these two people here. Li Yin, Ji Yuxing, weren't you two locked in the secret room by Shang Tianli? Li Yin said nothing, just raised an eyebrow, and then waved her hand. Immediately after, they instantly turned their guns towards Ding Yuan. Instantly, he trembled at the sight. Li Yin slowly asked, let me guess, if all the bullets are fired at the same time, will Uncle Ding's head explode like a punctured sandbag? Hearing her words, Ding Yuan's mouth fell open. In the face of such an overwhelming number of people, he still tried his best to remain calm and question her. For the sake of power, not only did you kill the person who raised you and made you who you are, but now you even want to kill me? Then, Ding Yuan distracted them and signaled to Shang Tianli. Next, are you going to kill all the people who trust you the most? But he didn't move at all. Seeing him start to speak loudly, trying to signal him, why are you still following such a ruthless and cold-blooded person who would do anything to achieve her goals? Ding Yuan urged silently in his heart. Make a move. What is he still standing there for? This action of his had already fallen into Li Yan's eyes. She asked confidently and directly, Uncle Ding's eyes are blinking so hard. Are you deliberately trying to seduce me? Hearing this, Ding Yuan hurriedly explained, how could that be? A grain of sand flew into my eye. Before he could finish, she replied with a smile, is that so? I thought you were signaling the mole to make a move. Then Li Yin put her hand on Shang Tianli's shoulder. By the way, I forgot to tell you, in order to lure you, Uncle Ding, into the trap, I specifically had Shang Tianli reveal a lot of information to you for more than half a month. It wasn't easy for the brothers and sisters to cooperate in this act. Uncle Ding, did you have fun during this time? At this point, he couldn't help but be stunned. How is this possible? You knew all along? No, Shang Tianli. At this point, Ding Yuan also realized everything. You betrayed me. Shang Tianli, wasn't it me who saved you like a dog from H's hand back then? Have you forgotten? He asked in a low voice. Now you betray me for a woman? Hearing this, Shang Tianli replied with a smile. Why put it so harshly? The thing you wanted, I have already helped you achieve it. I just want you to die. Where did I go wrong? His words left him dumbfounded. You people. He thought to himself, I, Ding Yuan, am simply a fool being played in the palm of their hands. Ding Yuan's eyes began to turn fierce. Don't move. As soon as the words fell, he rushed over while drawing his sword. Since it's come to this, then all of you can go to hell. It's best if we all perish together. At this sight, Ji Yuxing even spoke up to remind Li Yin, get out of the way quickly. As soon as the words fell, Shang Tianli had already bravely stepped forward, blocking her. Ding Yuan also appeared before his eyes. The tip of the sword was gradually rushing towards Shang Tianli, causing his face to turn pale. But then, a gun blocked the sword before he could be surprised. Li Yin said leisurely as she loaded the gun, how is that possible? Everyone has a gun in their hands. As soon as the words fell, she immediately pointed the gun directly at Ding Yuan's forehead. Why would I be afraid of a knife? Suddenly, Ji Yuxing blushed, isn't it because... Before he could finish, Shang Tianli interrupted him, because I was worried about Li Yin. What would I do if Li Yin accidentally died? Even at the point of life and death, Ding Yuan did not back down. Instead, he raised his voice and challenged, do you dare to kill me? Half of the power in City X and the fastest smuggling channels to make money are still in my hands. My subordinates only recognize people, not money. You don't dare to kill me. What followed was his savage laughter. As soon as the words fell, Li Yin fired. As the bullet shot deep into his thigh, he began to kneel on the ground. Then, she spoke in a lazy tone, so long-winded. After that, Li Yin fired another shot. Sometimes, death is easier than living. In the end, Ding Yuan fell. After all, there are many ways to make life worse than death. His eyes were still open, but a lot of chili sauce was poured on his body. Then Li Yin beckoned with her finger and ordered, come here. The two men walked over together and answered in unison, coming. Immediately after, the two looked at each other and then retorted at the same time. She was calling me. Before they could argue, Li Yin spoke. Shang Tianli, come and get the sword. Shang Tianli obediently picked up the sword. What does Li Yin want to do? She ordered with a serious expression, stab him. I want to hear him apologize and admit his mistake. Hearing this, he quickly obeyed. No problem, leave it to me. His brows furrowed slightly, his eyes sharp. Li Yin crossed her arms, looked directly at Ji Yuxing, and asked, are you dissatisfied with something? He immediately replied, nothing. And then, Shang Tianli, don't go too far. Suddenly, she approached Ji Yuxing, his displeasure clearly expressed on his face. Sheng Tianli. Then Lien started leaning from a distance, not letting him do it for fear of dirtying his hands. After all, Sheng Tianli is used to doing this kind of thing. Suddenly, Sheng Tianli stopped again. He stood motionless for an unknown reason. Then Ji Yuxing happily retorted, "Really?" His face wrinkled involuntarily. After that, he delivered the fatal blow, causing Ding Yuan's red syrup to splash. He also had to say, "I'm sorry." Suddenly, a voice came from a distance. "That's enough." Jiao Cheng, sitting in a wheelchair, said seriously, "I said that's enough." Sheng Tianli, "Stop. If you continue to torture him, he will die." Hearing the familiar voice, they both spoke at the same time. The man in power? Uncle? Lien crossed her arms and was silent for a moment. Then she smiled brightly. "After waiting for so long, you finally showed up." Hearing this, he then called out, "Ji Yuxing, Xiaoyan." Jiao Cheng continued in a low voice, "Long time no see." Ji Yuxing raised an eyebrow, unable to help but feel puzzled. "As expected, you're not dead. You've been hiding from us all this time. If Lien hadn't shown up, were you planning to hide forever?" Their conversation continued. If Lien wasn't there at that time, and over here, Sheng Tianli was a little lost. Lien held her phone and questioned him. "Then what's the deal with you cooperating with Ding Yuan? What is your relationship with the man in power? How much of the truth do you really know about his death?" In response, Sheng Tianli answered evasively, "Your questions are very sharp, Lien, but it's a pity that according to our agreement, I can't tell you until the time is right." Her eyes gradually sharpened. "Can't tell me until the time is right?" Then Lien walked over and put her hand on his shoulder. "You are the man in power's person. Don't even think about denying it. Ding Yuan would never wait, nor does he need to wait for what he wants. In the basement, you had countless opportunities, but you still didn't act against us, which also proves." She moved closer to him and concluded, "Ding Yuan is our common opponent." Li Yin stretched out her hand and gently made a request. "Sheng Tianli, shall we cooperate?" The corners of Sheng Tianli's mouth lifted slightly. Then he reached out and grabbed her hand. Then Sheng Tianli said gently, "We have always been partners from the very beginning." Scene change. The guard bowed slightly and said, "Uncle Ding, your information was very accurate. As expected, no one on the other side struggled, and they were all arrested by us." Ding Yuan was making a phone call and replied, "Of course." The chat content between Sheng Tianli and him was as follows. "You did a good job this time. Continue to probe for their information." Received. Back to the present. Ji Yuxing slowly explained. If Li Yin hadn't been smart enough to come up with this plan, would Uncle have been determined to hide from her forever? His voice grew sterner, letting her bear the crime of murdering Uncle forever. Li Yan's eyes widened, and she asked herself silently, "I killed the man in power?" Jiao Chang slowly expressed, "You are all Uncle's most beloved children. How could Uncle bear to do that to you? Uncle just borrowed Xiao Yan's hand to leave everyone's sight because Uncle is old and wanted to hand over the position to you sooner." Then he turned to the dying Ding Yuan and continued, "Ding Yuan's ambition is too great. If Uncle were still alive, he would have found a way to kill Uncle sooner or later. It was better to leave decisively and let the situation get a little chaotic so you have a chance." Ding Yuan said with difficulty in a low voice. He held his hand and said, "What's wrong, old friend? You didn't expect this move from me, did you?" Ding Yuan said in a harsh voice, but he had already stopped breathing. Suddenly, Li Yin spoke with a question. "Wait, I killed Uncle?" But it was obviously a series of old memories began to appear in her mind. The hospital, when she had just woken up, Li Yin began to frown and think. "The man in power is my benefactor. I treated him like my own uncle. Why would I kill him? And why would he use me to fake his death?" Suddenly, she realized something. Wait, I had amnesia, and the man in power faked his death. The scene of her turning to leave immediately appeared. "I'm leaving first. I'll bring the things over tomorrow." Just then, Ji Yuxing also opened the door and walked in. Uncle. He froze as soon as he entered the door. Jiao Chang was covered in chili sauce, lying motionless in the chair. Suddenly, a bullet was fired, startling her. Li Yin quickly dodged. "I said I didn't kill him." Ji Yuxing and the guards all pointed their guns at her, but 10 minutes after you left, Uncle died. Hearing this, Li Yin uncomfortably questioned him. "For the sake of power, you're even willing to frame others?" Ji Yuxing, when did you become like this? Facing her questioning, he also began to respond. "I have never changed. The one who changed." As soon as Ji Yuxing's words fell, a bullet was fired. "Is you." This bullet left her extremely shocked. Li Yin started to run. Ji Yuxing, Lu Ying quickly appeared. "Boss, don't say any more, quickly. The guard wanted to chase, but he stopped him. That's enough. Ji Yuxing said in a low voice, don't chase, let her go. The car sped away quickly, leaving behind a suspended bottle. Immediately after, it exploded. He couldn't help but be surprised by the scene just now. The guard expressed with slight embarrassment, I'm sorry, boss. My hand slipped. Scene change. Lian gradually understood everything, so that's how it was. The image of her snuggling happily in a man's arms, intimately calling out, darling. Back to the present. She also summed it up, so this is the truth. Lian glanced down. This time I really remember everything. But then she thought, but what's the use of remembering? Then Lian clenched her hand. Uncle is my benefactor. Even if Uncle framed me, he is still my benefactor. Ding Yuan trembled all over, and he began to groan, my wound. His voice made her extremely uncomfortable. Lian immediately pointed her gun at him. Uncle is my benefactor, but he is nothing. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have become like this. Seeing that she was about to make a move on him, Jiu Cheng stopped her. Xiaoyan, don't be impulsive. Ding Yuan's power is great. If you kill him, it will be easy for the gang to lose control. Hearing this, she retorted arrogantly, if it gets out of control, then suppress it. She continued, the biggest difference between me and Uncle is that I will never nurture a tiger to cause future trouble. After that, Li Yin began to leave. Jiu Cheng and Ji Yuxing both stood and watched her leave. Suddenly, Lu Ying and Jin Zi appeared, pointing their guns at them. Don't move. Hands up. Hand over your guns and we won't kill you. A nameplate was being installed. The person below instructed, a little to the left, a little more. A woman was being taken away by the police. Don't touch me. I'll walk myself. What followed were whispering voices. Hey, have you heard? The underground gangs that have been fighting for decades have finally been unified. I heard it was annexed and controlled by a gang boss named Gio. Whoever it is, it's a good thing they're unified. The curtains were drawn, allowing Jiu Cheng to observe outside. Then he began to retract his hand. Ji Yuxing, even now you still don't understand the reason why Uncle chose to fake his death back then? Ji Yuxing gritted his teeth, discomfort clearly written on his face. I only know that you used me and hurt Li Yan. She still hasn't taken me off her blacklist. Hearing this, he could only sigh helplessly. You are too emotional. Do you know why Uncle borrowed Xiaoyan's hand and not yours to fake his death back then? He retorted why. Then, Jiu Cheng slowly explained it was a crisis, but also a challenge. That child carried the crime of killing Uncle. No matter what their purpose, others would try their best to hunt down Xiaoyan. In such a suffocating environment, that child would grow up quickly and become the new person in power who can control the underground forces of City A. Hearing these words, Ji Yuxing finally understood. You mean, he said in a low voice, Uncle knows the feeling of having power is good. But, Sheng, Jiu Cheng grabbed his hand and expressed, I don't have much time left. In order for the Chamber of Commerce to develop better, can you give your position to that child? Because that child is the true successor I have my eye on. This left Ji Yuxing unable to hide his shock. He said in a low voice, but there were tears in one of his eyes. I was already prepared to give the position to her. He thought to himself, I never wanted any power, I wanted her. Li Yin stood outside the door, not going in, remaining silent. She recalled a childhood memory and his words, luckily you didn't miss me. Li Yin raised her glass and took a sip in response, me too, I'm glad. Next to her, Lu Ying and Jin Zi were being affectionate, expressing their feelings. Brother Jin Zi, I like you, and you like me too. She couldn't take it anymore, and then questioned. I said, hey, do you two have to flirt right next to me? Hearing this, Lu Ying defended. Isn't it because we're worried you're too lonely by yourself, so we came to accompany you? Then she clapped her hands and signaled reassurance. As a good sister, I can't leave you alone to have a happy date when you're sad, so I specially called a handsome guy over for you. The person outside, come in. The door was slowly pushed open, and a man in rather revealing clothes called out gently, Sister Yen. He closed the door humbly and said, I'm number 3, Sister Long. Please take care of me. As soon as she saw the person in front of her, she immediately spat out her drink. She was shocked to see him here. Ji Yuxing, Lu Ying, and Jin Zi also left hand in hand. Boss, we two won't be the third wheel here and disturb you. You two enjoy yourselves. Hearing this, Li Yin said, hey wait, you two traitors. Ji Yuxing began to sit next to her. He said in a low voice, Sister, I am number 3, Xiao Sheng. You can order me to do anything. Hearing this, Li Yin propped her chin on her hand and retorted, anything? After getting his confirmation, she then ordered, then go and pole dance for me. Li Yin thought to herself, I don't believe Ji Yuxing can pole dance. His hand was on the pole. After that, Ji Yuxing began to show off his skills together. His face was flushed, and then with a wine glass in his hand, he asked gently, "Do you dare to drink?" She quickly took the glass without hesitation. What's there not to dare? After that, Li Yin drank all the wine in her hand. Ji Yuxing looked at her for a long time, then came over and nuzzled his head towards her collarbone. Ji Yuxing moved closer to inhale her scent. Immediately after, Ji Yuxing was pulled away by her. He was a little surprised when Li Yin grabbed his clothes. She asked directly, "What are you doing?" Ji Yuxing also answered without hesitation, "Role-playing. Do you like it?" Hearing this, Li Yin continued to ask, "You already know that I've recovered my memory?" "I know." She began to look away. "You still came even though you know. Aren't you afraid I'll hit you?" Li Yin turned him over. "Aren't you afraid that I'll get angry when I see him and can't help but want to hit you?" Ji Yuxing replied shamelessly, "If that can let you vent your anger, I don't care how many times you hit me." Hearing this, she pouted and turned her face away. "Boring. Hitting you hurts my hand." Suddenly, she fell silent, thinking, "I heard the conversation between me and the man in power, but I don't know which sentence is true." Suddenly, the image of Jiao Cheng grabbing his hand appeared. "Can you give your position to that child? Because that child is the true successor I have my eye on." Ji Yuxing said, "But I was already prepared to give the position to her." Li Yin, who was standing outside the door, thought, "It's true that he was cultivating me." The image of her in the hospital that day also appeared. "Hey, I'm leaving first. I'll bring the things over tomorrow." It's also true that he used me. Back to reality, Li Yin crossed her arms and questioned him. "What's wrong? Isn't it enough to collude with the man in power to use me?" Ji Yuxing, what else do you want from me? Or are you planning to use a honey trap to get rid of me and then rightfully take over your uncle's position? Faced with these words, Ji Yuxing pretended not to understand. "What are you talking about? Let's not talk about unhappy things today, okay?" Then she walked towards the door, turned around, and said, "If you're not going to talk, then today's farce ends here. Get out of here." Two hands clearly drew a line. "We'll have nothing to do with each other from now on." Suddenly, he pinned her against the door again. "Who said anything about drawing a line?" He confessed, "You've never given me what I want, and I want to make it clear that what I want is you." Then he bit her shoulder and continued to express, "Are you deliberately provoking me? You know, I don't care about those things. I only like you. Since a long, long time ago, I've already liked you." Liane was stunned by his words, and the image of her and Jingyi chatting as children immediately flashed in her mind. "Hey, listen up. Sooner or later you'll know that my feelings for you are the feelings of an adult. Come talk to me again when you're taller than me." Then her current face filled with sadness, and Liane said, "So what? In the adult world, there are plenty of people who like me. Just because you like me doesn't mean I have to like you back. Besides, Shang Tianli also says he likes me, and he's more handsome and richer than you." Suddenly, Shang Yi took out his phone, leaving her somewhat confused. "What are you doing?" Then he put the phone in front of her. It was a post where he notified everyone that she was the new boss. Then Shang Yi pulled her hand. Let's go register our marriage. All my assets will be yours." Hearing this, Liane started to react. "Xingye, are you crazy?" But he didn't listen at all, just pulling her along. But she pulled her hand back. "Aren't you afraid of losing face by going out like this?" Hearing this, Xingye said, "I'm about to lose my wife. Why would I care about face? Besides, if I go out with you, tomorrow's news will be full of our pictures." Then he reached out and wrapped his arm around her waist. Just right. Immediately after, he picked Liane up. "From now on, you and I will be even more closely connected. You can't escape." She angrily kept hitting his back. "Hey, put me down, Xingye." Suddenly she stopped again. Then Liane sighed helplessly. "This is really too much. I really don't know what to do with you." She said in a very firm tone, "Put me down. I promise to be with you." Xingye asked like a child, "Really?" Liane immediately replied, "Really?" His face instantly turned red. "Being together is I am." She moved closer to his face to let him know, "You are my boyfriend. We are together." Immediately after, she kissed his lips. But Xingye corrected, "Not boyfriend, husband." He thought in his heart, "You can't escape, Liane. You are mine for this lifetime." The lighter was lit. "Man in power, please rest assured." Ji Yucheng's black and white memorial portrait came into view. Liane put her hands together and said to herself, "The things you were worried about, I will handle them well for you." 3 days ago, the man in power passed away in the hospital from liver cancer. At his funeral, people from both the underworld and the legitimate world were present. All the prominent figures came. Everyone wanted to see this legendary old man off on his final journey. Over here, Xingye held her shoulder and advised, the guests have almost all arrived. Go inside and rest for a bit. Don't get too tired. A clear thought showed on Li Yan's face. She looked happily at the ring on her hand, thinking, although we haven't had a wedding, although we are only dating right now, I feel like I can't escape anymore. The ring was perfectly on her ring finger. Suddenly, a kick broke open the door. A group of thugs appeared with a very arrogant tone. Everyone here listen up. We are the Futu gang from a city. Hurry up and tell your boss GU to get out here, or I'll smash up this funeral. You hear me? Xingye again showed not a trace of fear, just ordering. Futu gang? I haven't heard of them. Guards, throw them out. The blonde-haired man came forward, pointing at him. You're their boss? This X-City will belong to the Futu gang from now on. If you know what's good for you, take your men and get lost. Don't be an eyesore. Immediately after, Li Yan took a step forward and slapped the man's hand away. If you know what's good for you, you should also take your men and leave. Seeing her appear, he turned his head and asked, why aren't you sitting down and resting? Hearing this, she quickly replied, everyone is watching. If I let you handle it alone, those who don't know might think our relationship is bad. Xingye's love-addled brain started to relapse. It's not bad. Our relationship is very good. The blonde-haired man couldn't stand it and spoke up. What do you mean by this? Flirting in front of me. Are you trying to insult me? The gray-haired man then said to the blonde-haired man, Boss, look at the rings on their fingers. That woman must be the big sister-in-law of their gang. The two began to whisper. I thought the new big boss of X City was heavy, but who knew it's just a pair of foolish lovers. Exactly, what a pair of idiot lovers to be so infatuated with a woman. He's not fit to be the boss of X City. If you ask me, they should give up their position of power to our big brother. As for these two, castrate the man and sell the woman as a prostitute. The moment the words fell, a gunshot rang out. The bullet immediately hit the gray-haired man's hand. Li Yan sternly shouted at them to get lost. Scram, or your heads will be next. The gray-haired man clutched his wrist, stunned. So accurate. Could it be that you're not just his woman? She quickly said, sorry, I'm also a boss. Throw these people out, and by the way, remember to clearly record a list of damages and send it to them. The subordinates immediately complied, understood. Li Yan and Xingye stood on the stage together. She slowly gave a speech. Everyone, I have an announcement to make. From today onwards, I am the new person in power of the Chamber of Commerce. Then she said again, as for him, he is my boyfriend and also my future husband, my one and only love. Hearing her words, he was stunned, and everyone began to whisper, a perfect match? I saw it coming. Congratulations, congratulations. Then Li Yan handed the microphone to him. What are you still stunned for? Didn't you want to make it public? Say something. Suddenly, Xingye picked her up. Sorry, everyone. I need to go handle some private matters. Her face couldn't hide her shock. Gu Xingye, what are you doing? The scene changes. Xingye throws her on the sofa. The buttons of his shirt were all undone, with only his tie remaining, exercising my rights as a boyfriend. Xingye said happily, to work hard to have an heir soon. The story ends here. Please subscribe to the channel to continue watching other wonderful stories.